Every single night, he used to dream of escaping his boring reality. He wanted so much to get isekai'd into a fantasy world that he quit his job and searched all corners of the world to find it. And then, one day, his prayers were answered. This was not the dream he wanted. This was a nightmare. He got his fantasy world all right, but he was reborn as a barbarian named Ketal and thrown into a frozen hell called the White Wasteland, filled to the brim with all kinds of OP monsters. And for years, he's been trapped in this icy prison by a mysterious system, its message always the same. Quest incomplete. Well, today is just a typical Tuesday in the White Wasteland. Two barbarians stomp down on a giant scorpion monster and rip it apart.
Then, our main character approaches calmly.
A flash of purple light, he slashes the rest of the monsters to pieces. Only barbarians would be proud of being so ignorant, he sighs. What's ignorant? Can you eat it? The girl asks. Before he can even answer, they start chomping down on the foul, stringy monster meat like it's a 5-star meal.
He's in total disbelief. Didn't I literally just tell you that thing would kill you if you ate it?
It's been less than a week, and here you are again, he growls. The girl and the bald dude give a proud thumbs up. It was a most noble challenge. Suddenly, the bald guy's face freezes. He starts convulsing and foaming at the mouth. He collapses and green bile erupts from his mouth. The girl panics, slapping him over and over. Watching this whole disaster unfold, Ketal just looks away. I'm going for a walk, he mutters. Bro has had enough of this life. Meanwhile, somewhere in the wasteland is a group of mercenaries. One is whining about the cold. Another one complains that crossing the wasteland is a suicide mission no matter the paycheck.
The captain just shuts him down. You all knew what you signed up for, didn't you? Yeah, but we didn't know it would be this bad. The merc shoots back, shivering.
Inside the warm carriage, an old butler listens to their bickering.
He clears his throat and turns to his passenger, asking, "Are you all right, my lady?" A beautiful woman with blue hair, Melina Akasha, just smiles back. "Yes, I am fine."
He turns back to the mercs outside. They're just rude. But Melina says, "Don't be so harsh. They're the only ones who would take this job."
She looks out with concern. "Shouldn't we let them inside? They look like they're freezing." "No," the butler says firmly. "My lady, you forget the legends of this place." Melina goes quiet. "The monsters, you mean?" The butler shakes his head. "Worse. Do you remember the story of the Emperor, the only person to ever return alive from this frozen hell?" He rambled like a madman about all the monsters he'd seen, from giant serpents to earthquake-causing bears. But his final, desperate warning was this. The true danger wasn't the monsters, it was the barbarians. The butler just dismisses it. It's only a legend, of course. But Melina isn't so sure. Many of the monsters he described were later proven to be real. And yet, the butler laughs, no one has ever actually seen a barbarian.
Melina has to admit he has a point.
Suddenly, the mercenary captain yells out, "Everyone, halt." "There's something out there," he says, his partner asking what he sees. They squint into the blizzard at a lone figure. "I can't make it out." The captain's eyes widen. "I've got good news and bad news," he says grimly.
"Just spit it out," another merc yells. The captain replies, "The good news is, it's small. The bad news, it's heading right for us."
Instantly, everyone is on high alert, staring into the storm with fear and confusion. The captain draws his sword, his face tense as the figure gets closer and closer. He can finally see it clearly. It's not a monster. "Is that a person?" The man keeps walking, his white hair blowing and his bare chest showing off a warrior's build. "It's Kettle." He stops, and his glowing purple eyes stare them down. Mercenaries snap to attention, completely stunned as the man approaches.
They can't believe it. A barbarian, just like the legends. But dude just smiles. He went for a stroll because he got bored with his people. He didn't expect to bump into this. He flashes a charming smile and introduces himself. He is Ketal, the Ashen barbarian. "I'm pleased to meet you."
Kettle sizes them up, asking if they're merchants with hired muscle. He offers some friendly advice. Turn back now, but he already knows they won't listen.
Then, his eyes drift over to the carriage. He knows someone's inside.
The captain starts to panic, but Kettle just grins and makes a shocking offer. "I'd like you to hire me." The mercs are floored. Kettle clarifies that he wants to be their guide through this wasteland.
The captain cautiously asks if he is an enemy. Ketal just smiles. "If I were, you would all be dead by now."
The threat hangs in the air, leaving the guards pale and totally speechless. The leader knocks on the carriage and asks his lady if she heard all that.
Lena says she heard everything. The captain leaves the final decision up to her. She asks the most important question. What would happen if we tried to fight him? Looking at the imposing barbarian, the captain gives his honest assessment. "I would definitely not recommend it."
After a tense pause, Milena makes her call. "Understood. Tell him we accept his offer."
The captain walks back to Kettle and delivers the news. She agreed. Kettle's eye glows as a smile spreads across his face. "Well now, that is great news." He takes a few steps forward, scaring the bejesus out of the mercs. Now he needs to talk to the real boss. The captain warns him not to pull anything, but Kettle just meets his glare with a confident grin. The captain has no choice but to lead him to the carriage.
He shuts down their protests, saying their employer already agreed and fighting Kettle would be suicide. Inside, the butler is completely freaking out, but Melina tells him to calm down. Then, a knock comes from the door, and Kettle's voice rings out, "May I come in?"
The butler lets out a high-pitched shriek, but Milena calmly replies, "Yes, come in." Outside, Kettle gives one last triumphant smile. His plan worked perfectly. The old butler is sweating bullets, looking absolutely terrified. And across from him sits Ketal, an absolute unit, just chilling with his arms crossed. The barbarian's voice is surprisingly calm as he speaks. He just tells the old man to relax. He promises he has no intention of harming him. But the butler isn't buying it for a second, inwardly screaming, "Don't lie to me." Meanwhile, the girl is just staring in shock. She can't believe a legendary barbarian is right in front of her. She manages to stammer out a greeting, and he just hits her back with a cool, "The pleasure is mine." Our guy looks out at the blizzard and notes how surprisingly warm it is inside. The blue-haired woman explains it's all thanks to magic. And he's genuinely intrigued. This guy's never seen real magic before. Looking back outside, he warns them that their chances of making it through are slim, but then he drops this line, "That's why I will protect your lives." However, there's a catch. He tells them there's just one condition. She nervously asks him what he could possibly desire. With a smile, he reveals his price. It's not gold or power. He just wants information about the world outside the snowfields. She is completely floored by this. Information? That's it? He just nods, knowing it's a pretty sweet deal for her. And yeah, what other choice does she have? She reluctantly agrees. He's pleased with her answer and asks for her name. She introduces herself formally as Melina of House Akasha. He grins right back, introducing himself as Kettle. The deal is sealed. We get a flashback to Ketal's previous life. He was a total fantasy nerd surrounded by games and books. Then one day, bam, he just woke up as a barbarian in this frozen wasteland. There was no time for an existential crisis. The place was freezing and crawling with insane monsters. So he did what any MC would do. He became the leader of his tribe, fighting day in and day out just to survive and escape this snowfield. But every single time he tried to leave, a system window would pop up. It told him the quest was incomplete. Just as he was about to lose all hope, people from the outside finally started showing up. And that's when it hit him. The world beyond this snowy prison was the exact fantasy world he'd always dreamed about. From that moment on, he wasn't just surviving, he was grinding. He started completing quest after quest with one goal, getting out. Which brings us back to the present. You can see why information from outsiders like Melina is pure gold to him. Unfortunately, every other human he's met has either attacked him on sight or just gone completely insane from the cold. So yeah, he's just relieved to finally be having a civilized conversation for once. But then he changes the subject, noting that he can tell they're transporting a lot of weapons. He tells her he can literally hear the steel clanging in the wagons. The man has got super senses. So he cuts right to the chase and asks if there's a war going on in the outside world. Melina confirms it. The Empire and the Kingdom are at war. Kittle figures the outside world is not so peaceful after all. She explains the Empire has way more soldiers, but the Kingdom is holding on thanks to two things: swordmasters and a hero. Kettle's ears immediately perk up. Hero? A swordmaster? He needs to know what kind of power they have. Melina realizes he has no clue what she's talking about. She asks if he has ever heard of mysteries, so Melina breaks down the power system. It's all based on something called mystery. Only a tiny fraction of people can actually use this power, and they're ranked into 5 tiers. First up is third rate. These guys can basically just sense the power, not really use it. Then you have second rate. This is where you can actually start using the power for real. Next up is first rate. These are your standard knights and mages, manifesting their power as mana or aura. But after that, things get absolutely insane. The next ranks are for people who have broken past human limits. You've got the transcendent beings who can literally split the heavens. The swordmaster is one of these monsters. And at the very top, the hero, a legendary being who doesn't just use power, they change the world itself. She finishes up by saying that even being a lowly third rate makes you a big shot in a small town. And after hearing all of this, Kettle's response is simple and absolutely epic. He just says, "I want to meet them." Melina is completely stunned. Did he just say he wants to go meet a god-tier being? But Kettle is dead serious. He's been trapped in this frozen hell for who knows how long, just trying to survive. He's stuck in his dream fantasy world, but it is a prison. His only real goal is to finally see what is on the other side. His expression hardens with pure determination. He declares that he really wants to get out of this place. Then he corrects himself with a confident smirk. No, he must get out. As the carriage rumbles on, Melina finally asks the question on her mind. Is he really the barbarian? He doesn't deny it, pointing out that she clearly seems to have heard of him. She confirms it, telling him she knows him from the legend. Now Kettle is the one who's completely surprised. There is a legend about him? Melina can't believe it. How could he possibly not know his own legend? Kettle just laughs, remembering some crazy knight he met once. So that guy was the emperor? He chuckles. He plays it cool though, smirking and telling her the legend is probably correct. But he quickly brings the conversation back to the important stuff. Why are they hauling all these weapons across a frozen wasteland? She clearly does not want to answer, stammering for a response. But Kettle's stare is intense, and she finally cracks. Her family is desperate for money. Turns out her family used to be rich merchants, but they got sabotaged by rivals and are now drowning in debt. Kettle's brain works at light speed. He immediately deduces she is selling weapons to the kingdom for their war against the Empire. His logic is flawless. The Empire has a huge army, so they do not need weapons. The kingdom, however, must be desperate for them. He notes that high demand and low supply means a huge price tag, big enough for her to risk her own life. He keeps going, guessing that her territory must border the Empire, forcing her to take this completely insane route. Malina is just speechless. All she can do is confirm that he's 100% correct. She's totally shaken. The legends painted him as a mindless brute, but this guy is an absolute genius. She wonders who he really is. But before he can answer, the carriage jolts to a stop. Then, a blood-curdling screech. While everyone else panics, Ketil remains perfectly calm. He knows exactly what is happening. They have got company. Out of nowhere, a monstrous black slime erupts from the snow. The entire party just freezes in absolute terror. Ketil just squints at it, but Melina confirms their worst fears. This thing is a legendary monster straight from the history books. She explains this snowfield is a graveyard for powerful warriors. The few who survived all warned of this exact beast. But Ketil just grins like an absolute madman. He says, of course, they're chewy and make decent snacks. Melina's jaw just hits the floor. You eat them? He tells her to go catch it herself if she's interested, leaving her completely speechless. But the monster isn't waiting for a dinner debate. With a terrifying screech, it lunges straight for them. The guards immediately start to panic. Melina desperately screams Ketil's name for help. But Ketil doesn't even flinch. He just crosses his arms, saying he'll only step in if there's real danger. He tells a shocked Melina that her mercs can handle it. He wants to see what these outside world fighters are made of. The slime crashes down on them. The captain immediately shouts for a shield defense. A soldier gets his shield up just in time, bracing for the full force of the monster's charge. But it's not enough. The impact is insane, and the soldier gets sent flying backwards. Another warrior goes for a direct axe attack. He's also thrown back like a ragdoll, his weapon doing 0 damage. The leader thinks fast. He shouts that the slimes only move in straight lines. They need to scatter and coordinate their attacks. And it works. A spearman uses his weapon to vault right over the beast, landing a clean strike on its side. The monster shrieks in pain. The warrior sees his chance, channels energy into his spear, and lands an even bigger hit. With the slime staggering, the captain charges in with his own glowing sword. He yells for his men to press the attack. He shouts out its weak point, a hidden core. Powering up his blade, he unleashes a massive downward slash. It's a perfect hit. The attack shatters the red crystal core, and the monster starts to dissolve. Victory! The mercenaries erupt in cheers. But check out Ketil. He just watches, completely unimpressed. The next challenge comes. Now it's a pack of giant wolves. One of the mercs gets cocky. He says maybe the rumors about this place were overblown. The captain immediately shuts him down. He warns the guy they are not even halfway there yet. Meanwhile, some of the mercs start whispering. They're getting suspicious of Ketil, calling him a freeloader and wanting to test him. One of the mercs breaks off from the group. He walks right up to Melina, saying they need to talk. He reminds her they are risking their lives for this job. She gratefully agrees, saying they were the only ones brave enough. But there's one big problem he cannot ignore. The so-called Barbarian Ketil has not lifted a single finger to help. So he formally asks for permission to test Ketil's skills. He wants to see if he deserves his special treatment. Melina looks totally stunned as the mercenary captain explains the situation. He sighs, admitting he tried to stop his men, but they just would not listen. But Ketil just smirks, totally unfazed by the threat. So you want to test me? Fine by me. But not right now. The merc is completely caught off guard. Ketil just looks up past them, axe in hand. Looks like you'll have to get in line. We've got company. Suddenly, a chilling presence looms over them all. A deep voice echoes, the frail mortals have arrived. The voice continues its creepy monologue. Looks like I'll be enjoying a rare delicacy today. Then, a massive white serpent erupts from the snow. It roars at them. Bark for me, mortals. Struggle all you want. It will only make you taste better. Melina lets out a piercing scream. The guards are doing everything they can to withstand the monster's power. But a commanding voice cuts right through the chaos. Enough. It's Ketil, and he looks seriously ticked off. He declares they're his guests, ordering the attacker to stand down. You, why are you here? The snake hisses. Has he forgotten the laws of the land? He's way outside his tribe's territory. Ketil fires back that it's none of its business. This, of course, only makes the giant snake even angrier. With a massive surge of power, the creature reveals its true form, roaring. I am the snake. How dare you give orders to someone who was promised immutability? Ketil has heard enough. Then you need to be taught a lesson, he says, before throwing a punch that unleashes a devastating shockwave. The blast slams directly into the giant snake and creates a mushroom cloud of crackling blue energy. The sheer force of the impact is insane, sending the other barbarians flying backwards. Melina is knocked clean off her feet as one of her men screams her name in a total panic. When it's over, the snake's head is just a bloody mess in the snow. Kettle coldly remarks, "You're the type who only listens after a beating." Melina can only stare, completely stunned by the display of power. "Lord Kettle?" she whispers in disbelief. With his eyes now glowing a menacing purple, Kettle tells her he'll be right there after he finishes cleaning up the trash. He stomps the ground, shattering it with dark energy, then launches himself forward with blinding speed. Another massive explosion rocks the plains. A few minutes later, Myelena and the butler are shocked. The mercs are now begging Kettle for forgiveness. Inside the warm carriage, Kettle is surprisingly calm. He tells them he understands not trusting a total stranger. The journey continues, and somehow the butler has been kicked outside.
Poor guy.
Kettle turns to Myelena, his expression dead serious. "That said, there is something I am curious about." He asks why a noble lady like her would personally risk her life on such a dangerous trade mission. She hesitates for a moment, then admits she's the daughter of a concubine, basically the second wife of Lord Akasha. She explains that her mother was used in a political marriage and then totally abandoned, left with zero power. Clenching her fist, she confesses they're treated like servants. They're basically family in name only. "I volunteered for this trade mission," she declares, which clearly catches Kettle completely off guard. Her reason is simple but powerful, because someone has to set an example. A small smirk plays on Kettle's lips. He calls her intelligent, ambitious, and a greedy one. Melina is totally floored by his words, but before she can respond, a sudden jolt from the carriage interrupts her. A voice calls out that they've finally arrived. Stepping outside, her men just gasp in total awe. The endless blizzard has completely vanished, replaced by a vibrant, lush green valley stretching out before them. After thanking Kettle, Melina says her trip back will be easy, since she won't be packing weapons after selling the goods. But she can't let his earlier comment go. She turns and asks what he meant by calling her ambitious. He says he meant exactly what he said. He knows her once powerful family is now on the brink of financial ruin. He connects all the dots. If she succeeds where the main family fails, she'll win everyone's loyalty. He asks, "Your goal is to seize control of your family, isn't it?" She admits he's right. Kettle just smirks, noting that the story of a cast-off heir rising to power is a classic. Melina is shocked. This barbarian is genuinely smart. He's way more clever than anyone she has ever met. Thinking of the incredible power he has, an idea sparks in her mind. She asks if he's ever thought about leaving the snowfields. "How would you like to join me?" she asks boldly. He turns her down for now, saying he still has things he needs to take care of. Melina gracefully accepts his answer. She then removes an ornate emblem from her neck, offering it to him as a token of their meeting. She tells him to show it to the Akasha family if he ever decides to come to the outside world. Kettle accepts the gift with a huge grin. They part ways, hoping they'll meet again someday. He watches as her carriage disappears into the lush valley, leaving the endless snow behind. 5 years pass, and back in the endless land of snow, a declaration is made. Finally, all conditions have been met. A series of system notifications suddenly pop up, confirming a quest is complete and the rewards have been distributed. And then the message he has been waiting for finally appears. "You may now leave the snowfields." Kettle stands at the edge of the snowy wasteland, ready to finally step into the fantasy world of his dreams. With a confident smirk, Kettle looks ahead, totally ready for a new beginning. It's time to take his first step into the fantasy world. In a vibrant green forest, Kettle takes a huge breath. He's finally savoring the sense of a new world. The smell of grass, wild beasts, and fresh river water, it's a world away from the frozen wasteland he escaped. He cracks open his eyes, a massive grin spreading across his face. Nice. Very nice. But then, his whole vibe shifts. He whips around, his eyes locking onto a frozen mountain peak in the distance. "You cursed snow! Let's never meet again," he roars, finally tasting freedom. This is the fantasy world he's always dreamed of, a land of pure wonder he thought was impossible to reach. The journey here was a total nightmare, but he survived. And now, he's going to enjoy this world to the absolute fullest. I'm talking magic, swords, dragons, and elves. The whole fantasy package. That burning desire for a new life was the only thing that kept him going. Back in the snowy plains, just wanting to survive was never enough. As he wanders through this paradise, something shimmering in the distance catches his eye. That glow, it's gotta be a village. Finally, civilization. Bro is absolutely ecstatic. Finally, a civilized village in this world. He flashes back to trying to talk with the barbarians back home. They just stared at him like he was speaking gibberish. Man, he misses actual conversation. He starts rehearsing his intro. Should he go with a simple hello, or the classic isekai, what world is this? He decides to just play it cool and be a gentleman. With a plan in mind, he starts sprinting towards the lights. Meanwhile, in a peaceful clearing, an elderly elf addresses his people. "Elf villagers," he declares, From now on, this will be our home. The entire crowd of elves erupts in cheers. They're overjoyed to finally have a new place to call their own. But one of the younger elves isn't so sure. He approaches the elder, looking worried. Elder, is this place really safe? The elder shoots him a confident look. It is. But the young elf isn't convinced. I know humans can't come here, however. The snowy plains are right there. It's way too close. What about the monsters that live there? The elder just scoffs. Not a problem. For thousands of years, nothing has ever crossed those plains. Besides, we put up a barrier just in case. He explains it's a powerful barrier, woven from ancient elven magic. It completely hides their presence and stops anyone from getting close. And even if something did get through, he adds, it wouldn't matter, because we have Her Majesty the Queen. He smiles, totally certain that no threat could ever possibly reach their village. He is about to be proven very, very wrong. Right on cue, Kettle walks forward and feels his hand pass through something strange. It felt like tearing a piece of fabric. He pauses, totally confused. Felt like something just tore. Did I touch something? He just shrugs it off and keeps moving. But then a sudden sound makes him freeze in his tracks. Peeking through the grass, he spots a small child with pointed ears. Wait, is that an elf? He absolutely can't believe his eyes. A real elf, one of the most iconic fantasy races ever. He never dreamed he'd meet one this fast. Talk about incredible luck. For the first time, he's truly glad to be alive. But the little elf child is completely lost and on the verge of tears. I'm scared. I think I wandered too far. Suddenly, she hears a voice right behind her. Her eyes go wide with pure shock. Kettle is looming over her, his massive frame casting a terrifying shadow. All he says is a friendly, hello? The poor girl is completely petrified by the sight of him, and then she just faints from the sheer terror. Kettle just stands there, holding the unconscious child. A single bead of sweat rolls down his face. What just happened? I didn't even get to say anything and she fainted, he thinks. Well, I guess I should probably take her back to the village. He's already picturing the scene. He returns the lost child, and the grateful elves welcome him as a hero. He smiles to himself, already looking forward to that warm welcome. Cradling the sleeping child in his arms, he confidently walks into the elven settlement. The welcome he gets is not what he expected. The elves start screaming in absolute terror. A human, and he is my child. Instantly, spears are pointed right at his face. They demand to know who he is and how he shattered their barrier. Yeah, this is not going as planned. The child's mother screams in pure horror, her face a mask of absolute fear. The elder is in total shock. Impossible. This land is untouched by humans. The barrier was perfect. How did he get in? He realizes the barrier is cracked and starts to panic. He screams for the queen, but she's out on patrol. Of course she is. Kettle tries to explain he's not an enemy, but they're not listening. An elf just screams, give back the child or we'll hunt you down. The elder's mind is racing. Their barrier was ancient magic. No simple trick could have broken it. He comes to the only logical conclusion. This was a prepared attack. The humans must have been tracking them for years. Kettle is just baffled. Do I really look like a kidnapper? He knows he needs to clear this up, and fast. Just then, the little girl in his arms starts to wake up from her stress nap. He gently places her on the ground. Go on, he says with a kind smile. Go back to your family. The child looks up at his kind face, and her brain immediately registers him as a terrifying, shadowy demon. So naturally, she lets out a blood-curdling scream and sprints back towards her parents. Kettle is completely crushed. Is my face really that scary? I thought I looked pretty good back on the plains. He turns back to the elves with his hands up. Look, I returned the child. As you can see, I'm not your enemy. But the elder isn't having it. The hostage is free. Everyone, attack. In perfect unison, the elven archers draw their bows, taking aim at our completely bewildered hero. Fire! A glowing volley of magic arrows rains down from the sky, heading straight for Kettle, and he just stands there, totally dumbfounded. Can they literally not hear me? Kettle realizes elves aren't what he expected. They're way more savage out here. He always thought they were a gentle people, but in the wild, it's kill or be killed. So as arrows rain down, Kettle just stands there, totally unfazed as they bounce right off him like they're Nerf bullets. His attackers are getting desperate. They scream to keep firing, convinced his barrier has a limit. Kettle's had enough of this. He calmly raises a hand, ready to shut this little party down. And in a single instant, he unleashes a massive shockwave. The blast absolutely obliterates the elves' position, tearing the forest apart. The elven archers get sent flying. One of them screams for a barrier, but it's way too late for that. Trees are ripped from the ground as the elves are tossed through the air, screaming in terror. This wave of destruction carves a huge path straight through the woods. When the dust finally settles, an old elf can only stare in total disbelief. What just happened? At the end of the trench he just made stands Kettle. He calmly tells them, I am not your enemy. Then he gets a little awkward, admitting, whoops, I guess I used a little too much power. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a flaming phoenix arrow comes screaming right for his head. It connects and erupts in a massive explosion right where he was standing. The old elf and his companion are completely confused. Just then, an elegant elven woman lands gracefully on a nearby cliff, and it's none other than Helia Royce, the queen of the elves. She demands to know what's going on. The elder immediately shouts that a human attacked them. The queen's face goes cold. She realizes this place isn't safe for them either, but Catull just walks out of the smoke without a single scratch. Hey wait, I'd appreciate it if you could listen to what I have to say. The queen and the elder are absolutely floored. How is he unharmed after a direct hit from Her Majesty? The queen glares down from her cliff. She thinks even a powerhouse like him is after her people. Her eyes fill with disgust. You can tell she truly despises humans. She introduces herself as Queen of the Leaf Clan and knocks another arrow. Aiming a fiery arrow right at him, she declares he will pay the price for his greed. Kettle is completely lost. Can't they understand me? But we're speaking the same language. Is she just ignoring me? Or could it be that the relationship between human and elves is just that poor? He sighs, realizing talk isn't working. He remembers a lesson: people listen once you land a hit. The queen lets her arrow fly and it crackles with brilliant blue energy. But this is no ordinary arrow. It transforms into a massive, roaring spectral beast. And Kettle's response? He just clenches his fist, gathering an insane amount of power. He throws a single punch and a devastating beam of pure force slams right into the magical beast. The elf queen can only stare, her face a mask of pure absolute shock. Kettle's attack completely overpowers hers. Whoops, looks like he did it again. The resulting explosion obliterates the spectral beast and slams right into the elf queen. She is slammed into the ground, defeated and surrounded by rubble. And Ketel just scratches his cheek, wondering if maybe he should have held back even more. The queen looks up, pale with fear. She's completely and utterly speechless. She realizes he's on the level of a transcendent. Why would someone so strong be here? Sweating, she makes a desperate call. She tells everyone to get away immediately. Her people are shocked, but she screams at them again, ordering them to flee for their lives. As her people run, she turns to face Kettle, defiantly yelling that he will never accomplish his goal. Kettle is more lost than ever. He was just trying to talk. This has all gone completely sideways. But the queen isn't listening. She closes her eyes and begins a powerful incantation. Her eyes snap open, unleashing a massive eruption of pure fire. From a magic circle, a colossal bull made of fire appears.
Pigo.
Kettle's eyes light up with pure excitement. A summon. He looks like a kid on Christmas morning. He thinks back to the ugly, grotesque monsters from his home in the frozen tundra. But this? A majestic bull with horns made of blazing fire? This is something else entirely. He thinks to himself, now that's a spirit. This is what a real fantasy world is all about. The queen gives her final order. Pigo, annihilate the enemy before you. But the highest grade fire spirit just grumbles, complaining that contracts are nothing but a hassle. The queen immediately cuts him off, simply saying, silence. She knows that the stronger and more ancient a spirit is, the bigger its ego. She can barely even summon this thing and only got the contract with help from another tribe. Fulfill the contract, Pigo, she commands. Her voice leaves no room for argument. The spirit stomps its hoof, ready to fight. So, I just have to kill the human, right? But then it gets a good look at its target, and it completely freezes up. Because Kettle is standing there engulfed in a dark aura, flashing a terrifying razor-toothed grin. The mighty spirit is shaken to its very core. It thinks to itself, is that thing even human? The gigantic flaming bull spirit bursts from a magic seal, roaring with raw power. Kettle is absolutely losing his mind. This is straight out of a fantasy novel, and he's seeing it for real. But his fanboy moment is cut short when a voice calls him. You human have intruded upon our land. The fiery bull, Pigo, glares down at him. A pathetic human dares to covet the races of nature. It threatens to turn him into ash, but Kettle is just completely unfazed. Bro is just confused. Pigo doesn't wait for an answer. Its eyes glow with pure fury. It digs its hooves into the ground, charging up an insane amount of power before it attacks. And it's off. The spirit beast launches forward like a blazing meteor, ready for total annihilation. But Kettle doesn't even flinch. He just braces for the impact. The collision is insane, tearing the very earth apart. The elf queen nearby gets thrown back by the sheer force of the blast. She looks up, and what she sees is completely unbelievable. Somehow, Ketal caught the charging bull with one hand. He just grabbed it by the horn. This absolute unit of a beast is just suspended in midair. Its charge completely negated. Ketal just cracks this chilling smirk. He thinks a beastly form just makes it easier to handle. His eyes flare with purple energy as he cocks back his fist. His logic? Just beat it to death. The elf can only watch in absolute horror. She can't believe what she's seeing. And with a single punch, Kettle connects. A blinding flash of light erupts from the impact. The shockwave carves a massive trench straight through the entire forest. This explosion is so huge you can see it from space. It looks like a mushroom cloud. Back on the ground, the landscape is completely obliterated. The elf screams as the fiery aftermath rushes towards her. When the dust finally settles, she collapses to her knees, staring at the devastation. She can only whisper, "This can't be real," gazing at the massive crater he left with one punch. She looks up at Ketil, who's just standing calmly at the crater's edge. Absolutely terrified, she lowers her head and begs him to spare her people. But Ketil calmly looks down at her. He says, "I am not your enemy, elf." She looks up, completely stunned by his words. What is happening? Turns out, this was all a massive misunderstanding. A really bad one. She bows her head in shame, apologizing for judging him so quickly. She explains they thought he was an enemy because he'd just returned a lost elven child. Now she feels terrible. Ketil gets it. Other humans drove them to be this cautious, but he's still a bit bummed they didn't let him explain. She asks cautiously, just to be sure, he's really not one of the humans chasing them, right? He confirms it's his first time even seeing an elf. He's from the White Wasteland, where they don't exist. Her eyes go wide. The White Wasteland? Ketil just owns it. The Ashen Barbarian of the Wasteland. That's what they call me. She's in total disbelief. She didn't even think humans could survive there. She asks if others could have come from the Wasteland too. Is there an army of Ketils out there? Ketil just crosses his arms. Who knows? But I seriously doubt it. He explains the Wasteland has strict rules that even giant, powerful serpents can't defy. But for some reason, a special hidden quest allowed him to bypass those rules. He's pretty sure that was a one-time thing, though. A very rare exception. The elf breathes a sigh of relief. Then Ketil asks if the creature she summoned was okay. He starts sweating a little, remembering he, kind of punched that bull in half. She tells him not to worry. It was a spirit, not a summon. Forcibly unsummoning it just sends it back home. Feeling like she owes him big time, she offers to do whatever she can to help him. Now Ketil's interest is piqued. A spirit, huh? He immediately wonders if non-elves can make contracts with spirits too. The elf's face falls. She tells him that might not be possible. She clarifies that only humans with a deep connection to nature can do it, so for a guy like him, it's probably impossible. She trails off, but then she gets an idea. If you really want to contract a spirit, she says, go to Elfo Sagrado. Ketil repeats the name, intrigued. It's the holy land of all elves, where their god lives. If it's possible anywhere, it's there. Ketil is hyped, but he's gotta ask, would a human even be allowed in a holy elven land? Normally, no way, but with her introduction, it should be fine. She'll tell him the secret location. This place, Elfo Sagrado, is the dream destination for anyone who studies elves. She explains that letting a human near a place more precious than life is a huge risk. No elf would normally do this. But still, she wants to believe in him. She wants to trust him. Take this with you, she says, offering him the glowing red crystal. He gratefully accepts the gem, a sign of their new alliance. She warns him that even if he gets there, the elven god might still test him. But she has a feeling he'll pass. She wishes him luck, and Ketil thanks her. She finally introduces herself as Marsilia Hazian Carusia, the Queen of the Elves. That's right, the Queen. He just gives a confident grin back. Ketil the Barbarian. And without another word, Ketil stomps his foot, shattering the ground beneath him. He launches himself into the air like a rocket, leaving a trail of blue energy. His eyes are glowing as he rockets through the forest canopy. He's moving so fast, he's just a blur. The trees streaking by in an instant. From above, he looks like a freaking comet, carving a path through the landscape with a massive shockwave. Meanwhile, at the border of the Varkan territory, a sudden powerful tremor rocks a fortress. The guards are panicking. They have no idea what's happening, only that something is coming fast. A massive object plummets from the sky, leaving a trail of smoke as it heads straight for them. With a heavy thud, a figure makes a superhero landing, kicking up a massive cloud of dust. The guards are completely frozen in terror. They know exactly who just dropped in on them. So Ketil just casually rocks up to the guards and says, "Hi, nice to meet you." The guards are floored. They're all thinking, the loud noise we heard just now, was it him? One guard squints, getting a better look. Okay, ash gray hair, big ol' scar on his chest. The gears are turning. And then it hits him like a ton of bricks. Wait a minute. Could this be the legendary Ashen Barbarian? Our boy takes one tiny step forward, and bam! The guards pull out their swords like their lives depend on it. He just throws his hands up. Oh, whoa, chill out, guys. I am friendly. I promise. The lead guard isn't buying it. He is still tense, demanding to know what this giant wants. The barbarian just points, not at them but past them, right at the castle wall. He goes, "I would like to visit your territory." The guards just stare, completely baffled. Is this guy for real? Next thing you know, he is in an interrogation room. The guard's like, "So, you just want to pass through, right?" "If possible, I'd like to stay for a bit," he says. Then he drops his name, Ketil. Guard asks for ID. Ketil's response, "Don't have any." Of course he doesn't. But then a memory hits him. A flashback to Myelena giving him this fancy-looking crest. Back to reality, he slaps the crest on the table. "Will this work?" he asks. The guard is shocked. Ketil explains it is from House Akasha, a pretty big deal, apparently. And the guard knows the name. A powerful merchant family from another kingdom making moves. He is still skeptical, though. It looks real, but verifying it from another kingdom is a pain. Finally, he agrees. But of course there's a catch. There is always a catch. They need Kettle to prove he is not a threat. The test? Team up with 3 other randos, form a party, and clear a dungeon to prove their worth. Kettle thinks this sounds ridiculously easy. Sure, why not? He says with a bright smile. Ah, but here's the fine print. After the dungeon, he has to report everything that went down. Kettle gets it immediately. It is a clever plan to make all the new guys spy on each other. Smart. The guard is a little flustered that he figured it out so fast. Are you really a barbarian? Kettle proudly confirms it. I am. The guard is floored. He thought barbarians were just dumb brutes. He wraps things up real quick after that. Meanwhile, in the waiting room we meet our next winner. Alessandro Tyrannus, a so-called paladin, entering a dungeon with a rat that goes after people's pouches. This is so tragic, he mutters. A thief named Casson Hark hears him and immediately starts roasting him. You picking a fight, old man? You mad cause a thief ripped you off? Tyrannus explodes, calling him a bastard. Casson just laughs, pointing out how ragged his armor is. Was he even a real paladin? He even calls Tyrannus a bottom feeder, just like him. Oh, the paladin is fuming now. But the last straw is when Casson makes fun of his name. That is it. Sword is out. Casson grins, totally ready for this. He pulls out a dagger dripping with poison. You think your tin armor can protect you from this? He challenges. Their blades clash, but a third person steps in to break it up. A nun, of all people. Could you please stop? Meet Hayes, the cleric. She is already wondering how she is supposed to clear a dungeon with these 2 clowns. She knows they're waiting on one more person, and she is already dreading who it could be. Just then, the door opens. The guard announces their final party member has arrived, and in walks a massive shadow of a man with glowing purple eyes. Talk about an entrance. The whole room freezes. They're just staring, completely stunned by the size of this absolute unit. And then Keatle breaks the silence with a giant friendly smile. Hey, are you guys my new party? They are terrified. Tyrannus is thinking he is huge, Hayes is wondering if he is human, and Cassan just feels the pressure. The guard dips out, leaving them to get acquainted. Katal, completely clueless, happily starts introductions. Hi, I'm Katal, I'm a barbarian. He looks at Cassan, who is sweating buckets as he stammers out that he is a thief. Next up is our armored buddy, puffing out his chest. I am a paladin, Alessandro Tyrannus. Kittle immediately latches onto that. Oh, a paladin? So you use holy power? Tyrannus starts sweating. Well, normally yes, but I am a special kind of paladin, so I can't use it. The nun steps up, looking a bit nervous. I am Hayes, a cleric of Colossia. Kettle's face gets serious. A cleric? And they're still questioning your identity? She gets all flustered. Well, my god is the god of lies and deceit, so yeah, he is not super popular. Kettle just says, I see, and the room goes dead silent. A paladin with no holy power and a cleric of lies? What a team. Thankfully, the guard saves them from the awkwardness. Everyone ready? Let's go. They all exchange looks and nobody seems happy about this at all. Hayes and Cassan look especially miserable. They are definitely wondering what they did to deserve this. After a short walk, their hooded guide stops. We are here. Kettle looks up, and he seems a little surprised by the view. They're in a forest clearing, staring at a dark cave. Yep, this is the dungeon they're supposed to clear. Aight, let's start the raid. What's the plan? Kital asks Kassan and dude just flinches. He stammers and calls the barbarian, Sir. Kital just laughs it off. He tells Kassan to chill with the formalities since they're a team now. Totally embarrassed, Kassan tries to play it cool and starts laying out the strategy. His plan is classic RPG 101. The warriors are on the front line, thief checks for traps, and the cleric supports from the back. Solid, right? Kital's totally on board with it, but Kassan looks like he's already regretting this whole adventure. With the quote-unquote plan set, Kital takes the lead and gets ready to charge in. The team ventures into this dark, icy cave. And of course, Hayes is already spooked, whispering about how dark it is. Meanwhile, Kassan's spidey senses are tingling. He thinks the lack of traps is way too suspicious. And bam! He spots something. He throws a hand out to stop Ketal, warning him there are monsters ahead. Ketal looks down and sees bone fragments everywhere. Yep, it's a skeleton party, and they're about to get up and attack. Kassan immediately realizes this is a setup. This wasn't a test, my friends. It was an ambush meant to get rid of them. Ketal is super curious. Skeletons, you say? Kassan explains that skeletons are no joke. Apparently, they're like the Terminator, they just keep coming even if you chop off their limbs. Plus, their bones give them a massive defense buff. The difficulty of this dungeon just spiked through the roof. So Kazan snaps into leader mode, telling the cleric to get her buffs ready to go. He tells the warrior to tank up and for Ketal to get ready for a fight. Ketal just says, got it, thinking Kazan is some kind of tactical genius. The irony is just beautiful. Alright, it's showtime. Ketal steps forward. That one step is all it takes. His skeleton starts to wake up. Ketal's face is pure amazement as the skeleton clatters to life. The rest of the team are in a panic and getting ready to fight. The skeleton warrior charges right at Ketal, swinging a sword that's bigger than my student debt. But Ketal just slaps it and bam. One punch is all it takes to absolutely shatter it. Oopsie. The skeleton is now a glittering pile of bone dust. And the rest of the party? Their jaws are on the floor. Just pure, unadulterated shock. Ketal just smirks and says, huh, so taking the head off really does work. No kidding, Sherlock. Kassan looks completely defeated. That's not what I meant at all. See, what Ketal just did should be impossible. These skeletons are buffed with dungeon mana, making their bones super hard. Normally you would have to chop at their neck like a lumberjack. One-shotting a skeleton is literally impossible. Kassan is just stunned. He knew the guy was strong, but this is a whole other level of overpowered. Now the entire team is shaking in their boots, wondering if this absolute monster is even human. Meanwhile, Ketal just cracks his knuckles and grins. Alright, let's keep this party going. The others immediately snap to attention and scramble to follow him. He tells them there is no need to rush, but his terrified teammates just salute and scream, "Yes, sir." Yeah, their inner monologue is pretty simple. They just really don't want to die here. A short while later, Ketal stops dead in his tracks with a puzzled look on his face. His foot bumped into something. The entire party just freezes, staring down at this new, terrifying skull on the ground. And just like that, another skeleton clatters to life. The team looks on in pure horror. Yep, round 2 is officially starting. But Ketal turns to them and calmly asks for a favor. In the middle of an undead ambush, he wants to fight them all by himself. Apparently, our boy wants to test out something. They just quickly agree. Smart move, folks. Ketal thanks them, and his eyes start glowing with this intense purple light. This is about to get good. He casually strolls up to the skeleton while the party watches from a safe distance, wondering what this dude was up to. He gets right up in its face, checking it out like a science project. He is genuinely curious how it is put together. The skeleton is not having it and takes a swing, but Ketal just stops it mid-swing, with 2 fingers. He breaks the blade in half and looks at the skeleton, basically asking, "What now?" A broken blade won't stop Ol Skelly here, so it lunges and takes another swing. But instead of dodging, Ketal just grabs the skeleton by the wrist. He flashes this brilliant smile and says, "Then how about this?" Oh, he is enjoying this way too much. And crunch, he completely breaks the skeleton's hand and it falls to the ground. He watches it, completely intrigued. The poor skeleton just stares at its broken hand, totally confused. You can see the question marks above its head, but confusion quickly turns to rage. It lets out a battle cry and swings its massive sword with its other hand. It even does a fancy weapon toss, catching it in its good hand to keep fighting. That's some serious skill for a pile of bones. Ketal is actually impressed. He's like, "Oh, so you know how to switch hands?" The skeleton charges, but its attack is stopped dead. Ketal just casually catches its wrist. With basically 0 effort, he breaks off the other hand and the skeleton is sent staggering back. But wait, it's not done yet. The skeleton lunges again, this time using its arm as a sword. Ketal is amazed. It can substitute parts of itself as weapons. Its intelligence is quite high. This brutal display is a little too much for the party, who look like they're about to lose their lunches. They can only watch and tremble in silence. This guy is a true barbarian. And man, do we feel sorry for that poor skeleton. With a menacing crack, our glowing-eyed barbarian puts the poor skeleton in his place. Its skull rattles to the ground and, get this, it starts rolling around. Our MC is amazed. So it can move with only its head. Amusing, he mutters. And crunch. He stomps on the poor thing. Then his entire vibe suddenly shifts from psycho killer to friendly neighbor. He apologizes for the delay. Kassan, who's still about to wet his pants, frantically insists it is no problem at all. Thanks, I guess, Kassan replies. Then he turns to leave. All right then, time to go. The rest of the party nervously agrees, like they have a choice. A while later, the group comes to a halt at the base of a huge staircase. They finally reach the 2nd floor. Great, more stairs. The atmosphere is tense and the whole party looks exhausted from the climb. Kassan cautiously suggests they take a little break, and to his absolute relief, Ketal actually agrees. Kassan weeps with gratitude. As the party collapses, Ketal just sits and observes. He breaks the silence, saying he has a question. He even admits he's not very knowledgeable on the subject. Oh, this should be good. Hayes is a bit flustered but encourages him, saying a desire to learn is a virtue. She then asks what he wants to know. Ketal asks a surprisingly logical question. Why is a dangerous dungeon allowed to exist so close to a populated town? Hayes explains that monsters generally stay inside. Any exceptions are handled quickly. Kassan jumps in, explaining that dungeons are a natural phenomenon. They can look like caves or even massive towers of doom. The key detail, he adds, is that they tend to pop up near densely populated areas. How convenient for our heroes. Hayes continues, saying that when a dungeon appears, the local lord sends in mercenaries like them to go clean it up. Ketal clarifies, so dungeons never appear directly inside a town, but always a certain distance away. Alessandro confirms this. Suspicious, right? Suddenly, Ketal's eyes light up. He asks the most important question of all. Is there a reward for clearing them? Hayes confirms that for a dungeon this size, defeating the final boss would probably yield some seriously hefty loot. A dark, knowing smile creeps across Ketal's face. He thinks to himself, just like the game. Hayes overhears him, but he quickly plays it off. Says he was just talking to himself before changing the subject. He then asks a question that leaves everyone stunned. Who is it that makes these dungeons? Now we're talking. Hayes replies that dungeons are just natural, but Ketal isn't buying it for a second. He says there are too many oddities. He points out that they conveniently appear near towns, almost as if they're demanding to be explored and tempting people with treasure. For a natural event, he concludes, it feels far too deliberate. And you can see the realization just hit Hayes like a truck. She's totally shocked. She admits she'd never even thought to question something so fundamental. Welcome to the Conspiracy Club, Hayes. Kassan is having a similar crisis. He always figured barbarians were ignorant savages, but this line of questioning is anything but. Remembering how cruel this guy can be, he starts to wonder if Ketal is truly a typical barbarian at all. You think? Kassan's train of thought is interrupted by Ketal cheerfully asking if everyone's rested. Talk about a mood shift. Startled out of their philosophical funk, the party members quickly agree they're ready to move on. They just want to get out of here. The party ventures deeper into the dungeon, but then Ketal suddenly stops in his tracks, looking surprised. He spotted a large treasure chest. Kassan tells him it's a dungeon reward, his for the taking if he can unlock it. But there's no chance in heck they can open this chest. They meet a high-level rogue for that. Just then, Ketal turns to him and asks him, Kassan, can I unlock it? Oops. Kassan is completely dumbfounded. Ketal just lays out the simple logic. That's a treasure chest, and you are a rogue. Can't argue with that. Ketal is genuinely excited, saying it is a rogue's job to handle chests, right? But Kassan starts to sweat pure panic. He panics internally, screaming that if he had skills to actually unlock a chest like that, he would not be a bottom feeder stuck in a low-level dungeon. Kassan is freaking out. He cannot possibly tell Ketal the truth, not when the big guy is looking at him with such pure, sparkly-eyed expectation. His mind flashes to the worst-case scenario. Ketal's disappointment turns into a cold, deadly glare, calling him useless before crushing his skull. With a strange, sweaty smile, Kassan forces out a laugh and agrees to give it a shot, all while crying his eyes out on the inside. As he kneels, Ketal leans in close, watching with intense curiosity. Talk about pressure. Kassan is pretty sure he is not getting out of this alive if he fails. He desperately tries to recall the lockpicking skills he saw other adventurers use back when he was just a porter carrying their junk. With shaky hands, he begins to work on the lock. The sound of metal scraping echoes in the quiet dungeon. As Ketal looms over him, radiating a dark, impatient aura, Kassan realizes this is it. He has to risk his life on this one shot. This is the moment of truth for Kassan the rogue. Kassan is about to lose his mind when click, the lock opens. Ketal looks over, but wait a second. Why is Kassan trembling? Oh, he's full-on ugly crying now. Through his tears, he manages to sob out. It's opened. Hayes, the cleric, is totally blown away. Whoa! I heard only skilled thieves could do this. You are amazing. Even Ketal cracks a grin, looking impressed. Is that so? That's impressive, Kassan. Even Kassan can't believe it. He has always prided himself as someone who always does his best, but he thinks, was I not doing my best until now? It's a full-on existential crisis, folks. Ketal cuts right to the chase, asking what the loot is worth. Hayes figures it is enough for a family to live like royalty for a month. Understood, Ketal says with a smirk. Kassan, you are on loot duty. Kassan immediately snaps to attention. Yes, sir. He eagerly reaches into the chest and pulls out a super sparkly, gem-studded goblet. He has never held this much loot in his life. Suddenly, Ketal goes, Hey, Kassan. And then he screams in absolute surprise and terror. Ketal is completely lost. You need some help? But Kassan just shakes his head frantically. Does something hurt? Ketal asks. Kassan panics and yells, No, I did not do anything. Yeah, the rest of the party has absolutely no idea what is going on. After that little bit of weirdness, the party continues deeper into the cave. Suddenly, Kassan calls out, Wait, please stop. It is skeletons. Ketal sizes up the situation. Looks like 4 skeletons. I will handle 3 of them. The whole party flinches. Did he really just say that? You guys handle the last one, he says, looking all fired up. Kassan clutches his bag of loot, realizing this is a real fight. Alessandro just nods grimly. Understood. The moment Ketal takes a step forward, the pile of bones on the ground starts to stir. With a ton of rattling sounds, the skeletons begin to assemble themselves. Kassan watches, completely horrified. Man, watching bones put themselves back together is always creepy. The 4 skeletons rise, eyes glowing with an eerie blue light, and let out a collective silent scream. Ketal gives the order. Everyone, let the battle begin. Kasan is the first one to move, rushing toward the skeletons, his blade flashing. The first skeleton is taken by surprise, but just as Kasan is about to strike, Katal intercepts them. He's holding 3 of the skeletons in a tight bear hug. You are spectating a rare spectacle. Do not interrupt. I will handle you 3. The 4th skeleton, now all alone, swings its sword down. But Alessandro is ready for it, blocking the blow with a deafening clang of his shield. Kasan flies into action. He leaps over it, daggers drawn and ready to strike. Meanwhile, Hayes' eyes glow as she casts a spell, Shadow of Confusion. Alessandro takes the opening, swinging his glowing sword in a massive overhead cleave. The skeleton collapses to the ground, but hold up, they weren't able to break its core. The skeleton just reattaches its parts and attacks again. Katal watches all this with a pleased smile. It is really impressive to see a party's core skills in action firsthand. Quite rare, he adds, before crushing the 3 skeletons he is holding with his bare hands. Boom! Well then, he says as the bones dissolve, with the obstacles cleared, let us enjoy the show. As the 3 party members prepare for the second round, they're all thinking the same thing. Somehow, this barbarian is testing us. Man, do they all look fired up. The poor skeleton blinks in confusion. It knows it's toast. Hayes' eyes burn with intensity. If you show weakness, you will die. Fired up, Alessandro charges forward with a ferocious expression, overwhelming the final enemy. A flurry of red slashes fills the screen as the whole team goes all out. Finally, the skull clatters to the ground. With the fight finally over, the party collapses, panting from exhaustion. Katal watches his exhausted party with a thoughtful expression. Those adventurers he met at the white snowfield must have been strong after all. This party could barely even clear 1 skeleton. So off they go to the next floor. There were more monsters, but with Ketal at the front, it was hardly a problem. Until finally, they get to the final floor. At the far end of a huge hall, a figure in ominous black armor sits silently on a stone throne. It is a skeleton knight. The realization hits Hayes like a ton of bricks and she starts trembling in fear. Kitao calmly turns to his party. Is this skeleton different from the others we have faced? The reply is grim. Yes, it is strong, quite strong. It can expertly wield a sword and shield and is a knight-level fighter. They have no chance of winning. Hayes is terrified, thinking they cannot possibly handle this monster. Ketal asks, what happens if we cannot clear this and decide to retreat? Hayes explains that if they bail, they need confirmation from the territory. If it is deemed a reasonable retreat, it is no problem. A slight smirk appears on his face as he looks at his tense comrades. That is reasonable, he says, agreeing with them. Meanwhile, the skeleton knight remains on its throne, its entire body pulsing with some seriously bad vibes. Alright, deep in the dungeon, we've got the final boss. A skeleton knight glowing with a menacing purple aura. It stands its ground, ready to throw down with our hero, Ketal. And Ketal just smirks. A skeleton that can hold its own form? Fascinating. My guy is easily amused. The skeleton knight doesn't care. It raises its massive sword, preparing to turn him into paste. Before anyone can even blink, the knight leaps into the air and bam! It unleashes a devastating energy wave. Hayes throws up a golden barrier. She's trying her best, but you can tell it's not enough. And it shatters, but it's Alessandro to the rescue. He uses his shield to block the party. The whole group is sent tumbling. They are completely and utterly outclassed here. Ketal seems surprised for a split second. Even the party's tank Alessandro can't believe the insane power behind that single blow. Realizing its opponents are basically ants, the knight lunges forward to finish the job. But this time, Ketal is ready for it. No more standing around looking impressed. He meets the attack with a single devastating punch that sends a shockwave through the dungeon. The knight is sent flying backward and is completely deleted from existence. His party members can only stare. Their jaws are on the floor and their brains have officially short-circuited. Ketal just casually dusts off the dirt from his hands. Is that all? After that one-punch demolition, the party finds the real prize. A big old glimmering treasure chest. Ketal turns to Kasan and asks him to unlock it. Kasan panics immediately. No way. The lock is way too high level for his current skills. As Kasan explains that they'll have to leave the loot behind, Ketal just winds up and punches the chest. The chest bursts open, leaving Kasan and the rest of the party completely speechless. Again, Ketal just grins, saying this way is much better, and tells a dumbfounded Kasan to handle the loot. Poor Kasan is left utterly bewildered. If you could just break it, why did you even ask him in the first place? Alright, having cleared the dungeon, the party emerges from a cave entrance into a bright sunny forest. And suddenly, poof, the cave entrance behind them just collapses. Kasan explains that a perfect clear makes the dungeon disappear, which also means there was no secret room. The idea of a secret room just makes Ketal grin. That sounds fun too. This guy just wants more things to punch. Back at the city gate, the guard is shocked to see them return so quickly. He was expecting them to be paced. He nervously asks how the dungeon was. Ketal gives him a beaming thumbs up and says it was satisfying. The guard begins the official entry procedure, which involves interviewing each member of the party separately. He asks Hayes if the barbarian should be allowed to stay. After a moment, she hesitantly agrees. See, the guard's real job is to weed out dangerous elements, but both Kasan and Alessandro vouch for Catal. They confirm that despite his monstrous strength, he didn't harm the party. The guard realizes he's not a typical barbarian. When it's Catal's turn, he has nothing but praise for his teammates, calling them all excellent and reliable. This is highly unusual for the guard. Forcing strangers to party up almost never ends on good terms like this. Convinced, the guard grants them entry into the city, but he warns Catal to stay out of trouble. He hands over the dungeon reward, a heavy bag of gold. Usually the guards confiscate the loot, but this time the guard decides to give it to them. Catal happily takes the bag and declares they'll split it fairly 4 ways. The others immediately try to refuse. They know they did basically nothing, but Catal insists the reward must be shared. With that settled, he cheerfully suggests they all go for a celebratory drink. The trio can only force some very awkward smiles and agree to go along with it. The moment he's out of earshot, they're practically in tears, begging to be released from this terrifying ordeal. Watching them go, the guard reflects on what he just saw. A barbarian who can fell a skeleton knight in one single hit. He's monstrously strong. We're talking at least knight level, or maybe even higher. This wasn't just any barbarian. He's the barbarian of legend. An alien existence in this world. Having made up his mind, the guard decides this is way above his pay grade. He has to report this to his lord. Later that night, at a grand estate, a powerful figure is writing a report by candlelight. There's a sudden knock on the door. A voice from a throne bids the person to enter. Inside a lavish hall, the guard from the city gate approaches the throne. With a sharp click of his heels, he addresses the man, "My lord." The man, Luke Barkin, lord of this domain, looks up from his work. "What is it?" he asks, his expression impossible to read. The first captain of the guard stands at attention, getting straight to the point. "A barbarian has appeared in the domain." Lord Barkin's voice booms, "So did you grant him permission?" The guard captain is sweating buckets, trying to explain himself. "I judged that it wouldn't be a major issue." Lord Luke Barkin, looking like he is about to fire someone, is not buying it. "Then what is the problem?" he snaps. The captain finally cracks. "He is strong," he admits. "Like might overthrow your kingdom strong." Now Barkin is interested. He leans forward, all ears. "How strong are we talking?" The answer is absolutely insane. Apparently, this mystery man one-shotted a skeleton knight. Just poof. Gone. Barkin is floored. You see, a skeleton knight is a big deal. It usually takes a whole team of pros to even scratch one, and this guy did it in one hit. But then he remembers the guy is a barbarian and scoffs. Clearly, he thinks barbarians are just big, dumb walking muscles. So he grills the captain. "Are you telling me this brute is a first-rate warrior?" The captain basically says, "Yep, probably." He even admits the guy could be a tier above that. The sweat is practically a waterfall now. And this, folks, is what we call a political nightmare. An unknown, super-powered warrior roaming your turf? Big yikes for any ruler. Barkin decides to rip the band-aid off. "Bring him to me." The captain just about has a heart attack. "Are you sure about that, boss?" But the Lord has got a point. Leaving a walking nuke unchecked is a bad idea. He needs to size this guy up personally. The captain warns him it is risky, but Barkin just smirks and gestures behind his throne. "Do not worry, I've got backup." Barkin turns to his shadow knight. "So what do you think?" The knight clenches his fist, dripping with arrogance. He is just a barbarian, he scoffs. An ignorant brute with a bit of luck. He then flexes that he was trained by the great swordmasters himself, so obviously this barbarian is nothing more than a bug to be squashed. That is all Barkin needs to hear. He gives the final order, "Bring me the barbarian. I will handle this." Meanwhile, the ignorant brutes in question, Catal is absolutely destroying an all-you-can-eat buffet. His new party members can only stare in silent, traumatized horror. Their faces are a perfect meme. Catal, completely oblivious, slams his mug down. "This food is great, my treat, guys. Dig in." They respond with the most forced, pained laughter you have ever heard. Catal then puts Alessandro on the spot. "You are a holy knight, huh? So where was all that holy power back in the dungeon?" Ouch. Alessandro starts sweating again, explaining that he was in training so his holy power hasn't awakened yet. Catal just bluntly calls it a shame. Zero social skills, this guy. Next target, Hayes. "You worship Colossia, right? Is there a temple around here?" Hayes awkwardly explains that her goddess is the deity of lies and deceit. So, yeah, not a lot of fan clubs or mega churches. She quickly changes the subject to the million-dollar question. "So, just how ridiculously strong are you?" The other two snap to attention, curious. Catal just stares back, a chicken bone hanging out of his mouth, completely clueless. He basically says, "I do not know, I just got here." Then he asks them, "How strong is a skeleton knight anyway?" The man has no frame of reference. Hayes gives him the rundown. A second-rate warrior can barely fight one. A first-rate warrior could probably win like he did. Catal just goes, "Huh, so that's considered second-rate. Suddenly, a trembling voice calls out, "Excuse me." It's the shop owner, and he is terrified, stammering that they are closing. He probably wants this monster out of his tavern. Our boy cheerfully agrees to leave and asks if anyone wants to hang out later. "Oh, you sweet, simple man." In perfect synchronized terror, the other three basically scream that they have to go wash their hair for the next 10 years. Ketal gives a friendly wave. "See you next time." Meanwhile, they are all thinking, "Let us never, ever see you again." And I do not blame them. Finally, free of his terrified friends, Ketal finds a room and collapses onto a bed. For him, this is pure luxury. He feels very lucky he could afford a room with his dungeon loot. After living in the snow, a lumpy mattress is basically a 5-star resort. He starts thinking about his future. He is finally out of the wilderness and wants to actually live a little, experience the world. His bucket list is classic adventurer stuff. See the Elf Kingdom, visit the Magic Tower, check out the capital, you know, the touristy spots. He falls asleep dreaming about all these. The next day, he's woken bright and early by banging on his door. He stumbles out of bed and swings the door open. And look who it is. It is our favorite sweaty guard captain from the castle. Ketal is shirtless, looking like a walking mountain of muscle, and just grunts. "What?" The poor captain practically jumps out of his armor. The captain takes a deep breath and delivers the message. "The Lord wants to see you." Well, this should be interesting. Okay, so the big boss of this entire territory wants to have a little chat with our boy Ketal. And of course he grins and accepts immediately. He's a fanboy in a brute's body after all. He's like, "Cool, let me just grab a shirt." The poor guard is just sweating, thinking this has to be a trap. Why did he say yes so easily? So they start walking through this bustling fantasy town, and Ketal is just soaking it all in. He only saw it at night before, but the daytime graphics are apparently pretty impressive. He hits the poor, flustered guard with a cheesy grin and a big thumbs up. He's all like, "If this is a lucky fantasy, sign me up." The guard looks like he wants to just disappear. Not much time left on his shift. He'll just try not to make eye contact with the Barbarian as much as he can. Finally, they get to the big doors. "I've brought the Barbarian, my lord." The massive doors swing open, revealing the Lord himself, gesturing them inside. Ketal steps onto this ridiculously long, fancy red carpet. Talk about a VIP entrance. The Lord extends a hand, introducing himself as Luke Barkin, the ruler of this land. And get this, Ketal actually shakes his hand and gives a slight bow. Even introduces himself properly. Lord Barkin's brain just short-circuits. A barbarian bowing? It does not compute. Barbarians never bow their heads. It's a sign of weakness. He was expecting some savage, not this polite dude. Barkin tries to play it cool. "Well, look at you learning some manners." Then he gestures for Ketal to have a seat. Ketal takes a look around the super lavish room, geeking out over the classic medieval castle aesthetic, but then his eyes lock onto something. Uh-oh. It's a knight in full-on shining armor just standing there. And our boy's inner nerd is screaming right now. He is totally starstruck seeing a real-life fantasy knight. But when you're a barbarian, simping hits different. The knight's eyes widen in surprise. He's sure about it. This look is bloodlust. He can't believe this barbarian would reveal this much bloodlust in his lord's presence. Oh, if he only knew the truth. The knight is absolutely furious. He thinks this guy is dead, and his hand immediately goes for his sword. But before things get messy, Lord Barkin cuts in, saying he just has a few questions. Ketal is sipping tea like it's nothing. "As you wish. What do you want to know?" The Lord's first question is a big one. "Where did you come from?" Ketal gives a little smile and answers all cryptically. "I come from the coldest place, a world covered in white." And bam! Both the Lord and his knight look completely shocked. He's talking about the legendary white snowfield. Yep, this confirms it. Barkin is sitting across from the Barbarian of legend. Barkin says it's hard to believe, but Ketal is just chilling. He's like, "Believe it or not, your call, buddy." So Lord Barkin switches it up. "Alright, let me ask this. How strong are you?" But what he is really asking is, "Are you going to be a problem for me?" Ketal points out that's the wrong question. He has zero context for the power levels in this new world. The Lord and his knight exchange a look. Ah, I see a plan forming here. So Barkin proposes a classic test of strength. Friendly spar with his knight for a nice reward. You could literally see Ketal's ears perk up at that. The Lord has to add, not to the death, okay? Let's keep it clean." Ketal just grins. "Sounds good to me." The Lord seems a little surprised he agreed so fast, but Ketal is totally psyched. He gets to fight a real fantasy knight with aura powers. This is better than any video game. Lord Barkin clenches his fist, thinking, yep, a barbarian is a barbarian. All they care about is a good fight. Oh, you're a poor, misunderstood MC. And just like that, we cut to a massive arena. Lord Barkin is watching from his private box seats. Down below, Ketal and the knight are facing off, ready to go. The knight looks super serious, while Ketal looks like a kid on Christmas morning. From his throne, the Lord gives the signal. "Let's begin, and try not to kill each other, please." A bell rings, and the knight draws his sword. He tells Ketal it is an honor for him to witness his swordsmanship. Ketal agrees. "I'd prefer that too. But oh snap, the knight is officially triggered. He's thinking, I will show this punk. Time to show him the massive difference in their power levels. He powers up, erupting in a huge green aura. Now then, he taunts, what will you do? And with a massive swing, and his sword splits into 3 giant blades of pure energy right at Kital. Kital just looks up, completely stunned. Wait, there are 3 of them? Uh-oh. An illusion? Oh, heck no. Kital is having a minor freakout, realizing all 3 of those glowy green swords are 100% real. Was this what they called swordsmanship? Kital wonders. The knight gets a little cocky, taunting Kital. Is dodging all you can do? How cute. He admits it's impressive, but he's getting bored. Time to wrap this up. But right before the final blow, bam. Kital just raises his hand and flicks a finger at the sword, shattering it instantly. The knight's brain completely short-circuits. Huh? What was that? Did he just break my sword? In a flash, Kital closes the distance and grabs the knight straight by his chest plate and crumples it like paper. And with a mighty yeet, he hurls the fully armored knight clear across the hall like a tin can. Watching from his throne, Lord Luke Barkin is completely shook. His jaw is on the floor. The knight is down for the count in a massive crater. It took literally a single punch. Barkin cannot believe what he just saw. What kind of ridiculous power is that? Meanwhile, Kital just smiles like it was nothing and asks, so are we done here? Lord Barkin needs a moment to reboot his brain before he quietly confirms, yes. His mind is racing. One-shotting a first-class knight? That's not just strong, that's straight-up superhuman. A barbarian, with those kinds of stats, could completely break the game for the entire world. He decides it's time to phone a friend. A very specific friend with the title of Swordmaster. He's just wondering if the guy has even shown up yet, and if this news will be interesting enough for him. And right on cue, a mysterious voice echoes through the room. You mean my interest? A window just breezes open, and standing right there is some old man in a green robe. Very dramatic entrance. Barkin gives the old guy some serious side-eye. Your hobbies are still as weird as ever. Barkin just chuckles nervously, trying to play it off. Hey, everyone needs a little fun. And here's the name drop, folks. This is Swordmaster Kane. He wants to hear all about this interesting matter. Lord Barkin immediately shoots up and bows. Oh yeah, this guy is a big deal. We cut scene, and now we see the knight recovering in bed, probably feeling very sorry for himself. The door creaks open, and Lord Barkin walks in to check on his walking L. The knight jolts awake in a panic, apologizing over and over for his terrible performance. But it's Kane's voice that cuts in. You should be apologizing to me. And plot twist. He's his master. Kane points out something strange. His armor got absolutely wrecked, but the knight himself doesn't have a single scratch. His conclusion? The barbarian wasn't a mindless brute. He controlled his power with insane precision just to spare him. That kind of control puts him way above a normal knight. He's at least at a superhuman level. And hearing this, both Barkin and the knight look like they've just seen a ghost. Barkin asks how the barbarian compares to Kane, who just scoffs. I'm a swordmaster. Brute strength can't touch this. But Barkin brings up a weird detail. Kital had all that power, but there was no aura, not a single trace. Barkin confirms his theory. He believes Kital is from the infamous White Snowfield. This gets Kane thinking. He's heard legends about the people from that region, or maybe they aren't exactly people. Could he be a heteromorph, a non-human creature just walking around in plain sight? But Kane quickly dismisses that. A real monster would have just turned the knight into a fine red mist without a second thought. Still, the big question remains. Why would someone from the literal edge of the world suddenly show up here? Kane brushes off the concern, muttering something cryptic about the Emperor and his weird requests. He tells Barkin it's nothing for him to worry about. Classic, it is above your pay grades line. The Swordmaster's focus shifts. So, is this barbarian still around? Barkin confirms that he is. With a determined look, Kane decides it is time to go check this mystery man out for himself. Oblivious to what's happening, Kital is having a chat with a guard outside. The guard asks him the million-dollar question, what's next, big guy? He's got the cash reward, and Barkin promised that he's free to do what he wants in the territory. Kital is thinking an official ID would be a good start to make it easier to get around. The guard lays out his options. He could find a high-status sponsor to vouch for him, or he could become a mercenary. The guard explains that if he grinds enough achievements, the guild will officially recognize his identity. But most low-level mercs are just glorified errand boys. He thinks for a powerhouse like Kital, getting a sponsor is the smarter play. But did Kital listen? Of course not. His eyes light up. A mercenary, taking on quests and slaying monsters? He is so in. He asks with this huge, goofy grin, where do I go to become a mercenary? The poor guard is totally caught off guard, stammering that there's a guild hall nearby. Guide me, Kital says, hitting him with a full-power, sparkly anime smile. And the guard just melts. The poor guy never stood a chance. Here's the thing, though. The reality of being a merc is not some grand adventure. They're the lowest rung of society. Even the strongest adventurers often die in dungeons or get used to do a noble's dirty work. which is why the bottom tier of mercenary society is crude, filthy, and very, very loud. Welcome to the Mercenary Guild Hall, where a full-on bar brawl is already in progress. The other mercs, they're just watching and placing bets. Meanwhile, at the reception desk, a woman with pink hair asks her colleague how the new recruits were doing today. Rosa, the blonde receptionist, just sighs. Hopeless. They're all just weirdos. The latest batch includes a disgraced holy knight, a super shady thief, and a nun who worships a questionable deity. Her friend is disappointed. Raza groans that no decent people ever show up, and the current mercs just break stuff. She starts daydreaming about a handsome prince on a white horse coming to rescue her. Girl, you are in the wrong story for that. And right on cue, the guild hall door creaks open. Raza looks up, and bam, a gigantic figure is looming over her desk. Not quite a prince, huh? It's Catel, smiling as he surveys the chaos. So this is the guild hall. The brawl instantly stops. The entire room goes dead silent. Everyone is just staring, jaws on the floor. A barbarian. Catel, completely oblivious to the panic, slams his hands on the desk. I'm here because I want to become a mercenary. Raza is absolutely terrified, stammering as she asks him why on earth he would want to join. He explains it's a way to get official status. Raza confirms it but warns him it'll take a lot of grinding to get there. The registration costs 5 silver coins. He gives his name but admits he has no idea how old he is. Raza just shrugs and types in a random age. Alright, your registration is complete. Here is your mercenary badge. Catel takes the badge and without missing a beat he says, enlist me. He's eager to start immediately, asking about available quests. She shows him the list of jobs he can actually accept as a total newbie. Catel looks at the list, completely confused. Wait, is this all there is? The F-rank quests are literally just chores. Herb gathering, basement cleaning, sewer cleaning. This is not slaying dragons, my friend. Raza gets super nervous. Barbarians are known to be proud people. Is Catel going to flip out over these lame jobs? As she starts to explain how he can rank up, Catel just points to the list. I'll take this one. Rosa stares, confused. He's pointing directly at herb gathering, the most basic fetch quest in history. She asks if he's sure. He just crosses his arms and says, isn't this something that needs to be done? There's no problem. He then asks where he can find the herbs. Raza explains they're outside the village and gives him a little drawing of the plant to help. Got it. I'll be back shortly, Catel says with a confident smile, taking the card. As he walks away, Raza is left completely stunned. What the? He's so chill about this. Meanwhile, her pink-haired friend rushes over and literally has to shake her back to reality. Out in the forest, Catel finds the flowers and compares them to the drawing. Yep, looks right. He wonders if they're for treating wounds, thinking they look a little strange. Well then, he says, I've got my UV protective gear and I'm ready to begin my first mission, the absolute dork. About an hour later, he's back. Thump. He drops an enormous sack of herbs on the table, making Rosa jump. Will this much be enough? He asks cheerfully. Rosa is wondering if he just destroyed the whole flower field, but when she inspects them, she's shocked. They're all in perfect condition. She notes that most mercs just rip them up, but Catel smirks. Despite how I look, I'm quite confident in my delicate touch. She hands him his reward for all that work. 1 single silver coin. That is barely enough to buy the cheapest meal in town. The grind is real, folks. Still, as Catel looks at his earnings, he feels a sense of pride. It's the first money he's ever earned through honest work. And to be honest, he's quite touched about it. Oh, the feels. He tells Raza he's very satisfied and asks for another quest right away, leaving her completely baffled. She just can't understand it. This massive, intimidating barbarian, why does he look so happy picking flowers? Rosa, the guild receptionist, is just completely overwhelmed. Her final thought? Man, I think this new mercenary is weird too. So, after flower picking, basement cleaning, and a lovely stroll through the sewers, our boy Catel is on a roll. He points right to his next F-rank quest, warehouse cleaning. Raza, the receptionist, is just about to have a meltdown. After the herbs, this is his 3rd straight cleaning gig. She looks at this mountain of a man smiling like he just won the lottery and has a thought. Wait a minute, does he actually like cleaning? Slapping on the most strained customer service smile in history, she nervously stamps his request form. You do you, big guy. A few moments later, Catel arrives at the warehouse ready to get his hands dirty, or, well, clean. He finds the owner waiting for him, a simple woman in a white hood, probably expecting a scrawny kid looking for pocket change. Instead, she gets Catel, who beams at her and announces, I've come to clean the warehouse. And the poor woman's soul just about leaves her body. Her face says it all, total, unfiltered horror. He asks if she's the owner and she can barely stammer out a yes. All her brain can process is a barbarian, but it turns out he's the best mover she's ever hired. Lifting massive crates is literally no problem for him. Easy peasy. Next up on his chore list, street sweeping. He notes that controlling his superhuman strength was tricky at first, but he got it down. Little does he know, he's got a stalker. From a window, Swordmaster Kane is watching through binoculars, completely baffled. Kane is losing his mind. This guy, Kettle, has enough power to topple a kingdom. Any nation would welcome him with open arms. And what's he doing with that power? Sweeping garbage off the street. And he's not even slacking, he's taking it 100% seriously. Kane is just speechless. Meanwhile, Keto wipes his brow, absolutely basking in the glory of a hard day's work. Ah, the satisfaction. He wakes up to a brand new day. He's a bit sore, sure, but he feels amazing. That honest work high is real, folks. He gets up and spots a small pouch by the table. He flashes back to Rosa, presenting him with his pay. Good work on your first day, Mr. Kettle. Here is your reward for completing all 15 requests. His eyes go wide. A whole pouch of 15 silver coins. This might be the most money he's ever seen. He is absolutely glowing with happiness. Thanks. I'll be back again tomorrow, he says, grinning from ear to ear. Man, that memory brings a smile to his face. He thinks, time to begin my second day in civilization. The next morning, Kettle is taking a nice stroll through town, oblivious to the freaked out faces of the villagers. He's walking with the confidence of a man who just got paid, when suddenly he grinds to a halt. He looks up and his eyes widen with curiosity. Is that a library? A little bell jingles as he walks inside. The librarian turns around to greet the new patron, and she immediately lets out a blood-curdling scream, because a shadowy 7-foot barbarian is asking if he can please read some books. Sometime later, after the screaming has subsided, Ketel is sitting peacefully, completely lost in a book. The librarian just watches him from her desk, frozen. Her brain cannot compute what she is seeing. Outside, our favorite stalker Kane is back on the job, and he is just as stunned. The savage barbarian is in a library, reading. He starts to wonder if maybe Snowfield barbarians are just super cultured, or if this one is just a massive weirdo. Kettle finishes a history book and neatly sums up the entire conflict. So the Empire won in the end. He remembers his friend Mylena saying she was heading to the kingdom at war with that same empire. Well, now he knows how that turned out for her. The book confirms the Empire is now a superpower, having basically turned the kingdom of Barkan into its personal puppet state. They've already swallowed half the human world and are still expanding. Talk about aggressive foreign policy. Kettle sits there for a moment, just pondering the whole idea of world domination. But that's enough boring human stuff. He moves on to what he really came for, the book on non-human races. And he is absolutely thrilled to learn that all those fantasy creatures from legends are 100% real in this world. The book details all kinds of incredible places, like a dwarven cave overflowing with rare minerals and shiny loot. It also mentions a fairy village, a city of celestials floating in the sky, and the super-secret elven sanctuary, Elfozagrada. Apparently, Elfozagrada is a hidden holy land that nobody has ever managed to find. Kettle just smirks. In that case, I must have earned the extraordinary right to visit the elves' sanctuary. But as he turns the page, his face just drops. What is this? Are there more places like the White Snowfield? He's found the section on demon realms. Places humans can't go, filled with twisted monsters. And there are 5 major ones. The book lists them out: the Forest of Silence, the Fiery Abyss, the Deep Sea, and something called the Deep Hole. Fun vacation spots. And what do you know? The 5th one is the White Snowfield. Yup, his home sweet home. The book says that while these realms have terrifying monsters, they can't actually expand their influence into the human world. Kettle is just floored. He's thinking, just how big is this world? The White Snowfield was enormous, and there are more places just like it. Having learned all he can, he neatly stacks the books and gets up to leave, making the librarian jump out of her skin. He gives her a friendly smile on his way out. Thanks, that was very informative. With one final, terrifyingly polite smile, Kettle is gone, the little bell jingling as the door closes. He heads straight back to the mercenary guild, cheerfully asking a very startled Rosa if she has any new jobs for him. And his face just lights up with pure, unadulterated excitement as she hands him a new quest form. The man loves to grind. Meanwhile, Swordmaster Kane is still watching from the shadows, and he has to admit it. This guy is just plain weird. After 2 full days of surveillance, he's seen enough weirdness to last a lifetime. It's finally time to meet this man in person. Walking through town at night, Kettle is feeling pretty good about his day's work. He glances at his pouch of coins. Hey, even the small jobs are adding up to some decent loot. If he keeps this pace up, he figures he'll be a recognized mercenary in no time at all. Meanwhile, in a dark alley, a mysterious figure watching him from the shadows. The figure steps out, blocking his path. Kettle stops, turning around with a questioning look. Well, look who it is. It's the old man from before, Swordmaster Kane, looking super grim under his hood. But Kettle is completely calm and just says, "You've been following me around all day, haven't you?" Kane is stunned silent. The Master of Stealth just got called out by this guy. Awkward. Kettle crosses his arms, asking what he wants. And Kane is just internally screaming, "You noticed me." He's certain he completely hid his presence using aura, thinking it should be impossible for anyone to sense him. Seeing the silent cloaked man, Kettle's brain makes a huge leap. He cracks his knuckles and asks, "Are you maybe a bandit?" Kane's face is a perfect picture of absolute confusion right now. Taking the silence as a yes, Keto figures he was right. Even the nicest towns still have bandits, I guess. Kane starts to deny it, but then stops. I mean, would this kid even believe he's a famous swordmaster? Keto looks at him with pure pity. Do you really need to turn to robbery in your old age? The economy must be really bad. Oh, sick burn. Then a brilliant idea strikes our boy. Bringing in a bandit would be a great achievement for his resume. Kane just stares, completely bewildered. How did we even get here? But then an idea dawns on him. If Kettle thinks he's a bandit, this is the perfect chance to test his strength. Just as he makes up his mind, Kettle vanishes right before his eyes. Poof, gone. Kane whips his head around, totally shocked. He's gone. In an instant, Kettle reappears directly behind him, eyes glowing as he reaches for Kane. Realizing he's about to be grabbed, Kane unleashes a blast of green energy, blocking the attack. Kettle stops and a huge grin spreads across his face. Oh, not bad, old man. You're pretty fast. Kane lands a few feet away, his mind completely reeling. He cannot believe it. No way, he almost caught me. Even more shocking, he realizes Kettle moved that fast with pure physical stats. He couldn't sense any aura at all. Kettle just stands there, smiling, completely unbothered by any of this. Kane grits his teeth. Okay, this isn't a test anymore, he is going all out. But once again, in the blink of an eye, Kettle is gone. This kid is just way too fast. Before Kane can even process it, Kettle has grabbed his arm. The Swordmaster is in total disbelief. He had his senses on high alert and still couldn't react in time. The grip is immense. It feels like his arm is lodged in a boulder, his entire body being dragged against his will. Straining against the hold, Kane realizes he can't even compete in a power struggle. The strength gap is just insane. In that case, he has no choice. He'll go all out and release his power. Kettle notices a strange light from Kane's hand right before a massive wave of energy erupts from the Swordmaster. The blast creates a blinding flash of light, forcing Kane back as well. He lands, panting, his hand still crackling with residual energy. Kettle stands completely unfazed, saying that bandits these days have all sorts of tricks. Kane is furious. Why does this big lug keep calling me a damn bandit? Kane is fuming. He just used mana materialization, an elite warrior technique, and this kid thinks it's some cheap trick. But Keto just stares back with a wide, impressed, almost cartoonish grin, which leaves Kane speechless. Kane cannot comprehend it. His attack should shred hardened steel, but Keto doesn't even have a single scratch. He stares at Kettle's absurd physique, wondering how he's tanking such a powerful attack with his bare skin. Kettle takes a step forward. I think it's about time to finish this. In response, Kane finally reaches for his sword. But before his fingers can even close around the hilt, boop, Kettle's index finger is already there, stopping the draw completely. The Swordmaster's eyes nearly pop out of his head in shock. This is just not possible. He strains with all his might, but he can't overcome the pressure of that single finger. He looks up into Kettle's eyes, which are once again glowing with that unnerving purple light. A single tear of despair rolls down Kane's face. He thinks to himself, this is the end for me, and with one swift chop, it is all over. Kettle holds up the unconscious Swordmaster. So this is what a bandit in a fantasy world looks like. A few minutes later, he's at the guardhouse. Barbarian, what's the meaning of this? Stammers the guard. Our boy Kettle just strolls up, dragging the legendary Swordmaster Kane like a sack of groceries. The guard is trying to compute what he's seeing. Did this random barbarian just solo a superhuman? I caught a thief, Kettle announces. Okay, the guard can't hide his shock anymore. He then asks if turning in this loot will count towards his mercenary quest completion. The guard's brain just blue-screened. Error 404. Logic not found. He's thinking, that's Swordmaster Kane, the legend, and he's being handled like a bag of dirty laundry. The poor guy finally manages to get a few words out. He's not a thief. And Kettle's brilliant detective mind immediately concludes, so you know him. If he's not a thief, then he must be an accomplice. Panicking, the guard snaps to attention and bows to the unconscious body. I greet you, Swordmaster Kane of the Gehentra Kingdom. And you can almost see the single gear in Kettle's head finally start to turn. He looks down at the old man. A guy called Swordmaster is just a common thief? Nah, he's not buying it for a second. That's impossible. He's a thief. He attacked me for my silver coins. The guard is practically begging him at this point. No, he really is the Swordmaster. I'd never mistake that face. As the guard tries to reason, Kettle comes to his own galaxy brain conclusion. Is Swordmaster some kind of cool nickname for thieves? The guard just stares. What the heck are you even saying? After a long, awkward pause, the guard decides this is way above his pay grade and he's going to report it to the Lord. Sometime later, Lord Luke Barkin is absolutely losing his mind. What? Lord Kane was defeated? We get a super awkward apology session. It's a whole lot of my bad and no, it was my fault. The two of them just sit there in a silence so thick you could cut it with a very uncomfortable knife. Watching from the doorway, Lord Barkin is trying to process all this. He expected a fight, sure, but he never thought the Swordmaster would get absolutely bodied. The conclusion is simple and honestly pretty terrifying. This barbarian is stronger than a Swordmaster. Even if Kane is the rookie Swordmaster, the title isn't a joke. Defeating one means Kettle is a completely unpredictable powerhouse. This is giving him a headache, so he bails. Seems there's been a misunderstanding. I'll let you two have a private chat, he declares. And exits, closing the doors, and the room goes right back to that awkward silence. You can just feel the second-hand embarrassment. Kane takes a shaky sip of tea, his pride completely deleted from the server after that beatdown. He tries to pull himself together, making a formal reintroduction. I am Kane, the Swordmaster. And Kettle, ever the genius, asks if Swordmaster is his last name. Kane has to explain that when you're that OP, you don't need a surname. Kettle just nods, then asks about that weird energy attack from earlier. He wants to know if it's a special skill. You mean this little thing? Kane asks, casually powering up his hand with that green energy. Suddenly, Kettle's eyes light up. He admits he thought it was a dumb parlor trick, but now that he knows it's a Swordmaster skill, it's super cool. Kane gives him the lore drop. It's called Aura, and it's a manifestation of a base energy called the Mystic. The light bulb finally clicks for Kettle. So that thing back then was Aura, and now he's like a kid on Christmas morning. How can I learn to use that? Kane breaks it down for him. Mystic is the raw power source. Swordsmen use it to make aura, while mages use it for mana. Kettle gets this sly little grin. So, anyone can learn to use this mystic stuff? Can you teach me? Kane is just stunned silent. Kettle leans in with a smile and says, please, teach me. And what can you do? Kane agrees. But he's still confused. Why ask me for help? You're clearly stronger than I am. Kettle just admits he knows absolutely nothing. He just swings wildly without any knowledge. And just like that, Kane's fighting spirit is back. This is his chance. He can teach this barbarian and restore his own shattered honor. He puffs out his chest. Very well. A Swordmaster is nothing without his sword. Without it, I am but half a man. Kettle nods seriously and says, I thought so. No wonder you seem so weak. You didn't have your sword. And Kane's soul leaves his body all over again. He keeps twisting the knife too. I did think it was weird. If you had used your sword, maybe you would have won. Kettle gives him a big friendly smile, totally oblivious. Meanwhile, Kane is just weeping internally, knowing his self-esteem is about to be ground into dust. And with his fragile ego barely taped back together, Swordmaster Kane begins the lesson. He's trying to explain the difference between simple sword swinging and his fantasy swordsmanship, which uses the power of aura. He says the big selling point of his style is making illusions and reality one and the same. A pretty bold claim, my friend. He quizzes Kettle, asking, when you fought my disciple, what did you see? And Kettle immediately remembers the guy's sword splitting into 3 totally real attacks. Ah, so that's materialization, Kettle says, understanding it instantly. He even correctly guesses it's a style focused on finesse, not brute force, which Kane confirms through gritted teeth. Kane puffs out his chest again, explaining that combining a sword with aura is the only path to becoming a true swordmaster. To demonstrate, he channels his energy and bam! His sword ignites with a vibrant green aura. Gotta admit, it looks pretty cool. Kettle's eyes go wide with pure excitement. Ooh, so that's aura? A totally flustered Kane can only stammer. Yes, Kane still can't believe he's teaching a barbarian this stuff. He figures showing is way better than telling with this guy. I'll just show you myself, he says, taking his stance. His focus is absolute. This is his big moment to shine. He unleashes a powerful downward slash and whoosh, a fan of green energy attack screams across the entire hall, tearing up the floor. Kettle just watches intently, not even flinching. The strike, it's split into 5 parts. As the dust settles over the now demolished floor, Kane explains that lots of people can create illusions with aura, but only my swordsmanship allows them to take physical form. He looks so proud of himself, asking, what do you think? And Kettle delivers the most devastatingly simple reply in history, I think I can do it too. Kane just sputters, calling it nonsense. He's internally screaming about the lifetime of grinding it took him to master this art. It's faster if I just show you, Kettle says, completely cutting off the old man's internal crisis. Then he hefts a massive battle axe, leaving Kane totally bewildered. An axe? What is happening right now? Kettle just plants his feet and swings that giant axe in a blur of motion so fast it creates multiple clear after images. Kane is stunned silent. A sword strike, then the horrible truth dawns on him. He just moved fast using brute strength. Kettle slams the axe down and boom, a monstrous shockwave tears a trench through the entire hall in a fiery blast. Kane's face is a perfect mask of pure, unadulterated shock. Meanwhile, smoke is just gently curling off Kettle's axe. With a confident smirk, our boy Kettle asks, what do you think? He knows exactly what he just did. Kane is trying to process this. It looked like an illusion made real, but it was just overwhelming speed and power. Even he was almost fooled. He tells Kettle it was just a simple swing, but Kettle counters that if the result is the same in a real fight, does the technique really matter? And Kane is left completely speechless. He knows Kettle isn't wrong, and the blow to his pride is just massive. Refusing to accept this defeat, Kane shouts, "Then how about this?" In a flash of green energy, he creates several solid clones of himself. Now Kettle is genuinely surprised. He's looking at them like, his body split apart. This is new for him. Kane and his clones all strike as one, their combined attack gouging a massive smoking crater in the floor. Kane proudly explains that this is a technique achieved through ultimate control of aura. Then he challenges Kettle, "Can you replicate it?" In response, Kettle doesn't say a word. He just plants his feet and hefts that giant axe one more time. He begins to spin, faster and faster, becoming a literal vortex of raw, destructive power. This is not looking good for Kane. The spinning intensifies, whipping up a tornado inside the building that tears the very stones from the walls. It's absolute chaos. When it all subsides, Kettle stands calmly in the middle of the utter devastation. What do you think? This is the final straw for our swordmaster. Kane just collapses, shaking and wailing about his life's work being completely meaningless. He's completely broken. The legendary swordmaster is reduced to a sobbing wreck on the ground. It's both tragic and hilarious. Kettle looks down at the mess of a man and remarks, "Your mental fortitude is weaker than I expected." Switching to therapist mode, he offers an unexpected compliment. "Your swordsmanship is amazing." Kettle admits, "I merely swung my axe quickly. That's not real swordsmanship. That's just brute force. But the swordsmanship you showed wasn't an afterimage, it was real. I can never truly reach that level of mystery." And that little bit of validation is all Kane needs. His spirit is instantly restored. He's right, my swordsmanship still holds great value. He declares that materializing illusion and reality is a special technique that only he can perform. His ego is back online. With fire in his eyes, he's thinking, this isn't a flaw in my technique, but that barbarian is just insane. He reasons that no normal human could possibly move fast enough to make after images solid without using aura, which to be fair is true. Seeing that the old man has recovered, Kettle asks again, "Can you teach me true sword techniques?" Kane quickly collects himself. My apologies, I got a little emotional for a moment. With his pride mostly restored, Swordmaster Kane finally begins Kettle's lesson for real this time. He explains that to control aura, you must first awaken to the concept of mystery. It's the secret sauce of this world. No wizard or swordsman can reach the highest levels without it, unless you're a cleric getting your powers directly from the gods. Kettle asks if divine power is different from this. Kane agrees, clarifying that a cleric's power are granted by the gods, not a reflection of their own personal stats. Kettle seems to be absorbing all this new information with some serious interest. Kane continues describing mystery as the innate power within a person. How you control it determines everything about your abilities. Whether it's wielding aura, mana, or spirits, awakening this inner power is the first and most crucial step on the path to greatness. He reveals there are 5 stages to mastering mystery, and the most basic one is simply called sensing mystery. Kettle asks if anyone can do it, but Kane shuts that down fast. Without talent, you can't even feel it. Sorry, noobs. In fact, Kane says, those who can just barely sense it are called third-rate. Talk about a harsh ranking system. Depending on your control over this mystery stuff, everyone in the world is assigned one of 5 different ranks. The ranks go from third-rate to second-rate, first-rate, superhuman, and finally the legendary hero class. As Kettle hears this, you can see a flicker of recognition in his eyes. He seems to be recalling something from his past. Kane just waves it off, saying the ranks are a loose guide, and tells Kettle not to worry about it for now. With the lecture finally over, Kettle confirms he understands everything. Kane announces it's time to begin the practical lesson. Kane stares intently, ready to guide our boy Kettle through the very first stage, sensing mystery. Let's see how this goes. Alright, class is in session. Kane tells our boy to awaken a new sense he's never felt before. The instructions are simple. Feel the wind, feel the earth. Basically become one with nature. Kettle concentrates so hard. But then he just pops his eyes open and says, "Yeah, I can't feel anything though." Kane is completely floored. He figured a guy with maxed out physical stats would sense this easily. He mutters that strong people usually have a better knack for it. Kettle, my friend, is the exception to the rule. Kettle confirms that no one from his snow-covered homeland has ever sensed this mystical stuff. Time for plan B. Kane decides to give him a jumpstart by sending his own energy into Kettle's body. Kettle's eyes light up. "You're transferring aura?" Kane just gives him a vague, something like that. Looking starstruck, our boy agrees. He's only ever read about this in novels. Kane places a hand on his back and tells him to just relax and feel the flow of mana. But the second he makes contact, zap, Kane gets a massive shock. What kind of body is this? He says it feels like touching solid rock. He's seriously questioning if Kettle is even human at this point. Kettle snaps him out of his trance, and Kane awkwardly apologizes for spacing out. Getting serious, Kane starts pouring his aura in, hoping to awaken the dormant power inside Kettle. Green energy flows into our boy's body. Kane feels pretty confident this is going to work. But then, something's not right. Kane stops, looking completely baffled. He can't find the path. He can't even get deep enough to look for it. It's just unreachable. From Kane's point of view, it's like trying to find a Wi-Fi signal in a black hole. It's a vast, empty abyss. He finally has to give up, realizing this is a total dead end. Kane pulls back, and Kettle immediately freaks out. What do you mean it won't work? Do I have no talent? Kane tries to explain. It's not about talent. Kettle has to find the path himself to awaken his power. Kettle gets it, but he's worried. So, are you saying I can't sense the mystical at all? Kane struggles for an answer. He couldn't even check for potential because Kettle's body is just built different. Basically, Kettle's body is so ridiculously dense that it literally acts like a shield, blocking the aura from getting inside. He admits he's never seen anything like it. Pure physical power nerfing magic. That's a new one. Kettle slumps, disappointed. So I can't gain mystical power? Kane admits he doesn't know for sure. He suggests our boy go bother some other swordmasters or maybe the wizards at the magic tower. Kane apologizes, but Kettle just brushes it off, saying it's okay and there's still a chance. Then he breaks into a wide grin, sincerely thanking Kane for all the help. What a good dude. Kane watches him, thinking about all the other barbarians he's met. Total monsters who live for violence. But Kettle is different. Seizing the moment, Kane asks if he'd consider settling down in the kingdom. He offers him loyalty, a title, and a high-ranking position. The whole 9 yards. Kettle's response is simple and blunt. I refuse. I have no intention of belonging to anything. Kane gets this plan in his head that if he could get this barbarian's allegiance, they could be free from the Empire. He tries one last time, dangling the promise of becoming a noble in front of him. Kettle just smiles, totally unfazed by the offer. I'll do things my own way, he says. Kane is shocked for a second, but then a look of understanding crosses his face. He gets it. Our boy gives one last, genuine thank you, promising he won't forget the favor. As Kettle walks away, Kane realizes that trying to control him was a ridiculous idea. No one can control this man. He's a true free agent, acting solely on his own will. He's a total enigma, which makes him potentially more dangerous than any barbarian he's ever met. Sighing, Kane looks out over the castle, his thoughts shift to the Emperor and his hyper-focus on a Demon Realm expedition. A few minutes later, Lord Barkin sits at his desk, fully aware of the Emperor's plans. Kane reports that people are dying for nothing and guesses the Emperor wants to be like that ancient Emperor. But Kane just brushes the thought aside, deciding it's a problem for another day. He continues his grim report. The Empire hasn't even conquered all human territory, making this whole thing foolish. Barkin gets the picture. It's only a matter of time before the Emperor's hungry gaze falls on them. Kane confirms his fears. Since their land is technically part of the Empire, a summons could come at any time. Leaning back, Kane sighs and complains about the world and the half-crazy Emperor causing problems. Suddenly, Barkin's whole mood shifts. He leans forward, dead serious, and asks Kane about a certain rumor. And Kane confirms it. One by one, the movements of demons are becoming more noticeable. Dungeons are appearing more frequently, and whispers say something is leaking out from the demon realm. Whatever is happening, you can bet it's not going to be good for humanity. Then Kane stops. But if you think about it, isn't it strange that the barbarian is also here? Barkin agrees. That's a very good point. Kane pushes him for an answer, but all the Lord can say is, I don't know. He explains that, at the very least, our boy Kettle hasn't been hostile towards them so far. But beyond that simple fact, everything else is a complete and total mystery. Meanwhile, the mystery man himself is just taking a casual stroll, but he starts to notice something is a little off. Yeah, everywhere he goes, people are parting like the Red Sea. They're literally grabbing their kids to get them out of his way. And what is our hero's brilliant conclusion? He thinks it's because of his clothes. Completely misunderstanding the situation, he's completely convinced his beast-hide vest isn't civilized enough. So that settles it. Time for a major wardrobe upgrade. He eventually finds his way to a fancy-looking tailor shop. What could possibly go wrong? The tailor turns around and just about has a heart attack. There's a literal barbarian standing in his high-end store. Through his very real tears, the poor guy explains they don't have anything in Kettle's size. You think? But seeing Kettle's disappointed face, the tailor panics. He quickly offers to make him something custom. And just like that, Kettle's mood does a complete 180. He's thrilled and tells the guy to go for it. The tailor agrees. But his mind is playing a highlight reel of all the ways this giant could end him if he messes up. On his way to the guild hall, something shiny on the ground catches his eye. Look at that. A small, shimmering, blue orb. You know what that means, folks. It's time for a side quest. He gives it a closer look, totally intrigued by the swirling patterns inside. This thing looks pretty important. He figures he'll just ask about it at the guild and casually pockets the mysterious artifact. Once he's there, he shows the orb to Raza. He asks if she has any clue what this thing is. He places it right in her hand, explaining he just found it lying on the street. Rosa examines it. It's clearly crafted but valuable with no maker's mark. But then, her eyes start to glaze over. Suddenly, snap. Kettle breaks the spell. For a solid second, she just stares into space. The lights are on, but nobody's home. Kettle leans in, asking if she's okay. He says it looked like her mind was getting sucked right into the orb. Rosa has no memory of it, but she can feel a strange energy coming from it. She offers to have it appraised. But our boy just laughs it off. He says figuring it out is part of the fun and asks for today's quests. She gives him a list of the usual F-rank jobs, cleaning and harvesting, and Kittle looks like he just won the lottery. After another glorious day of hard labor, Kettle is back in his room, feeling totally satisfied. He pulls out the strange orb again. He's still thinking about that bizarre effect it had on Rosa. Suddenly, a faint voice whispers directly from the orb. It says, "Come to me." The voice keeps repeating, feeding him directions straight into his head. He figures it must be domination magic. The orb keeps pulsing with this creepy invitation, so naturally, he decides to go check it out. He follows the mental GPS to a dark, ominous cave. "I've arrived," he announces. "Where's the one who called me?" A sinister voice echoes back. It says another sacrifice has entered. It calls him a dumb barbarian, but a decent offering. And there he is, folks. The source of the voice is a terrifying skeletal mage, its eyes burning with blue flame. He's sitting on a throne inside a massive glowing ritual circle. His resurrection is finally at hand. Okay, so who is this bony fella on the throne? A long time ago, he was a super evil sorcerer playing puppet master from the shadows. He was the guy behind all the wars, a real menace. Of course, the heroes eventually caught on and came to hunt him down. But just as they were about to win, he pulled the oldest trick in the book. He ditched his body and stuffed his soul into a life vessel, becoming a lich. Now, he's basically immortal. As long as his little soul jar is safe, you can't kill him. To get his body back, he set up shop near this remote town. He scattered these shiny orbs to lure in easy sacrifices for his ritual. These orbs were basically magical batteries for his grand plan. You know, the usual world domination stuff. Everything was going perfectly, until a major wrench got thrown in his plans. Why is a barbarian here? He picked this middle-of-nowhere spot specifically to avoid strong guys like this, so a barbarian showing up is just plain weird. The Lich watches our boy through his magic crystal ball. He's like, "Well, you're a big fella. You'll make an excellent sacrifice." See, his magic orb has a neat little trick. It only hypnotizes people who haven't unlocked their own magic potential. So he just assumes our boy Kettle is a total magic-less nobody. A big dumb piece of meat for the grinder. So he sends out the spooky mental invitation. "Come on in, barbarian. Become the final piece of my glorious comeback tour." And Kittle just waltzes right up to the front door. A massive, imposing wooden door in the middle of a cave. He pushes it open, takes one step inside, and he immediately spots him. Standing right there is the man of the hour himself, a skeletal mage in fancy robes with eerie, glowing blue eyes. Kittle is completely fanboying. He whispers, "It's a real live lick." He is totally geeking out. He's like, "Wow, the ultimate fantasy story final boss. This is so cool." Now it is the Lich's turn to be confused. "What are you?" he demands, realizing the mind control totally failed. Kittle just glances at the piles of bones all over the floor. "Ah," he says, "so that's how you have been luring people in." The Lich still cannot sense any magic from him. He is absolutely convinced Kettle is just an ordinary barbarian. His only explanation? "You must have some super rare artifact that protects your mind." Kettle just gives him a blank stare. "I do not have anything like that, though." Our boy is honest to a fault. The Lich is done talking. His staff starts glowing. "You think you can fool me? If you had just obeyed, this would have been painless. But now I'll just have to crush you with force," he declares, raising his minions from the dead. "Go, my bony boys." And the newly armed skeletons charge right at him. Kettle isn't even bothered. He just smirks. "An evil Lich hiding in a dungeon, huh? I think I get the picture." He casually slaps the skeleton with his bare hand, and it shatters instantly. The Lich is absolutely speechless. Kittle just shakes his hand and says, "You are a lot more shallow than I thought." Oh, that did it. The Lich is furious. "Let us see you talk big when I cut off your arms and legs." He sends in the whole squad this time. "Cut him down." Kettle just scoffs and cracks his knuckles. Bam! He punches the first skeleton straight into dust. Then he follows up with a powerful kick. Crunch! Another one bites the dust. Literally. "You bastard!" The Lich seethes. "All right, playtime is over." His staff glows super bright as he pulls out his trump card. "Rise!" Kettle's eyes widen. A huge, fully armored skeleton knight appears, holding a massive sword and shield. And what does our boy do? He gets excited again. Since this one was created by a Lich, it might be different from the last one. "Kill him!" The Lich screams. The knight charges forward like a freight train. Kettle just grins and cracks his knuckles again. He is finally ready for a real fight. The knight swings its giant glowing sword, but Kettle just watches. Ketel thinks that a skeleton knight summoned by a lich is very unusual. He just winds up and, bam! A single punch completely shatters the knight's skull, sending the undead warrior into a shower of bone and rubble. So much for that real fight. The lich is left totally speechless. His bony jaw is practically on the floor watching this casual display of pure annihilation. As the dust settles, Ketel casually stomps on the knight's twitching hand, crushing it for good measure. A little overkill, my dude. He glances over his shoulder, looking completely bored.
Is that all you got?
The lich desperately scans our boy, trying to figure out what his deal is. Who is this guy? But his magical scan comes up empty. No magic, no mana, not even a hidden artifact. The results just don't make any sense. Could it be? Did this barbarian really just defeat a top-tier undead with nothing but his bare fists? Is that even possible in this world? Deciding this barbarian is way too special to kill, the lich figures he'll have to get his own hands dirty. Consider it an honor, the lich says, floating down to the ground with all the drama of a final boss. Suddenly Ketel cries out and stumbles back as he's enveloped by a black, dense fog. The lich's voice echoes through the cave. Yes, fear me, barbarian. You will pay for invading my sanctuary. But Ketel just looks confused. No, I only came because the orb called me. Weren't you the one who scattered it? And yep, the narrator confirms it. The lich basically sent out a spam email to lure strong people here, and Ketel clicked the link. The lich absolutely loses it. Shut up. I am the great mage who destroyed 5 kingdoms. I am Kartos Branula's Kessis. Ketel suddenly remembers the elf queen. He's starting to wonder if having a super long name is the trend around here. Done with the chit-chat, Kartos unleashes a giant vortex of dark magic. Become the foundation of my resurrection. The spell completely swallows Ketel. His eyes glaze over, swirling like he's been hypnotized. Kartos starts gloating. This is his special magic. It controls emotions and traps people in negativity until their mind breaks. He's absolutely certain that a simple barbarian with 0 magic resistance is completely doomed. Easy win, right? But something feels off. Realizing this barbarian is a special case, Kartos decides to capture him for study instead. He orders his minions forward. Another skeleton warrior crawls out of the ground, sword ready, and shuffles toward the zoned-out Ketel. But just as it gets close, Ketel's eyes flash with a menacing purple light. In a flash, he pivots and kicks the skeleton, instantly turning its entire torso into dust. Talk about a rude awakening. He turns to face the lich, looking completely fine. And once again, Kartos' jaw hits the floor. I think it might be broken this time. The lich just can't believe it. No, how is this possible? That mind control spell should have worked perfectly. Ketel just looks at him, unimpressed. Are you just gonna stand there watching? It's not working, dude. Ignoring him, the lich channels all his remaining power, chanting some seriously dramatic magic words. He unleashes his ultimate attack, a massive sphere of pure dark energy that looks like it could swallow the entire world. And how does Ketel react to this world-ending spell? His eyes are literally sparkling. He looks like a kid on Christmas morning. Kartos cackles. Victory is mine. But suddenly he starts coughing his lungs out and collapses. Dude used up all his mana, but still he's feeling pretty confident. There's just no way the barbarian survived an attack of that magnitude. He looks up, expecting to see a crater, but instead he freezes in absolute terror, because Ketel is standing right there without a single scratch on him. Impressive, but is this really all you got? Kartos is having a complete meltdown. He just used his most powerful spell, one that could break the mind of a great hero, and it did nothing. He demands to know what Ketel is, but our boy is just lost in thought. That was impressive, but I don't feel anything from it. The lich is paralyzed with fear. Ketel picks up his axe with a grim smile. I suppose it's my turn now. But just as Ketel's about to turn him into bone meal, the lich has an epiphany. A dark, creepy smile spreads across his skull, thinking, so that's how it is. The lich is now fully convinced Ketel knows his secret identity. He's like, you came here because you know who I am. So it's true then. Ketel is just standing there thinking, what in the world is this bag of bones babbling about? And then Kartos just lets out this massive villainous laugh. Oh, Empire. Are you that afraid of me? I must admit, you're clever to track me this quickly. The guy's ego is completely off the charts. He starts screaming, but I will rise again. I will destroy your world once more. See, he's heard these rumors about a secret Empire project, a human production field where they basically grow super soldiers. And he's 100% sure Ketel is one of them. A weapon forged just to kill him. An assassin sent by the big bad Empire. Yeah, buddy, that's totally it. But even so, he's not going down without a fight. He announces his full, ridiculously long name. I am Kartos Branula's Kessis. I will kill you and destroy the Empire. And Ketel's reaction? He's just thinking, is this dude insane? Yes, Ketel. Yes, he is. Finally done with his monologue, the lich summons a glowing spectral urn. This, my friends, is his phylactery, his soul jar. He snatches the urn out of the air, ready to unleash his final trump card. Bam! A massive beam of pure magic erupts from the urn and slams right into Kettle's chest. Kettle's eyes go completely white. Is the spell actually working? The Lich's plan is perfect. He's using the urn to shove his soul right into Kettle's body to possess him. It's a one-way trip though. Once he's in, he's trapped in this new body unless he can become a Lich all over again. But hey, it's his only choice. He takes over, declaring, "Now this body belongs to me." But the moment he gets inside Kettle's mind, he realizes he's made a terrible mistake. He looks around like, what is this place? Is this really the Barbarian's subconscious? Just looking at this mental hellscape is enough to break his spirit. He can feel that something is deeply, deeply wrong. He's starting to doubt if the Empire really was behind this. As his soul starts getting ripped apart, he realizes, no, this can't be the Empire's doing. Not even they could create something this horrifying. It's actually breaking his mind. And with one last confused the great Lich Kartos is just deleted. Poof, gone forever. Back in the real world, Kittle is just scratching his head. What the heck was that? He felt a little tickle and that's it. In front of him, the Lich's body clatters to the floor, completely empty. You'd think he'd be relieved, but Kittle is actually disappointed. He thought that attack was cool and wanted to know what magic it was. He strolls over to the bones, thinking the Liches in this world are pretty weak. Dude has no idea what just happened inside his own head. But hey, a win is a win. He cleared the dungeon, and now it's time to collect the loot. He grabs the Lich's staff, remembering that it was glowing when the skeleton used his magic. A little light bulb goes off in his head. Maybe this magic stick will finally let him use magic. So into his inventory it goes, or as he says, in my pocket. Then he spots another item, the urn. He picks up the physical urn, correctly guessing it's a life vessel. He decides to take it to Rosa to get it appraised. With all his new toys gathered, he looks around, but suddenly his gamer senses start tingling. He spots a weird pattern on the wall, something he didn't notice before. A secret room? He wonders, before doing what every RPG character does. He pushes the button, and what do you know? The wall grinds open, revealing a hidden chamber. Classic. He steps inside and finds a room full of people just standing there, like mannequins. His first thought isn't about the people. It's, wow, secret rooms are real. His second thought is, okay, who are all these weirdos? He waves a hand in front of one guy's face. Hello? Anybody home? He tries it on another person, asking if anyone is still alive in there. He gets nothing. So now he's not sure what to do with a room full of human statues. He decides the best course of action is to just... His logic is sound for once. He'll report it to the guild and they can send someone else to deal with it. Not his problem. And so, back at the mercenary guild, Kettle strolls in with his new loot. Rosa greets him with a friendly smile, a little surprised to see him back so early. Kettle just grins back, saying he had a few things to take care of. You know, just a light afternoon of deleting an ancient evil. Rosa is confused, and Kettle explains to her about the orb and who was behind it. She just laughs it off, telling him not to joke around about something so serious. I mean, come on. A Lich, one of only 5 in the whole world, hiding out in this remote little town? Sounds like a bad joke. So to prove he's not joking, Kittle slams the Lich's giant purple urn right on her desk. That shuts her up real quick. He calmly explains that this is the Lich's life vessel and then asks if she can appraise it for him. Just another Tuesday for Kettle. And Rosa? Her brain just short circuits. She completely freezes, finally realizing this absolute madman isn't lying. Then Kettle just casually adds, oh yeah, and there are some people inside. He explains he could have gotten them out, but they looked kind of brain dead. So he figured, that's a job for the guild. And then, ding! The light bulb goes off in Rosa's head. She finally connects the dots between the Lich and all those recent missing person cases. She jumps out of her chair, wait a second, I'll call someone right away. And a few minutes later, a city guard bursts in shouting, did somebody say Lich? Kettle just gives a little wave. Oh, hi, nice to meet you. He tells them it's all settled, no big deal. The guard stammers out the Lich's super long, unpronounceable fantasy name. When Keto just casually confirms it, the poor guy absolutely short circuits. Okay, so this Kratos was a legendary evil mage. A century ago, he drove kings insane and wiped 5 whole kingdoms off the map. He can't believe a monster like that was here in their little village. Yeah, but he wasn't that impressive, Kettle says. He did some weird stuff and basically defeated himself. The guard is just stunned into silence. The guard is sweating buckets, demanding more details. But Kettle's single brain cell has already clocked out for the day. There's nothing more to tell. Realizing this is way above his pay grade, the guard decides to bounce. He's reporting this directly to the Lord. The news reaches Lord Barkin and he is not happy. A Lich? Right next to my territory? He roars. The guard confirms it all. He has testimony from the rescued victims and, oh yeah, the Lich's actual phylactery is proof. Barkin immediately sees the political nightmare. A Lich this big will get the Empire's attention and his top fighter is on vacation. This is truly troublesome, he mutters. He slams his fist on the desk and gives the order. Prepare a message for the capital, now. Barkin admits they got extremely lucky. If Ketil hadn't found Kratos right after he respawned, they would have been the first victims. He knows Ketil's timing was perfect, but the accomplishment is still mind-blowing. This barbarian needs a proper reward. Staring at the moon, he wonders, what kind of loot do you even give a guy who can solo a legendary lick? The next morning, urgent shouting echoes through the castle. Barkin, already up, calmly says, let him in. The huge doors burst open and a frantic maid rushes in. My lord, the sun god's inquisitor, Lord Aquaz, is here. Barkin's eyes widen in pure shock. What? Why would a VIP like that show up in his tiny remote territory? And there she is, standing in a radiant holy aura. The inquisitor of the sun god has officially entered the chat. Later, Barkin sits across from her. He gives his formal introduction as lord of the territory and welcomes her. She introduces herself as Aquaz, inquisitor of the sun god, a judge who punishes the lost. You know, a totally normal job title. Oh, Barkin knows exactly who she is. She's the youngest and strongest inquisitor on the whole continent. A total celebrity famous for taking out warlocks. Her authority is absolute. Aquaz gets right to it, noting that his territory is a bit of a mess. Barkin tries to downplay it, realizing she can't be here about the lich, right? He finally just asks why she's here. She looks at him and says, I am here to discuss a divine revelation. Barkin is completely stunned. But before she shares the holy message, Aquaz has a request. She wants to hear all about the recent incident. He starts telling the whole story, and she is shocked. The barbarian defeated the lich? She asks. He confirms it, revealing the lich was the infamous Kartos. That name sends a shockwave through Aquaz. What? That creature was here? As proof, Barkin presents the lich's phylactery. Staring at the urn, Aquaz's calm and collected composure completely shatters. What exactly has happened here? She whispers. Clutching her holy symbol, her mind is racing, focused on only one thing. She wants to know if the barbarian was still in town. Lord Barkin confirms her worst fears. Yes, the ridiculously powerful barbarian is still hanging around his territory. Barkin adds that with this guy, anything seems possible. He even casually drops that Ketil also defeated Swordmaster Cain, leaving Aquaz completely stunned. Okay, so a new powerhouse has entered the game. Aquaz immediately tries to place him, asking which tribe this monster belongs to. Barkin tells her Ketil claimed to be from the White Wasteland, and that name hits Aquaz like a truck. The White Wasteland is just another name for the snowy desert, a literal demon zone. My friend, she is not happy. Suddenly, a thought strikes her. All the pieces start clicking into place. A new unknown power from a demon-infested land. She speculates out loud that maybe, just maybe, this barbarian is the entire reason she was sent here. Barkin is just standing there, completely lost. With a fire in her eyes, she makes it official. She needs to meet this barbarian, face to face. Now. Meanwhile, Ketil is back in his room, admiring the stone he swiped from the lich's staff. He figures it boosts magic or something. Then he thinks, I'll just ask the mage about it later. His brilliant train of thought is cut short when he notices the sun is up. Time for our hero to start his day. Right on cue, a fully armored guard shows up with a message. The sun god's inquisitor wants to see him. And the meeting is at the church. The guard gives him some tips, telling him to show respect once he meets her. Ketil just gives him a big grin and says not to worry. He's got this. Looking a little flustered, the guard just asks if he's ready to head out. Ketil, now fully geared up in his barbarian outfit, flashes a confident smile. Let's go. Alright folks, a bit more background about this world. Gods are 100% real. They hand out power like candy and can even pop down for a visit. And the main hub for all this divine action, the central gathering spot for all the faithful, is the church. The guard leads our boy Ketil through the city, stopping in front of a massive building. Ketil looks up, and he immediately starts fanboying. He's staring at the absolutely magnificent sun god's church. The guard tells him someone will meet him inside, so Ketil thanks him and heads on in. He pushes open the giant doors, taking a deep breath as he steps into the holy building. The inside is just as impressive, with massive statues and rows of pews all lit up by heavenly light. He's immediately greeted by a welcoming committee of 3 nuns. Welcome, Sir Ketil. One of them says Inquisitor Aquaz is waiting. She offers to show him the way. They lead him into a beautiful room full of yellow flowers where a woman stands with her back to him. She turns, introducing herself. Aquaz, Inquisitor of the Sun God, and she means business. Ketil gives a friendly smile. I'm Ketil the Barbarian. He's thinking she looks pretty young to be an Inquisitor. He figures she must have some serious skills to get a job like that so early. Aquaz, on the other hand, is immediately suspicious. She's wondering what this big giant is smiling about. Ketil cuts right to the chase, asking her why he was summoned. She explains it's about the dungeon incident. Apparently, the lich he killed was the infamous Kratos, a world-class villain with a huge body count. She says Kratos was so strong that basically only certified heroes could even stand up to him. Ketil's like, yeah, I've heard the stories. but he claims the lich he fought was a total klutz who basically defeated himself. Seeing her total disbelief, he just closes his eyes and says, "Look, I'm just telling you what I saw." So Aquaz makes a wild offer. How about they invite her god to be a direct witness to their little chat? She explains it's basically a holy lie detector. If he lies, a divine alarm goes off. She's thinking there's no way this barbarian agrees to this. She even gives him an easy out, saying he can refuse. But to her absolute shock, Kital is thrilled. Why would I refuse? This is his chance to experience real divine power. What a nerd. His pure, almost childlike excitement completely short-circuits Aquaz's brain. She just can't understand why he looks so happy. She carefully asks if this makes him uncomfortable. Kettle, bless his heart, is just confused and asks what she means. He sees no reason to be disturbed at all. After all, he's just been telling the truth. What's there to worry about? Seeing how confident he is, Aquaz agrees and closes her eyes to begin the ritual. She clasps her hands together and starts praying. God, who guards the sun itself, please with your gaze reveal all lies in this place. The second she finishes, a massive pillar of golden, holy light erupts from the church and shoots straight into the sky. Boom. Ketel is caught right in the middle of it, looking up in shock. "Oh my gosh, I can feel it," he exclaims. A presence from way up high, a being so immense and powerful it's impossible to describe. And right now, he can sense what this powerful god is feeling. Confusion? The god is just completely and utterly confused. Even the deity has no idea what to make of our boy. And just like that, the light fades. The room goes back to normal, leaving them both sitting at the table. Aquaz lets out a quiet sigh of relief. Thank goodness there was no holy reaction, she thinks. Pulling herself together, she makes it official. Then let's start. From now on, inside this place, no one may lie. Keel just looks back at her with a cool, confident grin. Okay? All right. With the sun god's anti-lie detector officially active, it's time for the interrogation to begin. Kittel runs back the tape, explaining for the 100th time how he soloed the dungeon. Not a single lie detected. Aquaz realizes this dude was telling the truth the whole time. He just got lucky that the lich was when they faced each other. She apologizes for being so rude, but our boy Kettle just grins back, saying he kinda enjoyed it. Just when you think it's over, Aquaz hits him with the one last things card. She's got a personal question, and it looks serious. She leans in and asks the big one. "Are you really from the White Snowfield?" His answer? Yep, just like that. Aquaz is completely floored. The dude is actually from the demon realm. Her mind is racing. Could this guy be the legendary Grey Barbarian from the old tales? But wait, Ketel flips the script. "My turn," he says. "Why are you really here?" She tries to play it cool, mumbling about personal business. But Ketal sees right through that. He cuts straight to it. "Was that business to check if I was some kind of monster?" Oof, direct hit. Aquaz gets all flustered trying to deny it, but Kittel's not letting her off the hook. He gestures at the glowy room. This whole Eye of the God thing seems a little extra for a simple lie detector test, don't you think? And she's totally busted. Under the god's eye, she can't even lie about her intentions. Checkmate, Kittel. "So you came here just for me?" He pushes. She panics and says no, claiming there was an oracle. Turns out, a prophecy led her here and she thought he might be the guy. But the test results were, well, confusing to say the least. She finally comes clean and apologizes for hiding things. But Kettle, being the weirdo he is, just says it was interesting. But now his curiosity is piqued. He hits her with another question. "So what exactly did this oracle say?" Aquaz hesitates. This is top secret info she'd never normally share, but for some reason she decides Ketel gets a pass. She spills the beans on the prophecy, and whatever she says, it leaves our boy Kettle absolutely speechless. A little while later, Aquaz is chilling by a window in a massive hall when she gets a visitor. It's Lord Barkin, and he can tell right away that something's on her mind. She admits she met Kettle, but now she's more confused than ever. Just what is he, she wonders. Barkin confirms one thing for sure. Kettle is 100% a barbarian from the White Snowfield. He says getting intel from that place is impossible, but his origin is confirmed. Barkin was really hoping it was all a big mistake. Because if this news leaks, the whole world will freak out. A lot of people want a piece of the White Snowfield, especially the Emperor. And if the Emperor gets involved personally, absolute chaos. Aquaz tells him to chill. They'll cover up the Lich incident and keep Kettle's identity on the down low. Barkin can finally breathe again. Then he asks the million-dollar question. Are all the barbarians from there like him? Aquaz thinks for a second. Probably not. Her logic is solid. If they were all that OP, they would have already conquered the entire world by now. I mean, it's true. Most barbarians are basically walking mountains of muscle with about 2 brain cells to rub together. But what happens when you give those powerhouses a big brain? You get someone like Ketel. Barkin mentions a rumor about the new barbarian king, another one who supposedly has both brains and brawn. Aquaz confirms it. She's met the guy, and he was absolutely not your average club-swinging barbarian. Barkin thinks a Kettle versus the king showdown would be awesome. Aquaz is like, absolutely not. She reminds him that barbarians and god worshippers do not get along. Them getting stronger is a huge problem. Anyway, Barkin circles back. What was so important about that oracle? She says she had to confirm something about Kettle. She had to know if he was a pure human or just something disguised as one. Barkin is shook. What in the world did that oracle say? And as she finally reveals the true prophecy, Barkin looks like he's just seen a ghost. Sometime later, Kettle gets summoned to Lord Barkin's office. The Lord kicks things off with some polite small talk. Kettle isn't here for games. I'm fine. Why'd you call me here? Barkin gets serious. First, a thank you. You saved this entire domain from the Lich Kartos. He admits that if the Lich had been at 100% power, they all would have been toast. But then comes the bad news. He tells Kettle that his epic win is going to be kept top secret. Beating the Lich is a huge deal, but if the Emperor finds out, he'll immediately mobilize his forces. Not good. Kettle just shrugs. Fame was never his goal anyway. Barkin says it's not an apology, but he does have a reward prepared. He taps the desk and a servant brings in the goods. Kettle's eyes practically pop out of his head. It's a huge, sparkling bag of loot. Oh yeah, our boy is about to get paid. Kettle's just staring at it, confused. But Barkin smiles, telling him it's no ordinary bag and that he should check it out himself. Kettle is just staring at this tiny pouch, totally mesmerized by the magical sparkles. Barkin just tells him to stop gawking and open the thing already. He then reveals it's a pouch-type artifact, a magical item for storage. Get this. The space inside is apparently as big as the entire room they're in. An artifact. Our boy's mind is completely blown. It's the first time he's ever seen one up close. Barkin says he can even put stuff in that's bigger than the opening. Kettle, being Kettle, has to test that immediately. He shoves his comically large axe at the tiny hole, and it gets slurped right in. Barkin explains how to get it back. Just reach in and picture the item in your mind. Kettle is absolutely freaking out over how cool it is. He loves it. He promises to put it to good use. Well, now that that is settled, he's got one last thing to deal with. The prophecy. He remembers Swordmaster Kane's report. Aberrations from the demon realm are starting to pop up. And Barkin can't help but wonder if these strange events are tied to that same dark prophecy. The prophecy warns of a great evil descending on this very land before spreading across the entire world. You should know, folks, that the Barkin territory is a network of small villages that keep regularly in contact. But then one day, a remote village just goes completely silent. Poof, off the grid. A nearby town sent some folks to investigate. Spoiler alert, they didn't come back either. Hearing this, the Lord sent in the guards. And you guessed it, they vanished too. That's when Lord Barkin finally realized this was way more than just a communications problem. Back at the Mercenary Guild, Rosa posts an urgent request directly from the Lord. Kettle asks for the details. The job? Go check on the village that went dark. She says it's a simple dispatch mission, but the pay is ridiculously high. Say no more. Kettle is on it. Rosa just smiles to herself. She knew our boy was the man for the job. Later at the quest meeting point, the other mercenaries are whispering nervously. The cleric, Hayes, is standing off to the side, looking like she wants to be anywhere else. She looks up when someone calls her. Wait a second, is that Mr. Kettle? Kettle smirks, showing off a brand new custom-made outfit. Our boy got a glow-up. He explains his old clothes were falling apart, so he had some new ones made. He even chose the design himself. Hayes realizes Kettle is on the quest too. He confirms it, saying he couldn't pass up a job this interesting. He asks if their old party members are here. Hayes figures they were smart enough to say no. Kettle looks around. For a simple quest with a huge reward, not many people showed up. Hayes has to break it to him. This isn't a simple quest. The pay is way too high for just a recon mission. She mentions the rumors about the guards who disappeared. Yeah, this is definitely not a simple request. Kettle's still bummed about the small turnout. Hayes leans in to whisper that there's another rumor. But she trails off with a nervous laugh as Aquaz, the sun god's heretic inquisitor, makes her grand entrance. Yep, that's the rumor. The Inquisitor herself is joining, which explains why everyone else bailed. Kettle just tells a terrified Hayes not to worry, calling Aquaz a polite and kind woman. Hayes is stunned. You know her? He says, of course, she's a friend. An Inquisitor and Barbarian are friends? The math is not mathing for Hayes. So Kettle walks right over to greet her, and Aquaz immediately shuts him down. I don't recall being friends with you. Ouch. Unfazed, Kettle just laughs it off. Well, maybe we can start being friends now? Smooth as sandpaper, this guy. Aquaz ignores him and asks if Hayes is a follower of Lady Calrosia. Kettle is thrilled she knows the name, but Aquaz seems troubled by this, and Kettle asks if something is wrong. Aquaz explains that Calrosia's followers are supposed to be in a period of rest at the moment. Only high-ranking ones are allowed out. She quickly dismisses it, figuring she's mistaken, just as Hayes starts waving them over. Just then, another person arrives. Well, look who it is. The guard captain and a couple of his men, all suited up. Kettle, the social butterfly, greets him with a huge grin. Aquaz looks like she's had enough of his nonsense. Meanwhile, Poor Hayes looks completely overwhelmed by this super team of doom. The guard captain formally welcomes everyone who accepted the request, and without further ado, they set off. Alright, so the party sets off for the village. Kettle looks around at the whole squad and is like, hey, this kind of feels like a raid. He spots Aquaz looking anxious and asks, does this mean the time of your prophecy has finally come? She says the gods haven't given her a specific time, and this could all just be bad cell service with the village. But Kettle isn't letting it go. He presses her, pointing out that there's still a possibility. Because that's what the prophecy said, that a great evil is about to descend on the world. And Kettle's reaction to this world-ending news? A tiny smile. He's actually thinking, a great evil, huh? My man is way too excited for this. A few hours later, the party finally arrives at their destination. The guard captain announces they've reached the village entrance. And folks, it is completely, utterly silent. Like horror movie silent. He asks Aquaz for a vibe check and she confirms his fears. She can't sense a single person in there. Not one. One of the guards suggests maybe they all just packed up and left, so the captain orders everyone to spread out and start looking for clues. The team gets ready to move, but the captain is thinking what we're all thinking. How do 100 people just vanish into thin air? He's determined to get to the bottom of it, ordering the search to begin. There has to be something here. And almost immediately, one of the guys finds something. Captain, he yells. Over here, there's food on the table. The captain assumes they left it when they fled, but the soldier yells back, no, that's not it. The food is still warm. And freeze frame. The gears in the captain's head are turning, and he does not like the horrifying picture they're painting. This is seriously bad. The village went dark days ago, and every single person they sent to check on it has completely disappeared. Back in the house, the mercenary confirms it. They found zero trace of anyone leaving or trying to hide. With a grim expression, the captain tells him to keep searching. This whole situation is just plain wrong. Everywhere they look, it's the same creepy story. Signs of life happening just moments ago, but not a single living soul to be found. Another soldier reports back saying there's proof people were here, but absolutely no sign of where they went. It's like they just evaporated. The captain turns to Aquaz, desperate for an answer, but she's clueless. So he looks to Kettle for a big brain idea. Kettle confirms he hasn't found anything either. He can't sense a single presence. Super helpful, my man. Just as the captain's about to lose it, Kettle casually suggests, why don't we just ask someone who knows? The captain's brain just blue screen. Kettle looks at them all like they're crazy. Didn't you notice? He says, there's someone else here. The captain starts panicking, realizing he means a new person. And right on cue, a mysterious woman appears across the way, with a very smug smirk. Well now, isn't this interesting? She says, pretending to be surprised. I thought I was perfectly hidden. How'd you spot me? Kettle walks right up to her with some galaxy brain logic. You weren't there a second ago, and now you are. It's kinda hard to miss. She laughs, explaining her magic is supposed to trick their brains into thinking she was there all along. She even points out that the Inquisitor fell for it. The woman sizes Kettle up, noting he's not a magic user. Her smile gets real sinister. Who are you? She asks. The guard captain's danger senses are screaming. He immediately yells at his troops, everyone, fall back, now. As his men start running for their lives, he realizes Aquaz is just standing there, completely frozen with fear. With a look of pure terror, Aquaz stammers out, I can't sense anything at all from her. And that sends a chill down everyone's spine. If the top-ranked Inquisitor can't get a read on this woman, it can only mean one of two things. Either she isn't evil at all, or she's a demon so ridiculously powerful that her presence is completely undetectable. My money is on option 2, folks. Marcelia lets out a big dramatic sigh, whining that she wanted to follow them around for a while. Bummer. Then her face just melts into this drooling, monstrous grin. Well, I've decided, she purrs. And in a flash, her true form is revealed. And with a wicked grin, she makes a promise, I'll take you as my slave and drag you to hell. With a snap of her fingers, a massive surge of dark magic explodes from her claw. A sphere erupts and she floats into the air, looking down on our terrified party like they're ants. Kettle, Hayes, and even the super serious Inquisitor Aquaz can only stare up in total horror. Their jaws are on the floor. A city guard starts screaming for everyone to run. But it's way too late. A massive purple energy dome slams down from the sky, trapping them all inside. Whoops. The demoness gloats, claiming the whole village is now her personal playground. No one can escape, she purrs. She licks a long, purple nail, her glowing eyes locking onto her victims. You're all my prey now. The crowd is in disbelief. A demon? Here? But Kettle just looks curious. Hayes stammers out that it's a named demon, before immediately collapsing into prayer mode. And Kettle just places a hand on her head and tells her to relax because he's right beside her. She looks up, wondering if she should believe him or not. Kettle crosses his arms and asks, so anyway, what's the big deal about a demon with a name? So Hayes has to give him the lore dump. See, most things people call demons are just weak little fragments of corrupted mana. But some are born from pure darkness itself. They take a name through sheer force of will, basically leveling up their existence. These are true demons, and even the weakest one has enough power to wreck an entire kingdom. So yeah, it's a big deal. So, that's a named demon, Keel concludes, finally catching on. Hayes just shakily confirms he's right. She recognizes the demon as a Setiar, a legendary baddie from centuries ago. What is she doing in this random village? Keel approaches the energy barrier, wondering if he can just punch his way out. Hayes explains that it's unbreakable. The only way out is to take her down. He taps the shimmering wall, a look of understanding on his face. I see. Suddenly, the barrier starts cracking where he touched it. But hold up, that would mean an end to the fun. He starts waving his arms around like a total idiot, hiding the crack from Hayes and laughing. A completely baffled Hayes asks what he's doing. He just gives her a cheerful thumbs up and says nothing at all. Okay, the scene shifts back to the battle. Asinar taunts the Inquisitor, asking if she enjoyed the little game she played with the village. Aquaz remembers the abandoned village, where meals were left half-eaten. To think that this was nothing more than a demon's mischief. She grits her teeth, absolutely disgusted by this demon who toys with human lives just for fun. Meanwhile, Kittel is literally watching their epic psychic battle with 3D glasses and a bucket of popcorn. I cannot make this up. Aquaz's mind is racing. Summoning a named demon requires a huge sacrifice, way more than a single village of people. And for a being that powerful to set up her territory without anyone noticing, that should be completely impossible. A CTR just smirks under a blood-red moon, taunting, "You really thought I was going to tell you my master plan?" Aquaz clenches her fist, declaring, "Foul corruption dares to defile the earth." She's going full righteous warrior mode. The demon just throws her head back and cackles. Corruption? Filth? She's loving this. "Hey, dog of God," she sneers, "do you really think your little god can save you from me?" "The world is fracturing," a C-tier proclaims. "This world doesn't just belong to you guys anymore." See, ages ago, there was an ancient war where gods and humans teamed up to fight against evil. In the end, the good guys won, and all the demons got banished from the world. A classic tale. "From the foul depths of hell, I have awaited this very day," she snarls, a terrifying grin spreading across her face. And now for the big reveal. I am a Setiar, the demon of gravity. Okay, that's a pretty cool title. She vows to wash away the shame of her old defeat and drench the entire world in evil. Aquaz retorts, calling her a disgusting creature and declaring the world belongs only to the gods and humans. Therefore, evil shall return to its rightful place. She raises her hand, summoning a brilliant holy light. Calling upon her god, she's engulfed in a massive pillar of holy energy. The light fades, revealing her decked out in a suit of radiant golden armor, wielding a massive holy keyblade thing. Kettle, our resident anime critic, notes with approval, "Just as I thought. She doesn't get attacked while transforming." Thanks for the commentary, buddy. Her transformation is complete. Aquaz glares at the demon, her eyes burning with pure divine power. A C-tier, however, looks completely unfazed. A little smirk plays on her lips as she just says, "Interesting." "Fine," she says, crushing a sphere of dark energy in her hand and summoning a massive demonic scythe of her own. "Let's do this, dog of the gods." Aquaz, calling her an insolent wretch, launches herself forward to attack. The two powers collide in a blinding flash of holy gold against demonic purple. Here we go. The impact creates a massive shockwave, tearing the battlefield apart. When the dust finally settles, a Satyr has caught Aquaz's giant weapon with her bare, clawed hand. Uh-oh. She mocks the Inquisitor. "You've lost your dignity in battle. Don't hunting dogs know any better?" Aquaz's eye twitches in fury. Her rage is reaching a boiling point. "Are you done yapping?" Oh, she is done barking. Aquaz slams down, cloaked in holy golden light, absolutely ready to throw hands with this demoness. But then suddenly, a Satyr disappears, shocking the Inquisitor. Out of the darkness, a voice just whispers, "I'm here." A Satyr lunges from behind, and Aquaz barely gets her golden shield up in time. The demon's claws slams into her shield as she grins and says, "Get crushed." A massive wave of dark energy erupts, sending our poor Inquisitor flying backward across the pavement. Aquaz digs her heels in, literally grinding a trench in the street. She is struggling hard to hold on against this crazy assault. Her shield starts cracking under the pressure. So naturally, she starts reciting scripture. "For none may trespass upon the light of radiance." Okay, Bible study mid-fight. Bold move. And what do you know? It works. Whoosh. A massive explosion of golden light blasts the demoness clean off her feet. Aquaz just stands there, surrounded by holy fire, giving a Satyr the ultimate death glare. What a total anime moment. But a CTR just gets back up, looking more impressed than anything. To think you can read the holy scripture at your age. That's impressive. Aquaz isn't impressed. She just keeps on praying. Carmenon, Chapter 5, Verse 59. Its radiance burned away all that was evil. This time, though, a Satyr just casually blocks the huge holy blast with her wing. She looks more annoyed than hurt. So Aquaz switches to plan B, brute force. She charges in, swinging like a madwoman, but the demoness is just too fast, dodging every single strike. The two become a blur of motion, trading blows at lightning speed. You can barely even see what's happening, folks. And you can see the difference right here. Aquaz is straining, sweating bullets. Meanwhile, Asetiar is grinning like she's having the time of her life. Their weapons lock in a massive clash. Boom! The shockwave just rips through the city streets, tearing everything apart. And what about the rest of the party? Oh, they're just screaming in terror as they get yeeted by the shockwave. Meanwhile, back at the main event, these two powerhouses are still locked in a brutal, close-quarters struggle. But then you've got this guy, Kettle, just watching the whole thing with a big, goofy smile on his face. He's clearly enjoying the show. Hayes, the cleric, runs over to him, totally panicking. "Lord Kettle, can't you help Lady Aquaz?" He's practically begging. Kettle just glances down and casually goes, "I probably could, but why should I?" Hayes' face says it all. What the heck, dude? His logic? It's not his problem, so why should he interfere and ruin such a good fight? This guy is not a team player. He even admits he's itching to fight a demon himself, but for now he's happy to just watch the show. He's treating this like pay-per-view. Poor Hayes is completely floored. His brain just short-circuited. This is not how a hero is supposed to act. While they're having that little chat, the battle of light versus darkness rages on, ending in another spectacular explosion. The C-tier parries another blow and sneers. "So you really are God's hunting dog." She's back to the dog insults. "Even so, my strength is superior." But Aquaz gets the drop on her, thinking to herself that demonic power can never truly oppose the gods. Oh, famous last words, maybe. The CTR realizes this is turning into a stalemate. If this keeps up, they'll be here all day. She needs an advantage, and fast. So what does she do? She pulls a classic villain move and rockets straight for the defenseless party members. You know, the ones who were screaming earlier. Aquaz screams a warning, trying to stop her, but it is way too late. A CTR is just too fast. The demoness unleashes a devastating attack right at the helpless adventurers. What a dirty move. And once again, the party members are just screaming in agony as holy and demonic energy explodes all around them. They're having a really bad day. Aquaz is furious, gritting her teeth as she desperately blocks the blast aimed at her very useless comrades. Her eyes are glowing with pure divine rage as she screams, "Filthy creature." Oh, now she's really mad. A C-tier just laughs right in her face. You really expected a demon to play fair? Well, she's got a point. That was a rookie mistake. Aquaz is absolutely livid. Her eyes are glowing with power and she starts chanting again. Looks like she's about to pull out her ultimate move. And there it is. Spitting a holy verse, Aquaz unleashes a massive torrent of golden power. She pops a radiant sanctuary, yelling for her completely useless companions to get inside. But watching from the shadows, the demoness Asetiar is having a great time with this little show. She taunts them for wasting such a big spell, but Aquaz, eyes blazing, just tells her to shut up. A C-tier just smirks. Oh, she loves getting a reaction. Yes, that's the look I wanted to see. Alright, enough talk. The two of them charge each other head-on. Aquaz swings her massive cross-shaped weapon, painting the air with a powerful golden arc. Asetiar dodges like it's nothing, reappearing above her. Death is nothing more than death itself. Okay, sure. She closes the distance in a flash, whispering that no one will remember Aquaz's noble sacrifice. She throws a kick, sneering that Aquaz will only bring shame to her god. Then comes the classic villain offer. Drop the shield, protecting your friends, and maybe she'll let her win. What do you say? But Aquaz sees right through it, calling out her cheap parlor tricks. A CTR's wicked smile returns. You don't really think you're getting out of here alive, do you? Aquaz just readies her stance, declaring that she's heard enough of this nonsense. The demoness's grin widens. Fine, then die like a good little martyr. She unleashes a massive pillar of dark energy, forcing Aquaz to brace against the raw power. And then suddenly Asetiar appears right in front of her, moving faster than the eye can see. What? Before she can even blink, the demoness strikes. Boom! A massive explosion of energy sends the poor Inquisitor flying backward. Aquaz looks up in shock and pain as a CTR closes in for another attack, way too fast to stop. Tendrils of dark energy whip around Aquaz, trapping her completely. She doesn't get it. Her sanctuary should be pushing back the darkness, but it's being totally overwhelmed. A CTR's voice cuts through the chaos. Enough. I'm sick of hearing your god's boring verses. She smashes a fist right into Aqua's stomach, shattering her golden aura. As a CTR moves in for another hit, Aquaz barely manages to raise her shield to block. But it's no use. His shield can't hold and explodes into a shower of golden glitter. Asetiar's energy blade slices through her armor. She catches the shield's crystal core as Aquaz screams in pain. And just like that, Aquaz is completely defeated, bound by dark magic and writhing in agony. With the Inquisitor down, the golden dome protecting the others begins to crack, then shatters completely. The party is exposed and terrified. Welp, looks like it's game over for them. Assateer grins at them. Don't worry, I'll save you all for dessert. But first, she turns back to Aquaz. I wonder what a noble hound of God tastes like. Just as she opens her fanged mouth to take a bite, a calm voice commands, stop. A hand clamps down on her face, stopping her cold. It's Kettle, that's far enough. The demoness is completely stunned. She's just like, what? How? Kettle stands there, effortlessly holding her back. She's in disbelief. She couldn't even sense his presence. With a casual flick of his wrist, he sends the powerful demoness flying across the square. Bam! Kettle just stands over the fallen Inquisitor, asking, are you all right? Aquaz looks up, completely stunned. She remembers this is the guy who defeated Swordmaster Kane. But even as she's processing this, a menacing presence makes itself known. Oh, she's back. The demoness Assateer glares at the two of them, and she is not happy. Picking herself up from the rubble, she growls, insolent barbarian. Her eyes are burning with fury as she screams, how dare you interfere with my meal? Kettle coolly crosses his arms. She's my friend, I can't just let her die. Assateer scoffs, saying she was going to keep him as a toy, but Kettle just deadpans, I have no intention of becoming your toy. With a wicked grin, she asks, really? Before summoning a massive purple scythe, then you'll just have to die. But just then, someone commands, step aside. It's Aquaz, and she's insisting that Kettle can't beat a demon. He assures her he's strong, but she argues back, no, this is not about being strong or weak. She explains that only divine power can banish a demon. It's like a fundamental rule of the universe. Especially inside a demon's territory, she warns. You can't just hope for a lucky miracle. Kettle just murmurs to himself, so only gods can oppose demons? He glances at her weakened state and points out, but even if that's true, you don't look like you're in any condition to fight. Despite her fatigue, she grits her teeth, but I must do it. I serve the gods, and I stand against evil. Kettle watches her, looking genuinely impressed. So this is the will of someone who serves the divine? Impressive, he says with a smile and a pat on the head, but leave this to me. Aquaz is completely bewildered. Kettle just grins. I've been wanting to fight a demon myself. Assateer is not impressed. You really don't get it. I told you that you cannot defeat me. Kettle's smile just widens. Would you care to test that theory? Assateer licks her sharp teeth, loving this. I want to see your eyes twist in agony. She leaps into the air and vanishes. In a split second, a wormhole opens right in front of Kettle, and there she is. She plummets towards him, claws out, and a crazy look in her eyes. Watching in horror, all Aquaz can do is scream, no. Assateer grins triumphantly as if thinking, I've got you now. But hold up. Kettle's fist connects squarely with Assateer's face. Bam! The demoness is sent flying, her head obliterated. And Aquaz just stands there, her brain completely short-circuited. Huh? Aquaz is still trying to process what just happened. Did my guy Kettle really just one-punch a demon's head into next Tuesday? Kettle, on the other hand, looks almost bored. He's just standing there like he's wondering if what he did was even possible. He glances over at the headless demon, and his eyes suddenly go wide. Wait a minute. In a flash of dark energy, her entire body regenerates from absolutely nothing. She's back. But Kettle just grins, finding this whole thing fascinating. So even if your head is crushed, it regenerates. Assateer is absolutely furious, but also confused. What are you exactly? Kettle scratches his head and gives the most troll answer imaginable. I am just an ordinary barbarian. Yeah, she's not buying that for a second. Don't make me laugh. She can't sense any magic or aura from him at all. It feels like he's just a regular dude, which makes zero sense. Alright then, if he won't talk, she'll just have to beat the answer out of him. A creepy demonic face appears behind Kettle as she lunges, screaming, die. Kettle looks a little surprised, muttering that her human form makes hitting her feel kinda awkward. But since he has no choice, bam, his punch goes right through her. The demon is stunned. What the heck? The punch sends her flying. The impact sends a massive shockwave through her, literally shattering parts of her body. She slams into the ground and struggles to get up, totally unable to believe what just happened. She thinks to herself, it was just a simple punch. No aura, no magic. Kettle just cracks his knuckles with a smile. You've regenerated again. Assateer is sweating bullets. Meanwhile, Kettle is just trying to analyze how her power works. Then he launches himself forward like a cannonball. She barely has time to blink before he instantly appears right in her face. He unleashes another devastating punch, aiming right for her head again. Dark vapor oozes out of her body, transforming into dark tendrils that immediately start to pull her back together. Kettle just watches, looking impressed as she's fully reassembled. Oh, he says with a grin. When the head is destroyed, it creates an entirely new body. I guess that makes sense for a demon. As he wonders if her head is her core, Assateer starts trembling, a dark aura flaring up around her. She can't believe it. This is absurd. You think you can face me with brute strength alone? Then she has an idea. Maybe fighting force with force is pointless. You, she calls out. Me, answers the clueless Kettle. With a wicked grin, She reintroduces herself. Listen well, I am Isetiar, the demon of gravity. She challenges him. Do you really think you can keep facing me with nothing but your fists?
Kettle is quiet for a second, then deadpans, well, you don't really look that impressive. That one comment completely shatters her pride. She loses her mind, screaming in pure rage while Kettle just looks confused. Now she is really angry. Her eyes glow red as she charges, ready to unleash her true power. With her weapon now transformed into a mallet, she throws a wave of gravity magic at him, but Kettle just casually raises a hand to block it. The attack stops cold. Not bad, Kettle says, before adding, heavy indeed. And with that, he shatters the mallet, sending all that raw power flying right back at her. He follows up with another punch that, you guessed it, obliterates her head again. Impossible, she thinks. And just like before, her body reforms in a flash of purple light. She can't believe it. She is the demon of gravity who can concentrate the weight of a fortress wall into one attack, and she just got completely overpowered by a barbarian who hasn't even unlocked his special abilities yet. Kettle just looks on, genuinely curious. Oh, you're back again. So are demons immortal? His casual tone is the final straw. You can practically see Isetiar shaking with pure rage. She unleashes another huge burst of purple energy, screaming, impossible. Die, barbarian, she shrieks, summoning a massive claw made of dark energy right above Kettle. Kettle's solution? He clenches his fist and throws a punch straight up into the air. His punch completely obliterates her magic, drilling a beam of pure force right through her attack. The attack hits Isetiar head-on, causing a massive explosion as she screams in pain. Watching from her holy bubble, Inquisitor Aquaz is stunned speechless. What on earth am I even watching, she wonders. She remembers the legends of Isetiar, a demon so powerful she wiped an entire kingdom off the map hundreds of years ago. A demon on that level is getting totally beaten down by simple punches. It's unbelievable. But once again, Isetiar's body twists and reforms in a swirl of dark energy as her regeneration kicks in. She crashes to the ground and Kettle just casually places his foot on her head to keep her down. Truly unkillable, it seems, he thinks to himself, finally starting to get the picture. He comes to a conclusion. So it means pure physical force alone cannot kill her. Hearing him say that, a sharp, wicked grin spreads across Isetiar's face as she lies pinned under his boot. Isetiar can hardly believe it. She's thinking, this is the first time she's felt such pressure. Pinned under Kettle's boot, she realizes his strength is on another level. So what does she do? She just starts laughing maniacally. Isetiar screams, wanting to know what he is. And Kettle, cool as a cucumber, just says, an ordinary barbarian. Yeah, right. Isetiar is not buying that for a second. Don't make me laugh, she snarls. And there's just one more thing she'd like to try. A massive wave of dark magic erupts from her body, catching everyone off guard. The whole party just stands there, totally stunned. The energy forms a dense sphere, then boom. It explodes, revealing her new form. With a sinister grin, she tells the barbarian, I'll unleash everything with all the power I have. Suddenly, a whole barrage of dark energy spears appears. They shoot straight for Kettle, but look at Kettle. He just grins, totally excited about this whole thing. Aquaz, on the other hand, is freaking out. Brute strength alone can't win this, so she starts channeling her own divine power. Isetiar doesn't wait. With a final command, she unleashes her attack. Demonic spear, pierce and kill. The swarm of deadly spears closes in, ready to turn Kettle into a human pincushion. But Kettle deflects every single one of them without breaking a sweat. Isetiar is completely stunned. What kind of monster is this? She shrieks. And then in a total blur, Kettle launches himself at her. While the demon is still trying to process this, Aquaz begins chanting a holy verse. That radiance burned all wicked things, she cries. Kettle's axe starts glowing with golden divine light. Kettle actually looks impressed for a second. He's intrigued by this so-called power of a god. Strike her down now, Aquaz shouts from below. Okay, fine. He wanted to observe the demon a bit longer, but he knows time's up. So long, demon, he says, slashing the axe across her chest. And what do you know? The holy power smashes right through her. The demon can't believe her eyes. And in her final moment, Isetiar thinks to herself, I lost. The divine energy completely engulfs the demon. She gets slammed into the ground. Kettle stands over the crater, smiling. Thanks, I had fun, he says. What a Chad. As her body starts to fade, she just chuckles. It's a shame, but it wasn't for nothing. Because I confirmed something like you exists on the surface. She asks for his name, and before Aquaz could stop him, our boy Kettle just gives it to her. Aquaz starts screaming, no, don't, but it's too late. Oopsie, was all Kettle could say. Isetiar's face cracks into a terrifying grin. She's broadcasting a message straight to the underworld. All beings of hell, etch the name of the barbarian Kettle into your memory. Aquaz collapses in despair. Deep in hell, countless demonic eyes snap open, all looking at our world. A horrifying, writhing mass of eyes begins to focus. They are perceiving the being known as Kettle.
And while Ketel stands there looking confused, this massive demonic perception appears right in front of him. A Sitir's voice laughs out, "Barbarian, you now belong to us." The eye monster lunges forward and pierces right through Ketel's body. Suddenly they're all like, huh. They can't even pierce through Ketel's body. What the heck is this? A giant shadowy hand just reaches out and plucks it. Poof, it dissolves into dust. Back in the real world, Ketel just blinks, completely unfazed by all this. What did she just do? He wonders, touching his chest. Felt like something entered my body. The tiny remnant of the demon is horrified. It can't understand why its darkness failed to take root. Ketel just sees the last bit of dark energy on the ground and casually kicks it away like it's dust. Meanwhile, Aquaz and Hayes are completely losing their minds. They are screaming in total disbelief. But Ketel? He's just stretching like he finished a morning jog. He is totally relaxed as the energy fades. He turns to his stunned friends with a satisfied smile, and he asks the only thing on his mind, "So, is the request complete?" "You bet it is, our favorite barbarian friend." While our heroes are having a nice little post-battle chat, news of the incident is spreading through the Barcan territory like an out-of-control wildfire. A paperboy is shouting at the top of his lungs, "Extra, extra, we got news from the village that went dark." And you better believe the citizens are snatching these papers up, their eyes going wide with total shock. The headline drops a massive bombshell. A named Demon Esitir showed up right after that whole lich mess. Lord Barcan is having a full-blown meltdown, slamming his fists on his throne. What is happening? Why is my tiny territory suddenly the center of a biblical apocalypse? The poor guy can't wrap his head around it. A legendary demon from the history books just decided to pop in for a visit. His guard captain reports that the rumors are already out of control, but luckily they have a bit of good news to spin. The official story, wink wink, is that the Sun God's Inquisitor showed up just in time and successfully kicked the demon out. Barcan knows they're in damage control mode now. One wrong move and this whole situation could explode. Meanwhile, Ketel is having a chat with his new bestie, asking why everyone seems on edge. "Well, it's not a small matter," Aquaz replies. He asks if she's leaving already, telling her she should probably rest a bit more. But she's all business. "No, I can't waste a single second. The Holy Land must know about this immediately." Ketel just shrugs. "All right, if you say so, I'm not going to stop you." But just as he turns to go, she calls his name, stopping him in his tracks. She gives a slight bow. "Thank you for saving me. Without you, I would have become that demon's chew toy." Ketel, in typical Ketel fashion, just waves it off. "Don't worry about it." He says it was no big deal. "I was just saving a friend." Then he turns back with that $1,000,000 grin. "Hey, we're friends now, right?" Aquaz is completely stunned. Her brain just short-circuited. A barbarian and a divine inquisitor. As friends? She reminds him of her title, the Sun God's Inquisitor. Like that's supposed to scare him off. Ketel's response is just perfect. "Is there a reason I shouldn't be?" His pure, honest confusion just melts all her defenses. The guy is just too wholesome. He laughs it off. "See? Then it doesn't matter." A tiny smile finally breaks through her serious expression. "You're right." Now that they're officially besties, Ketel has a question for her. "So, is it really a bad idea to tell a demon your name?" Aquaz's face gets serious again. "It's because of something called the brand." "All right, folks, get your notebooks out. It's lore time." She explains demons use names to carve a dark mark on your soul. Basically, it's like putting a giant neon sign on your back that says free lunch for every evil thing in the area. If you get branded, you either need a holy power wash to clean it off, or you end up as demon food. Not great options. Ketel looks confused, pointing to himself. "Wait, so did I get one of those?" Aquaz shakes her head. "No, surprisingly you weren't branded, Ketel. However," she says with a grim look, "your name is probably trending on Hell's social media right now." But she tells him not to freak out. Without the brand, they know his name, but they don't have his address. So unless you run into them on the street, you should be fine. Ketel actually finds this whole thing fascinating, especially that his fists of fury didn't just instantly delete the demon. Aquaz just sighs. That's just how demons are. And here we go. History lesson part 2. Long ago, the gods created humans. Humans were kind of dumb and just did whatever they wanted, and the gods were like, let them figure it out. Then, some mysterious interdimensional party crashers took an interest in the human world. These beings, which we now call demons, crossed over and started causing all sorts of trouble. The gods couldn't just sit back and watch their creations get destroyed, so they finally decided to step in. They teamed up with humanity and kicked them back to their own dimension. After that, humans built a bunch of churches to thank their saviors, and things were pretty good for a while. But of course, the demons slowly started creeping back into the human realm. So the gods gave some of their power to their most loyal followers, because only holy power can truly hurt these things. Ketel finally gets it. They can't be killed by normal attacks because they're basically aliens from another dimension. Aquaz nods. Exactly. They were never a part of this world's ecosystem. Ketel figures it would be a huge pain if these things started showing up all the time. Aquaz reassures him that the big-name demons can't just pop in whenever they feel like it. However, she reveals that the seal on the demon realm seems to be weakening. Dungeon cycles are off and monsters are appearing more often. And this all started happening about a year ago. Kettle freezes. A year ago, the gears in his head start turning. He realizes that's exactly when he was finishing his final quest in that snowy field. Snapping him out of his thoughts, Aquaz says she has to go. As she heads for the door, she invites him to visit her holy order sometime, promising he'll be welcome. He gives her a warm smile. I'd like that a lot. And with that, Aquaz is off, riding away in a carriage to make a report. Even though she's still recovering, she knows she has to get this info to the Saintess as soon as possible. Still, as she rides, there's one question that's bugging her more than anything else. Why in the world did the sun god forget to mention anything about that barbarian? But while Aquaz is left scratching her head, another major player is having a very different kind of day. We find Swordmaster Cain walking through the palace, letting out a heavy sigh. He's grumbling to himself that meeting the Emperor is just completely draining. You know, typical Monday morning meeting with the boss. And right on cue, a smooth voice from behind him says, "You seem to be having a rough time." Cain spins around to find a seriously striking guy with long dark hair dressed like he just stepped out of a gothic romance novel. Now, this isn't just some random pretty boy. This is the great master of the magic tower, the guy who basically runs all magic in the entire world. The master smirks, asking what brings Cain here. Cain, not missing a beat, throws the question right back at him. The master plays it cool, claiming it's a routine visit. Cain, on the other hand, is here to report on his latest mission, and that gets the master's attention. He says, the recon mission to the Demon Realm's Forest of Silence, right? So, how'd that go, he asks. Cain's face immediately turns grim. Not a good sign, folks. He answers with pure dread in his voice. It defied everything we know. It was a horrifying place. He flashes back to the forest, a place where there was absolutely no sound. Even his magical detection skills were useless. Imagine this, he could shout at the top of his lungs, and there would be nothing. No sound, no echo, just silence. Pure nightmare fuel. One by one, his soldiers just vanished into the quiet. He sums it up perfectly. It was a deeply unpleasant place. Back in the present, Cain wonders why the Emperor is so obsessed with conquering the demon realm. He just chalks it up to powerful people being nuts. The master just smirks again. He admits the demon realm is fascinating and that he's pretty intrigued himself. This guy is a walking red flag. But Cain wants absolutely no part of it. He says, I hope I won't get dragged into it. I prefer to stay ordinary. With a snap of his fingers, the master traps them both inside a giant, glowing magic circle. So much for staying ordinary. Spatial magic, Cain says, totally stunned. What is this all of a sudden? The master just grins and walks toward him, saying, no need to formally announce it. You met someone very special, didn't you? And that question hits Cain like a truck. The jig is up. Cain immediately realizes he's been spied on. The eye of observation. When did you put that on me? The master just laughs it off, saying it's a hobby. A hobby? Cain's response is basically go die, and honestly, same. But now the master gets straight to the point. He wants to know what Cain thinks about that barbarian from the White Snowfield. Cain plays it safe, admitting he's not really sure what to make of the guy just yet. So the master lays out the stats, a barbarian from the demon realm who defeated a sword master and the Lich Kartos. That makes it pretty likely, doesn't it? Wait, hold up. Cain is shocked. He defeated Kartos? The master seems surprised that Cain is just now hearing about this. He explains that while it's not public knowledge yet, rumors of Kartos failing his resurrection are already spreading through the magic tower. And then folks, the master does a big reveal. He's a lich too and claims he even went to pay respects to his fallen friend. Cain is completely unfazed, dryly asking if a lich can even feel sad. The master insists that friends are important for people who've lived as long as him. But then he mentions Kartos' most valuable artifact was never found. He has no idea where it could possibly be. Sure, buddy. Setting that aside, he asks Cain the big question, do you really think that Barbarian defeated Kartos? Cain thinks it over for a second. I think it's possible. The Lich Master points out that Cain hasn't told the Emperor about this yet, and Cain just scoffs at the very idea. He calls the Emperor a madman, worried that if he learns about Kettle, a massive war is basically guaranteed. A wild barbarian versus a control freak emperor? Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for tearing the entire kingdom apart. The Lich Master finds this whole idea fascinating. Are you saying that Barbarian could take on the entire empire alone? Cain isn't sure, but he admits, I felt something similar to what I felt when I first saw you. The Lich Master's eye glows with interest. Don't tell me, a hero class? Cain says he's not qualified to make that call, but the Lich Master is already sold. He knows Kettle must be incredibly valuable. That look on his face has Cain worried. Meanwhile, the guy they're obsessing over is just strolling through a busy market in his brand new adventurer gear. Suddenly, a woman trips on a stone and with lightning reflexes, Kettle catches her before she can even hit the ground. He gives her his most charming smile and says, "Oh dear, you should be more careful. Are you all right?" The woman just stares at him, stunned. Kitol's first thought is that he scared her again. Oops. But to his total surprise, she just bows, thanks him, and calmly walks away. No screaming, no running. Nothing. Our boy is completely baffled. This has literally never happened to him before. He's experiencing a normal human interaction for the first time. Another villager just walks by him calmly, and Kettle's brain just completely short-circuits. He is absolutely floored, his mind racing with one simple, unbelievable question: why aren't people avoiding him anymore? A while later, Kettle is having tea with Lord Barkin in his ridiculously fancy office. He's heard the news, asking if Kettle's alright after nearly getting branded by a demon. But Kettle just shrugs it off. He says there's no issue because he literally doesn't even know what a brand is. Barkin is absolutely speechless. He knew Kettle was strong, but this is a whole new level of clueless. Tito mentions that things seem to have changed around him. "You mean the people?" the Lord asks. "Yes, the people in his territory." And with a sigh, the Lord drops the truth bomb. It's all because of the rumors. Apparently, every single guard and mercenary who survived the attack has been running their mouth non-stop. The story they're spinning is legendary. After the Aquaz was defeated, everyone else just collapsed. Everyone except Kettle. And when they woke up, his axe was practically humming with divine power, glowing like a holy beacon. So now the whole town is convinced Aquaz personally blessed him with her power, and they're calling him the hero who fought the demon right alongside her. Finally, the single light bulb in Keel's brain flickers on. So that's how it turned out. Barkin apologizes, explaining the rumors had already become a full-blown legend by the time he could even try to set the record straight. Kettle connects the dots. So that's why people weren't running away from him anymore? Barkin agrees. They don't see a monster anymore. They now call him the Demon Opponent. Our boy mulls over his cool new nickname. Demon Opponent, huh? So this is what it feels like to have a reputation. Over at the Mercenary Guild, Rosa has some massive news. With a huge smile, she congratulates Kettle on his promotion. He's a C rank now. Kettle is genuinely stunned. C rank? That means he just skipped 3 entire ranks. Rosa just beams, telling him he accomplished something worth the massive level up. A slow, satisfied smirk spreads across his face. Rosa keeps the good news coming. His badge is getting reissued, but since it's a custom job, it'll take a little while. Our boy is hyped. A custom-made badge just for him? Rosa confirms it. From C rank up, you're considered a real mercenary certified by the guild. She adds that as a C rank, he'll have no problem waltzing into most capital cities and churches. Ah, except for the imperial capital, of course. Kitol notes that the empire sounds pretty strict. Rosa agrees. Only people recognized by nobles can get inside the empire. She leans in, lowering her voice. Honestly, nobody even knows what's in there. All they hear are creepy rumors, even less than what's known about the demon realm. Kettle looks genuinely concerned. That bad, huh? Rosa quickly clears her throat, getting back to business. She explains he can now take on almost any request available. He can even enter A-rank dungeons as long as he has a party. Kitol's eyes practically light up with dollar signs. The thought of all that new loot and adventure brings a classic smirk to his face. We cut to Alessandro, who suddenly spits out his drink in shock. He can't believe something like that even happened. He asks if everything was okay. Kettle replies that the demon's gone and the Inquisitor gave the all-clear, so he assumes it's settled. The cleric, Hayes, sighs in relief. She's sitting with them and their other party member, Kesson. Kassan is super impressed, talking about how amazing the Inquisitor was, but Hayes slams her hands on the table and screams, "No!" See, here's a little secret, folks. Hayes didn't actually pass out during the fight. She saw everything. Kittle completely overpowered that demon. Aquaz just swooped in at the very end to steal the credit for a battle that was already won. Trying to change the subject, Kassan asks Kettle what his plan is now that he's a big shot C rank. Kettle just replies coolly that nothing changes. He'll just keep doing his job, but as a C rank now. Kassan is totally blown away by his humility. He thinks that's the most badass thing he's ever heard. But Hayes is having a full-on panic attack, thinking, "Don't be fooled. That thing is not human." Kettle then turns the question around, asking the rest of them about their plans. Kassan just shrugs. As F-rank scrubs, there's not much they can really do yet. He admits that, honestly, his original life plan was to just be a freeloader until he died. But now he wants to try living his best life, just like Kettle. Alessandra just scoffs, calling him a bottom feeder for only thinking that now. As those two start bickering like an old married couple, Kettle turns his attention to Hayes, asking for her plan. Flustered, she claims she'll just follow the will of her goddess. Kettle remembers something Aquaz mentioned, and the moment he says Aquaz's name, Hayes completely short-circuits. Kettle continues, recalling that most servants of Calosia are on a break and only the high-ranking ones are still active. Hayes starts sweating bullets. What? She frantically denies everything, insisting Aquaz must have been mistaken. Kettle just calmly accepts her terrible, terrible lie. But internally, she is having an absolute meltdown. She's convinced he knows everything. Is he waiting for her to confess, or is he just messing with her for fun? The poor girl is completely 100% terrified of him now. Much later that night at the Mercenary Guild, Rosa is happily packing up her things, finally ready to clock out and go home. But suddenly, the door creaks open. A pair of worn-out boots steps inside. Rosa's good mood instantly vanishes. "You've got to be kidding me." A mysterious old man in a hood speaks up, saying he has a request. All Rosa can think is one word: overtime. She sighs, trying to hide her annoyance. She asks what kind of request he has. The man clears his throat. He needs an escort mission for 2 people, himself, and a young girl. Rosa starts typing up the details. 2 people, and the destination? The man replies, "The Kingdom of Denian, its capital." She can't believe it. An escort mission all the way to Denian's capital from this remote backwater town? That's insane. Her mind starts racing. He speaks elegantly, but he's dressed in rags and he's hiding his identity. This guy is extremely suspicious. She cautiously agrees to accept the request for now, but first she tells him she's going to need to see some form of identification. The mysterious old man calmly slides a metallic token across the table. Rosa's eyes practically bug out of her head. It's a Mercenary Guild token. That's like the VIP pass of their world and not easy to get. She stamps it verified and gets right down to business. "All right," she says, "time to collect the fee." The old man reaches into his shabby cloak and pulls out, wait for it, 1 single, gleaming gold coin. Rosa looks at the coin, then back at him. "For this amount, we can provide 1 person." The old guy is stunned. "Only 1? She breaks it down for him. This is a high-risk, month-long bodyguard gig all the way to Denian. It's not a walk in the park. He desperately pleads for at least 2 people. Rosa sighs, probably regretting her life choices. She says it's possible, but he'll have to hire from the bargain bin. She tells him a reliable guard should be at least D rank, but he insists on someone skilled, and Rosa is firm. 1 skilled person is all he gets for that price. You can see her patience wearing thin. She's thinking, what in the world? Why is this guy so desperate? But she relents a little. It is hard to find anyone willing to take a job from such a remote town after all. Finally, she agrees to try, but warns him it'll be tough. After he leaves, she notices the gold coin has been filed down to hide its origin. Yep, this is going to be trouble. Later that night, the old man knocks on a door. A woman asks who's there. He answers, "Your loyal retainer." Oh, so it's that kind of story. The door opens, revealing a beautiful blonde woman named Elaine. She greets the old man, Aaron, and lets him in. She anxiously asks how it went. Aaron tells her the guild accepted the request for now. She's relieved, but then asks the million-dollar question, how many mercs? Aaron can't even look her in the eye. Well, just 1. Elaine is shocked into silence as Aaron apologizes, explaining they're broke. She just says it can't be helped, and Aaron starts blaming himself for getting scammed on the road. They try to console each other, but they're clearly devastated. Then they go full drama, wailing with tears flying everywhere, until someone tells them to shut up. Poor kids. She asks how long the search will take. Aaron doesn't know. Defeated, Elaine decides they should just get some sleep. The classic sleep on it strategy. Aaron bows, drowning in shame. Just another fun night of waiting and dread. They're almost out of food. Aaron blames himself, but she quickly shuts that down, saying it's not his fault. Aaron states they can't possibly tell the local lord about their situation. Elaine agrees. Even hiring a single bodyguard is a risk they can barely afford. Then comes the exposition drop. She reminds him why they fled their kingdom. They were surrounded by enemies with no idea who was a friend or a foe. Aaron apologizes again for being weak. Elaine asks if he's sure the Denian kingdom is safe. He reassures her that it is. He explains that the king of Denian made an oath to protect her, but he also warns that their enemies might come after Denian for helping them. And then he drops the bomb. You must survive, Elaine Mavrochi. Our princess. Bam. She's royalty on the run. If she's lost, their kingdom is finished. The princess is still worried, but can we really trust a mercenary? Aaron takes her hands, promising that their gold guarantees a trustworthy choice. So who will be her guard? A blush creeps onto her face as she imagines a handsome, charming hero. Oh, you sweet summer child, you have no idea. Meanwhile, that handsome hero is just our boy Katal, sprawled on his bed and bored out of his mind. He's thinking about his old companions in the white snowfield. He remembers they were the only ones who didn't keep their distance from him. He sighs, betting they're still off living their usual stupid lives. He suddenly wonders if his quest is over now. The system window that was with him since he arrived in this fantasy land is nowhere to be seen. He recalls his very first quest. Just survive for 1 week in that frozen hellscape. Yeah, just survive. Back then, that little blue quest window was his only guidepost, his only companion in the freezing cold. But after he finally escaped the snowfield, the quest just stopped. And now that things are quiet, he's actually getting bored. He sits up with a jolt, a sudden thought hitting him. Wait a minute, was the system only for the white snowfield? Looking out at the night, he decides it doesn't matter. Thanks for everything, system window, he thinks. Now I'll enjoy this world however I want. The next day, Kettle is back at the guild, looking sharp in his new gear. Rosa has a job for him, and he perks up. An escort request? Rosa is absolutely beaming. You can tell she is so happy to have found anyone to take this ridiculously sketchy job. So naturally, Kettle wants to know what's so special about this job Rosa is so excited about. She lays it out. It is a D-rank request to escort one woman and an old man to the capital of the Denian Kingdom. Sounds easy enough, right? Kettle is not impressed. Rosa warns him it is a long trip and he will have to handle all the preparations himself. He figures it will be a pain, but the pay is unusually high. But there is always a catch. And that ominous tone she is using? Yeah, that definitely gets his attention. With a grim face, Rosa just says it. This request stinks. She even tells him he can refuse it, no questions asked. But Kettle just flashes this massive, sparkly grin. He tells her that is exactly what makes it a good job. Rosa's brain just short-circuits. She will never understand this guy's logic, not in a million years. He glances back at the request form. The destination, Denian Kingdom, rings a bell. A little light bulb goes off in that thick skull of his. He remembers Melina Akasha, the noble lady he rescued from the White Wasteland. She did say to come visit if he was ever in her kingdom, and she even gave him that fancy family crest. With a huge smile, he slams his hand on the table. This is perfect. He will take the request. But the moment he accepts, he sees something from the corner of his eye. And bam! The holographic blue window pops up right in front of his face. Well, look who decided to show up again. It is a new system quest, escort the client to the Denian Kingdom. Our boy is completely stunned. Why did it pop up again? Why now? Of course, Rosa cannot see it. She just sees him staring blankly into space like a weirdo and asks if he is okay. Meanwhile, elsewhere in town, an old man named Aaron bursts through a door to find a young woman. This woman, Elaine, immediately panics, thinking their enemies have finally found them. But Aaron has good news. He announces that the one and only C-rank mercenary in the entire area accepted their job. Elaine's face lights up with pure hope. A C-rank. He tells her the meeting is set for tomorrow. Back with Kettle, he is still trying to process the return of the system window. He sits alone in his room, wondering why the quest stopped when he left the demon realm, only to start up again now. He wonders if the system was not just for the white snowfield after all. Or maybe, just maybe, there is something much bigger going on here. The next day, a dramatic storm rolls in as Elaine and Aaron arrive at the guild to meet their mysterious protector. Elaine nervously wonders what he will be like. She is picturing a sharp, handsome hero. Or maybe a battle-hardened warrior covered in awesome scars. Either way, she has a feeling he is going to be super cool. Just then, the door creaks open. Showtime. Rosa greets the newcomer, and Elaine looks up with breathless anticipation. And her fantasy instantly shatters. Standing in the doorway is not a hero, but a terrifying, hulking monster with glowing white eyes. Kido calmly introduces himself, but Elaine is completely frozen in pure terror. The shock is too much. Her eyes roll back into her head, and she faints on the spot. Good thing Aaron was there to catch her. Her guardian glares up at Kettle, demanding to know who the heck he is. Kettle finds this pretty amusing. It has been a while since anyone here looked at him with that much fear. He was getting used to being a hero. Aaron frantically asks Rosa if this is really their guy. She calmly confirms it and begins the formal introduction. She announces this is the one who will be in charge of your escort, Barbarian Kettle Nim. Aaron cannot believe it. A barbarian? He immediately demands a different mercenary. This is just ridiculous. Rosa's expression turns to ice. So you are questioning the decision of our mercenary guild? She asks. Aaron immediately starts to backtrack, but Rosa is not having it. She tells him if he doubts them, the contract is void. As they argue, Kettle sighs. This is becoming a train wreck. Suddenly, a voice cuts in. I'll accept it. Elaine's now conscious and ready to take control. Aaron tries to reason with her, but she is decided. She extends a hand to Kettle, formally introducing herself as Elaine. And with that incredibly awkward handshake, the journey officially begins with Kettle taking the lead. His clients, however, are practicing some extreme social distancing, like a lot of distancing. Kettle finally stops, turning around to ask if they're maybe a little too far back. He figures it's probably a good idea to stay close, for protection. But the two of them immediately start waving their hands like they're trying to land a plane. We're totally fine, really. No one is around, so this distance is perfect. Kettle just shrugs. If they want to be weird about it, that's their problem. So he just turns around and keeps walking, leaving them to eat his dust. Helene watches him go, wondering how in the world she got into this mess. Her mind flashes back to the disaster that was the mercenary guild last night. Kettle had introduced himself with this huge, goofy smile, completely unaware of their sheer terror. Elaine, meanwhile, was pretty sure she was about to have a heart attack. Just trust me, he'd said with a grin. Your safety is 100% guaranteed. All she could do was squeak out a tiny yes while dying on the inside. And back in the present, she's still not convinced this wasn't a terrible, terrible mistake. When night finally falls, Kettle announces it's time to make camp. He checks in on his petrified clients, asking if they're holding up all right. He points out that it's getting too dark to see, which is exactly what they wanted when they left so late. Aaron just nervously agrees, clinging to Elaine's arm like a security blanket. Kettle finally realizes that the fear people have of his kind is pretty deep. Anyway, he casually reaches for a pouch on his belt to set up camp. And then, poof, he throws out a magical item and a full-size tent just appears. Aaron and Elaine's brains just completely short-circuit on the spot. An artifact? They scream. How does a barbarian have something like that? Kettle's just confused. Oh, this thing, he asks, looking at the tent. I got it. After grinding a bunch of requests, he explains, like it's just some common loot drop. His casual answer only makes them freak out even more. You can almost see the smoke coming out of their ears. He offers them the tent, but Elaine nervously asks what he's going to do. Kettle just scoffs. He's used to sleep outside. Compared to the white snowfields, this was paradise. He then grins and says he'll stand watch all night, mentioning that one time monsters hunted him for a month straight without sleep. Okay, that's a bit too extreme. So he just smiles and tells them to sleep peacefully. Elaine immediately insists they take turns on watch, telling him not to push himself. Kettle tries to refuse, but they are not taking no for an answer. He thinks he's failing to earn their trust. My friend, they're just terrified you'll murder them in their sleep. The next morning, Elaine crawls out of the tent looking like she just wrestled a bear and lost. Aaron didn't do any better. He's basically just a lifeless husk propped against the tent. She stumbles out of the tent, clutching her stomach as it growls loud enough to wake the dead. Kettle overhears her. Hungry? He asks. Hang on, I'll whip something up for you. Elaine just stares at him, her brain buffering. It does not compute. And to her absolute shock, the walking mountain of muscle starts cooking with the skill of a master chef. She can't believe what she's seeing. A barbarian cooking? Is this a prank? Aaron, who's practically drooling, yells out and asks if he actually learned how to cook properly. Kettle just shrugs and calls it a hobby. He flashes back to the snowfields where his people just ripped into raw monster meat. Yum. But our boy was built different. He decided to turn that monster loot into fine dining. The ingredients were so toxic they nearly unalived him, but after tons of trial and error, he mastered it. He proudly declares that there's nowhere on earth he can't cook a decent meal. Compared to his homeland, cooking out here is basically child's play. He presents them with a perfectly plated shrimp pasta that looks like it's from a 5-star restaurant. Elaine's brain freezes. She panics and says she doesn't like greasy food. Yeah, right. She pulls out some dry jerky instead, and Aaron nervously copies her. Kettle, completely unbothered, says it's a shame and just starts eating the pasta himself. Elaine watches him, her mouth watering, desperately wanting a bite of that deliciousness, but her fear and prejudice win out. She just cannot bring herself to trust a barbarian's cooking. Later, on the third night of their journey, something is clearly wrong with Elaine. She's groaning in pain and her feet are glowing a very ominous shade of red. Aaron rushes to her side, completely panicked. Your Highness, are you all right? 3 days. That's how long Aaron has been watching over a feverish Elaine. Turns out the sheltered princess life didn't quite prepare her for roughing it in the wild. She finally wakes up, mustering a weak smile. Aaron, I'm fine. In fact, she's more worried about him, pointing out he must be exhausted from pulling double duty on watch. But Aaron, ever the gentleman, just smiles it off. I'm all right, he says, even cracking a joke about old men not needing much sleep. Elaine gives him a thankful look before passing out again. The poor girl is completely drained. And as he watches over the sleeping princess, Aaron's face gets dead serious. He sees her as family now. He makes a silent vow to protect her, even if it means he doesn't make it back. The next morning, however, brings the glorious sound of sizzling breakfast. Our dynamic duo are staring, miserably chewing on dry rations, while Kettle grills up a 5-star feast right in front of them. Finally, Elaine has had enough. She shoots to her feet with pure determination, startling poor Aaron. She announces she's stepping away for a moment, and Kettle, with the social grace of a rock, immediately asks, "Bathroom?" He actually apologizes, which completely short-circuits Elaine's brain. A barbarian apologizing does not compute. You can almost see the gears turning in her head. Something just shifted. She turns and starts walking away. Seeing them leave, Kettle finally decides to speak up. I know you don't trust me, but I am your escort, he continues, holding up a perfectly grilled steak. I would appreciate a little trust. Then he hits them with the puppy dog eyes. I'm human too, you know. I can be hurt. Oh, he's good. And boom! The guilt trip hits Aaron like a truck. He's totally flustered, stammering that he understands. With that, Kettle presents the masterpiece. Here, it's venison. Will you eat it? Aaron is completely hypnotized. You can literally see the steak reflected in his eyes. The man has folded. Meanwhile, Elaine has run off to a stream for a good cry, trying to choke down her sad, dry jerky all by herself. She's hungry, her legs are killing her, and she's at her limit. But she's trying to be strong, thinking that Aaron must be having an even harder time. That noble resolve completely shatters, however, when she peeks through the bushes and sees Eren happily chowing down on that venison. The betrayal. Her most trusted knight, her protector, eating the enemy's food. She whispers his name, completely heartbroken. Busted. Eren drops his fork and immediately panics. Princess, this is a misunderstanding. Kettle, meanwhile, is just watching this whole soap opera unfold with a curious look. Elaine storms over and grabs Eren. What isn't true? We promised to be wary of barbarians. Eren tries to explain that maybe, just maybe, Kettle isn't such a bad guy. But Elaine is not having any of it. That's when Kettle cuts in, turning to a startled Elaine. Ah, right. So that's why you wouldn't eat my food after all. He lays it all out. Splitting the night watch. That was because you didn't trust me either, huh? And the accusation just hangs in the air. Our two heroes realize they have messed up big time. Kettle just sighs. He gets it, the world hates his kind, and he knows some other barbarians probably earned that reputation. He knows just saying he's not a barbarian is pointless right now. But then a brilliant idea hits him. A sly grin spreads across his face. Oh yes, this is it. He looks straight at the two of them. There's one thing you're misunderstanding here. And with a smile, he drops the bombshell. I am not a barbarian. And just like that, Kettle lays it all out, leaving his clients completely speechless. Yeah, that'll do it. He leans in, getting all dramatic. To be precise, I was born a barbarian, but I wasn't raised as one. Eren and Elaine are just standing there, their brains buffering as they try to process this new info. So Kettle starts weaving this super tragic backstory about his tribe being wiped out. He claims a noble adventurer raised him. Then, with a perfectly straight face, he closes his eyes and thinks, of course, I just made all that up. But it doesn't matter. He lands his big point with a charming smile. He might be a barbarian by birth, but he was raised civilized. He tries to act all sincere, but his inner monologue is basically just, it's all nonsense. But hey, it's working because they both look super embarrassed. Elaine remembers how they treated him, all because of a single word. She's thinking he must have faced this prejudice his whole life, yet he was still nothing but kind to them. Overcome with shame, she gives him a sincere apology, admitting she let her fear get the best of her. Kettle just gives her a gentle smile. Inside, he's thinking, success. While Elaine's still stewing, he holds out a hand. Elaine looks a little confused by the handshake, but she takes it. With the ice broken, Elaine gives him a big smile. But hold up. From the shadows, a powerful figure is watching them. It's the Tower Master Lich. He's using his eye of observation thingy, but he can't hear them. He's like, yep, Kane was right. That barbarian really is weird. He notes that Kettle seems way more civilized than other barbarians. So naturally, he decides to get a closer look. Bad move, my friend. The second he moves, Kettle's eyes flash. Busted. The Lich freezes, thinking, wait, did he just see me? Elaine sees Kettle stop dead in his tracks. He stares into the trees and says, someone's here, hold on a bit. Before she can even ask what's going on, he tells her he'll be right back. Then, boom, he launches off the ground. In a flash, he closes the distance, appearing right above the completely stunned Lich. Talk about a surprise party? The Lich totally panics and throws up a fire shield just as Kettle crashes down on him. The whole forest explodes. He's in disbelief. That barrier was super strong, but as the dust clears, he sees Kettle standing there without a scratch. Before the Lich can blink, wham! Kettle slams his face into the dirt, growling not to try anything funny. The guy's tough act vanishes instantly. He just starts screaming the first thing that comes to mind. I admire you, Sir Cuddle, which leaves our boy totally baffled. So after getting the guy's name, Patrick, Kettle just drags him back to camp like a naughty kitten. Elaine is super confused. Kettle just casually explains, I don't know, he was stalking us, then suddenly said he's my biggest fan. Held up by his collar, Patrick launches into this whole spiel about how Kettle is his hero and role model. Of course, we know he's bluffing his butt off. His inner monologue reveals he just wants to get close to his target. But Kettle isn't buying it. He can't just let this supposed fanboy go without some proof he's not a threat. And just like that, Kettle gets a wonderfully terrible idea. With the suspicious mage still in his grip, he lets out a menacing grin and says, this should do it. Our poor Lich is left completely stunned, his mind just screaming, what is happening right now? And Kettle's wonderfully terrible idea? He just ties the guy up. One of the greatest mages in the world. Our poor Lich here had this whole Patrick disguise ready to go for his big spy mission. He really thought he was slick. And that brilliant plan has officially hit a snag. A very, very ropey snag. Kettle gives the rope one last sharp tug, looking way too proud of himself. Yep, that should do it. Then he just turns and announces, all right, let's go, and starts dragging his new captive along like he's taking a very confused poodle for a walk. Patrick's face goes completely white. He's being hauled through the forest like a sack of potatoes, and his dignity is taking a massive hit. He lets out a big sigh. This has never happened to him before. But hey, silver lining, right? He gets a front row seat to the Kettle show. So as he's being dragged, his mind drifts back to that report he got from Swordmaster Kane. He remembers all the details about Kettle's insane speed and his raw power that could literally punch magic into oblivion. Even in this nerfed human body, Patrick is pretty sure he could take a superhuman. He starts to wonder if Kettle is legit hero class. Finally, Elaine decides to speak up. Lord Kettle, I have something to tell you. Kettle looks back. Ah, so you're finally ready to spill the beans? Elaine is surprised that Kettle knew she was hiding something. All the sneaking around at night was a dead giveaway. Kettle just nods. It was easy to tell. And Elaine looks totally busted. He says he understands why it was hard to trust him, and Elaine sincerely apologizes, ready to tell him everything. She even gives him an out, saying he can totally bail on the quest if the full story is too much for him. But just as she's about to spill all the tea, Kettle cuts her off. Wait, we have company. Right on cue, there's a rustle from the bushes nearby. Elaine flinches. They are definitely not alone. And popping out of the foliage are two heavily armored knights. As more knights surround them, Kettle just looks at Elaine. Seems they're here for you. Elaine is completely stunned. The head knight introduces himself as Captain Lucento Edenheimer and greets her as Princess Elaine of the Lucian Kingdom. The mage, still tied up on the sidelines, hears this and it clicks. The Lucian Kingdom? This just got way more interesting. Captain Lucento steps forward, explaining that they've been searching everywhere and the king is worried sick. He asks her to please come with them. But instead of relief, Elaine's face fills with pure, unadulterated terror. The captain then turns to Kettle, basically saying, "Thanks for babysitting the runaway princess, we'll take it from here." But Elaine just says one word, "No." This shocks everyone, but Elaine just continues, "Who are you?" Lucento looks completely confused. Elaine clenches her fist, demanding again, "Who the hell are you?" He starts to stammer his name, but she screams, "Don't make me laugh. I know the real captain, and you are not him." She accuses the imposter of taking over the castle, of replacing her friends and family, and demands to know what he did with her real parents. Meanwhile, Patrick does some tiny gestures behind his back and weaves some magic to check the knight, but he's shocked to find that he's completely human. Elaine is still screaming at the knight, "You want to devour me too and take over our kingdom, don't you?" Tears stream down her face, but her voice is pure steel. "I will never let that happen. I will avenge everyone who disappeared." The knight captain just listens to her whole speech in silence, and then he lets out this big dramatic sigh. He turns to everyone. "Did you hear that? The princess is delusional." Elaine explodes. "Delusional?" But he just calmly tells her to think about it rationally. "Are you saying everyone except you has changed? Do you really think that's possible?" And just like that, her certainty starts to crack. He tells her she needs immediate treatment and holds out his hand. "Your Highness, let's stop this and come with us." Trapped and out of options, Elaine's hope just crumbles. She whispers a desperate plea, "Please someone." And right on cue, a voice cuts in. "What are you doing?" Elaine looks up to see Kettle stepping right between her and the knight. The captain glares at him. "Step aside." But Kettle just smirks, standing his ground. "Yeah, afraid I can't do that." Elaine just watches, completely stunned. Lucento is not impressed. He glares at Kettle, demanding he step aside right now. But Kettle just holds his ground. "Afraid I can't do that." Lucento's face goes grim. He warns, "If you won't move, I'll have no choice but to use force." He doesn't wait for a reply. The commander charges, swinging his massive sword right for Kettle's head, but the attack is stopped cold as Kettle grabs his face. Then with a casual flick, he sends the commander flying. The other knights can only stare in absolute shock, like their brains just blue-screened. "Commander?" They stare at Kettle and ask, "What are you doing?" He states the obvious. "You attacked first, and my job is to drive off threats to my employer." Meanwhile, Lucento is struggling to his feet, clutching his gut. He got totally winded from that one throw. Realizing he can't win with brute force, he tries to gaslight Kettle, claiming the princess is delusional. Kettle isn't buying it for a second. "You still don't get it, do you? It's my job to believe my employer." Elaine watches him, and for the first time in a long time, a flicker of hope appears in her eyes. "Okay, negotiation has failed." Lucento just growls, "You're all insane." Kettle just smiles right back at him. "Well, that's not for you to decide." He then turns to Elaine, who's a little startled. They appeared without any presents, he notes. She has no idea what that means. So Kettle dumbs it down. Basically, these guys just popped out of nowhere. The light bulb goes off for both Elaine and our captured lich, Patrick. "Oh, that's not good." Kettle turns back to the knights. "So how did you appear so suddenly?" They just give him the silent treatment. Lucento tries to brush it off. "Does that matter? Stop nitpicking and hand over the princess." Kettle's eyes narrow. "So you won't answer? Fine. I'll be the one to escort her to the kingdom of Denian then," he declares. Tears well up as realizes she now has someone on her corner. She remembers how no one, not even her own family, ever believed a word she said. Lucento has had enough of this talking stuff. His hand goes to his sword. It's go time. Kettle calmly tells everyone to stand back. He's got this. Elaine, now trusting him completely, just pleads for him to be careful. They were the strongest men in the kingdom. Meanwhile, Lucento orders everyone to draw their sword. Kettle just cracks a smile. Oh, he looks excited. From the sidelines, Patrick is scanning their stats. The knights are second tier, but they can all use mystic arts. Their commander, though, he's first tier. Lucento gives the order. Take down the Barbarian. You may kill him. Like a pack of wolves, the knights surge forward, surrounding Kettle in a blur of steel. He just stands there as a wave of purple energy ripples out from him. The real fight begins now. And Kettle immediately starts dismantling them with brutal efficiency. Kick, block, done. He unleashes a shockwave from his body, effortlessly blasting several armored knights away. As they hit the dirt, Kettle casually comments, "Group attacks are really troublesome." Lucento is furious. He screams at his men, "Don't stop, attack all at once." 6 knights leap into the air at once, aiming to crush Kettle from every possible angle. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Kettle becomes a whirlwind, catching and throwing each knight as they land. Finally losing it, Lucento charges in himself, his sword glowing green. "Die, you monster!" Elaine screams in terror, thinking this is the end for her new protector. But as the glowing blade comes down, Kettle catches it with his teeth. Lucento's eyes go wide. The man just broke. You can see his brain shutting down. With a loud crunch, Kettle's eyes flash purple and he shatters the enchanted steel with his jaw. The force sends Lucento flying backwards. Kettle just stands there and asks, "Want to keep going?" The remaining knights are all on their knees, completely defeated. Trembling, Lucento orders the retreat. And just like that, poof, they're gone. Kettle turns back to check on everyone. He tells Aline he'll finish the job. But first, he needs the entire story. No more secrets. With a determined look, she agrees. "Of course, I'll tell you everything." While everyone else is recovering, Patrick is having a full-blown existential crisis over here. Siora is supposed to be this unstoppable force, yet Kettle just caught it with his teeth. Patrick is just staring, thinking this guy's body isn't just strong. It's a body that can nullify all kinds of magic. Kettle's entire existence is a mystery. Later, once they've all settled around the campfire, Kettle finally pops the question. "All right, spill it. What's the story?" Aaron's face gets grim and he drops a bombshell. He tells Kettle their entire kingdom has been replaced. He says by the time he and the princess figured it out, the whole place had already been taken over. Kettle connects the dots immediately. "So that's why you guys booked it out of there." Aaron confirms it. If they had stayed, they would have been next on the list for a body snatcher makeover. He says this weirdness all started about a year ago, and that exact timing makes Kettle's ears perk up. 1 year ago? Kettle thinks back. The Inquisitor Aquaz mentioned that exact same time frame. He remembers her warning. The Demon Realm's seal is leaking, dungeons are popping up like crazy, and evil things are appearing. All starting 1 year ago. Yeah, that's way too specific to be a coincidence. That's what that weird guy was also rambling about on his last quest. He wrote it off as just crazy talk back then, but now, maybe there was something to it. Aaron keeps going, explaining they had no clue where this distortions even started. They even brought in powerful mages and mystics for help, but every single one of them got replaced too. Kettle seems fascinated by all this. He then asks how Aaron himself was able to spot the fakes. Aaron admits it's hard to explain, he just feels it. The very air around the replaced people feels wrong. There's this deep sense of wrongness he can't shake, even when they're acting perfectly normal. He didn't believe the princess either at first. Not until impossible things started happening. And so begins story time, folks. Aaron takes us back to when he was managing the castle servants. He brings up this one maid, a shy girl named Kathy, who was scared of pretty much everything, especially ghost stories. He admits he used to prank her and tease her with scary stories all the time. But then one day, Kathy just stopped reacting. No more screaming, no more fear. At first, he just figured she'd finally grown a spine and gotten over it. The real red flag came later. Part of Kathy's job was cleaning the huge castle statues, which terrified her. One day, her worst nightmare came true. A massive stone statue crashed down right on top of her. By some miracle, she wasn't seriously hurt, but it was a situation where she absolutely should have died. And here's the creepy part. Kathy showed zero fear. She was only worried about getting punished for breaking the statue. In that one moment, Aaron knew. The person in front of him was not the real Kathy. Kettle sums it up perfectly. A girl who was scared of everything suddenly stopped being scared of death. Very interesting. Aaron says that on the outside she acted the same, but he knew the real Kathy was just gone. After that, he started testing other people in the castle and realized most of them were already fakes. Kettle asks, "And that's why you ran?" Aaron confirms it. They knew they'd be next if they stuck around. So Kettle asks the next logical question. Why run specifically to the Denean kingdom? Elaine finally speaks up, because only the king of Denean can issue something called a human declaration. She begins telling an old legend from a time when humans lived among many other races. Apparently, one man wanted a kingdom just for humans. so he made a deal with some nameless god. The god granted him a single, powerful ability, the power to know what is human and what is not. After getting this power, the man built a kingdom which eventually became the Denaian kingdom we know today. Elaine finishes explaining that only the descendants of that founder can perform the human declaration. Kettle smiles. Something like that exists, huh? This world is never boring. He tells her it's a solid plan. Elaine looks up at him with tears in her eyes, asking if he's sure he wants to continue. He just gives her a warm smile. Nothing's changed. I made a promise to escort you, and I'm keeping it. Overwhelmed with relief, Elaine clasps her hands together and thanks him from the bottom of her heart. And then she makes a huge promise. If he completes the request, she will grant him any wish his heart desires. Kettle just smoothly accepts, saying he'll look forward to it. This makes Aaron's jaw hit the floor in sheer panic. Later that night, Patrick sidles up to Kettle and asks the million-dollar question. So do you actually believe her story? Kettle glances at him. Not 100%, but I think she's telling the truth. Patrick pushes back, pointing out that those turquoise knights they fought were definitely human. Kettle quietly agrees with him. I think so too. Patrick lays out the stakes for Kettle. He's making an enemy of an entire nation. Just knowing their secret is a death sentence. He asks him straight up, are you really just doing this to fulfill a simple contract? After a long pause, Kettle finally admits, well, that's part of the reason. But then this massive, insane grin spreads across his face as he reveals his real motivation. He says it would be a huge waste to miss out on something this exciting, and Patrick is left completely speechless. Kettle makes it clear. He's in this for the sheer chaotic fun of it all. Patrick is just staring, trying to figure out if this dude is a hero or a maniac. He asks if Katal is only here because of the contract. Katal looks down for a second and admits, partly. But more than that, this is an intriguing tale. His eyes are practically glowing with excitement. He's not here for the money, folks. He's here for the content. Patrick is absolutely losing his mind. He's like, are you serious? You're doing all this just for fun? Kettle's eyes flash a demonic purple as he gives a fanged, terrifying grin. What more does one need? My man is an adrenaline junkie. Katal is just hyped for the adventure, a being that replaces another without anyone noticing. How peculiar, he observes. Patrick is having some other thoughts. Yeah, see, underneath that fanboy act, the leech's true nature comes out. He desperately wants to study Kettle, and by study he means he wants to dissect the Barbarian piece by piece to figure out his power. Totally normal thoughts, right? The next day, the journey continues. Patrick has just accepted his fate. For now, he'll just sit back and watch the story unfold, like the rest of us. Suddenly, an arrow slices through the air, but Kettle, being the absolute unit he is, just snatches it out of the sky. This surprise attack sends Aline and Aaron into a full-blown panic. Tal, on the other hand, is completely unfazed. He just smirks. Guerrilla warfare, huh? Not a bad strategy. Just then, bam! 4 knights drop from the trees. He calmly remarks, that said, it's not exactly the correct answer either. The shade is real, my friends. With a single, powerful pulse of energy, he sends all 4 knights flying. Kaboom! They crash so hard their armor cracks. One even spurs out blood from his mouth. That's gonna leave a mark. The battered knights scramble to their feet and retreat, calling him a monster. Well, they're not wrong. Kital has this subtly proud look on his face. Elaine tells him he's incredible, but Kital just shrugs it off. Were they not weak? Elaine nervously pushes him for an answer. Still, why are you letting them live? She's worried he's holding back for their sake, but Kettle just says, it's not because of you lot, leaving her totally confused. With a sly grin, he turns back to the battlefield. There's something I want to confirm, and right on cue, another group of identical knights appears, demanding he hand over the princess. Kettle just watches them, completely unimpressed. It's like they're NPCs stuck on a loop. In a flash, he's holding one knight by the throat, the others already knocked out on the ground. He examines the knight's pristine armor. That armor, I destroyed it a few hours ago. Companions are baffled, but Kettle points out the faint scratches on the chestplate. It's perfectly identical. How interesting. He casually drops the knight and lets the whole group retreat once more. Eileen is lost. Kettle explains the impossible. Their broken armor and swords have been restored completely. Aaron confirms that level of restoration magic would need at least a full day and a massive setup. This is way too fast. Kettle agrees. Something else is going on. He's finally starting to put the pieces together. He's figured it out. The knights are basically respawning. They're defeated, turn into red spirits, and then just reappear, fully reset. Now then, only one final confirmation remains. And like clockwork, the knights show up again with the same battle cry. Ignoring them completely, Kettle turns to his client, Aline. With his final test in mind, he grips his axe, and the next moment, the blade is dripping with blood. Kettle stands over the fallen knight, noting that because they have human forms, his axe meets a slight resistance. He glances at his horrified clients, stating that this bloody experiment should be enough to confirm his hypothesis. As Elaine steps forward looking deeply troubled, Katal turns and asks her pointedly, Can you do it? Her mind flashes back to a time she watched the knights from a balcony, specifically a young man named Kay. She remembers how he changed, becoming someone she didn't recognize. But seeing him die for real was still traumatic. In her memory, she screamed for it to stop, but the corrupted knight just kept demanding she be handed over. Back in the present, the entire party is just stunned, trying to process what just happened. Aaron is aghast, and Elaine's horrified reaction is all the proof Catal needs. He smirks. His theory is confirmed. Later that night, the group sits around the campfire. Elaine finally breaks the tension, stating the obvious. They definitely died. Catal stares into the flames, his face grim. Indeed, he says. No sugarcoating it for this guy. The image of the knights with glowing purple eyes and creepy smiles flashes through Elaine's mind, causing her to tremble. Catal thinks back to the story about Kay not fearing death. He wonders if it's because they're beings that simply cannot die. Bro said maybe they just got plot armor like that. He concludes that whatever they aren't human anymore, and offers a bowl of soup to the shivering princess. He asks if she has any idea what's going on, but she can only admit that she doesn't know. She says coming back from death isn't really a form of life. Deep thoughts from our princess. Still, she offers one possible theory, that these beings are from the demonic realm. And at the mention of the demonic realm, Catal's entire expression turns deadly serious, his eyes flaring with that signature white glow. Playtime is over. Catal's whole demeanor changes. The demonic realm? He asks, and you just know things are about to get real. Elaine confirms it. She calls it some twisted, unknowable place. Basically, if these respawning weirdos are from there, it would explain everything. Right on cue, a quest notification pops up for Catal. Quest number 785. Time to get grinding. Our boy immediately thinks he's cracked the code. He wonders if his system only activates for demonic realm business. A bit full of himself, isn't he? But Aaron immediately shuts the theory down. He insists it's impossible for demons to just waltz into their world. Catal looks confused, but Aaron is dead serious. He claims no demon has ever crossed over since the dawn of time. Ever. With that signature smirk, Catal calls him out. So that's just a guess based on old stories, not actual facts. Got him. Elaine reminds them that things have been super weird lately. A sweating Aaron has to admit he's right. Catal connects the dots like a true detective. He asks if those distortions from a year ago might have messed with the demonic realm too. The princess, who's been soaking all this in, displays a deadly serious look. She admits that is a very real possibility. Catal seriously ponders the idea of dreadful things escaping. Meanwhile, Patrick gives him the ultimate side-eye, thinking, that's rich coming from you. Next morning, the welcome party is back. The knights have returned, demanding the princess be handed over. But Catal doesn't look worried at all. In fact, he's got a huge grin on his face. He's actually enjoying this. He casually walks past a corpse. He notes that's 3 deaths now, and they always come back good as new. Creepy. Elaine is absolutely disgusted, clenching her fist and calling them revolting monsters. She is not having a good time. The princess said, I did not sign up for this. Catal treats this whole thing like a puzzle. He's starting to wonder what their real objective is. Elaine has a theory. They're going to devour her entire kingdom, grow their army, and then take over the whole continent. A classic villain plan. Catal isn't buying it. With a sly smile, he says he doesn't think it's something that simple. Our boy loves to be contrary. He points out that if they just wanted to destroy the kingdom, they would have finished her off ages ago. They've had plenty of chances. And here's another thing. They never attack at night, which is when humans are weakest and most vulnerable. Suspicious, right? He casually smacks another knight away while continuing his lecture. If you're immortal, why not just Zerg rush them? What's with the hit and run? These creatures don't act like monsters, he tells the stunned princess. It's almost like they genuinely believe they're still human. Which is why, he says with a positively wicked grin, he's had an excellent idea. The looks on Elaine and Aaron's faces just scream, oh no. And his brilliant idea is kidnapping. He's captured one of the knights, who is now tied up and screaming threats. This is fine. Catal claps his hands together with a big friendly smile. Now then, he says, let us have a conversation. Even Patrick, the captured lich, can only watch this madness unfold. His one thought, this guy is properly insane. Aaron absolutely loses it, asking what he's doing. When Catal says they're having a sincere conversation, Aaron just snaps. You want to talk to a monster? The captured knight looks totally baffled by this. A monster? What are you talking about? I am human. Elaine screams at him to shut his mouth. She calls him a disgusting monster for even daring to imitate a human voice. She tells him she watched him die and come back to life over and over. And now he expects her to believe he is human? Not a chance. Bro's humanity card got revoked instantly. The knight keeps pleading his case. We are not monsters. We are human. Princess, you have to believe me. This is the last straw for Elaine. She absolutely loses it, screaming, don't treat me like I am insane. She accuses them of devouring her parents and reveals her deepest fear, that they plan to turn her into a monster too. The knight frantically denies it. No, that's not it. The princess will remain exactly as she is now. That specific phrasing stops her cold. What do you mean by that? Both Kital and Patrick snap to attention. They heard it too. The knight admits he doesn't know the full plan. But one thing is certain, he declares. Both of you absolutely must return to the kingdom. Elaine has had enough. She turns away, saying there is no point talking to a monster that just spouts nonsense. But just as she's walking off, Kital stops her. A look of realization dawns on his face. So it really is like that. Now this is interesting. He turns to the princess and asks a single chilling question. Elaine, do you consider yourself human? He really said, let me shake your entire worldview. Question just hangs in the air, leaving Elaine totally baffled. She scoffs at him, asking if that is not obvious. Kato's eyes glow as he just says, I see. But Elaine totally misses the point, thinking he is accusing her of becoming a monster. Before she can even finish her sentence, there's a sickening, wet tearing sound. Elaine's eyes fly open in absolute horror, as bursting straight out of her chest is a grotesque, fleshy, scale-covered appendage. What in the world is that thing? Kital just watches with a grim, knowing expression. The princess stares down in utter disbelief at the monster born from her own body. Yeah, that's a massive oopsie right there. So, was that horrifying chestburster scene all just a nightmare? Princess Aline jolts awake, gasping for air, looking like she's just seen a ghost. Aaron rushes to her side, checking if she's okay. But she's completely out of it, having no idea where she is. And the memory hits her like a freight train. She remembers Kato's words and looks down, expecting to see a hole in her body. And speak of the devil. Kato's voice cuts in, so you've come to. Yep, he's just standing there, arms crossed, looking incredibly smug. Elaine freaks out, demanding to know what happened after that thing exploded out of her. Kato just calmly explains she had a wound that would kill any normal person. But now, she's perfectly fine. Not a scratch on her. As she tries to process this, Kital drops the big one. She was completely restored, as if nothing ever happened, just like those nights. He even checked Aaron while she was out. Yep, he's the same. The horrible truth finally hits Aline. It's already too late. She's one of them. A little while later, Kital steps outside and finds Patrick by the fire. The leash immediately asks how the princess is handling her little identity crisis. Kato says she's a mess, but Patrick notes she's taking it better than expected. Then the leech cuts right to the chase, asking, since when did you know? Kato admits he had his suspicions, but as for when he knew for sure? From the beginning, he says, being coy. Turns out, Kital sensed a familiar, subtle presence on Aline and Aaron from the start, a detail that Patrick's own magic senses completely missed. Awkward. But that wasn't the only clue, folks. He also noticed she refused his food, surviving on basically nothing but jerky for 3 whole days. He points out that a sheltered princess can't just tough that out with willpower. Patrick is seriously impressed. Who knew the Barbarian was actually a detective? Just then, Aaron calls out to Katal. Aline emerges from the tent, her expression now firm and full of resolve. The princess declares they're heading to the Denyan kingdom. Katal smiles, glad she's finally made up her mind. But before they can pack up, he calls out to the empty woods. Isn't it about time you came out? He didn't sense any magic. His barbarian instincts were just screaming at him. He can't help but grin, impressed with his own gut feeling. Poof! A shimmering figure materializes from thin air. It's a powerful-looking old wizard with a classic pointy hat. Aline and Patrick are speechless. Kital's only reaction is surprise at the invisibility spell. The wizard introduces himself as Adamant Rajesh, chief mage of the kingdom of Lutein. What a title. He says he's here to bring them home. Kital grips his axe, ready for a fight, but the mage says that won't be necessary. The wizard turns to Aline, telling her it's time to go back to the palace. He warns that her little trip could cause a diplomatic incident. A single tear rolls down Elaine's cheek. She bitterly asks what any of that even matters now that she's just a monster pretending to be human. Yeah, this got deep way too fast. A monster, is it? The wizard muses. He says they've changed, sure, but that doesn't mean they've lost who they are. Looking her dead in the eye, he says if anything has changed, it's only this. Just leaving that cryptic statement hanging there. Adamant calmly tells Aline she is simply becoming more complete. He reassures her that she is still the princess of her kingdom. How comforting. But then his eyes narrow with this chilling look. He reveals her true destiny is to become their flawless queen. Okay, that sounds incredibly suspicious. Flawless queen? My friend, that's code for puppet ruler, if I've ever heard it. Katal starts talking about the ship of Theseus, a ship preserved by the people of Athens. As its old wooden planks rotted away, they were replaced one by one with stronger ones. This continued until every single part of the original ship was gone. Not a single splinter was left from the old vessel. So Katal poses the classic question. After all that, could you still call it the same ship? Dude, read the room. He then compares this to the Lutein kingdom, calling it one massive ship of Theseus. And you can see the look of pure horror dawning on Elaine's face. Just then, the old mage steps forward, his presence way too commanding for my liking. He looks Aline dead in the eye. Please return now, princess. Your place is in the Lutein kingdom. Yeah, I'm getting major stranger danger vibes here. The poor princess just stammers, completely intimidated by this guy's creepy demand. She has no idea what to do. Keital leans in with a predatory grin. Want me to? I can make that man go away for you. Mage turns his glare to Keital. Barbarian, you already know we're the same kind. There's no reason to stop me, is there? Keital looks completely unfazed. So what about it? I honestly could not care less what you are. He stands firm between them, making his position perfectly clear. I'm only stopping you to protect my employer. Lene is completely lost in her thoughts, her mind reeling from the fact that she isn't even human. She feels like a total fraud. But I'm not Elaine. I'm just... What a total identity crisis. But Keital just cuts her off with a simple, firm no. Not on his watch. Tears stream down the princess's face as he says the one thing she needed to hear. To me, you are Aline. He tells her he never knew the old Aline. The person who hired him, the one he's been traveling with, is the only Aline he knows. The one I want to protect is the current Aline. And just like that, our boy becomes a true knight in shining armor. Turns the decision over to her. What do you want to do, Aline? The choice is hers. She hesitates, clutching her chest, her expression a mess of turmoil and fear. But then, something snaps. Her eyes narrow with pure resolve. I don't want to go back. Keital cracks a satisfied smile. My employer says so. Guess that settles that. The mage's face darkens as he sighs, so it ends up like this. It sure does, buddy. Keital gives the order. Patrick, I'm counting on you. The Lich nods and leads Elaine and Aaron away from the danger zone. With them at a safe distance, the mage sneers. You seem to be enjoying this situation, Barbarian. Keital flashes a huge grin. I actually am. You clearly look like a powerful mage. Oh boy, he's excited. I wonder what kind of magic you'll show me. He lives for this, doesn't he? Adaman's robe begins to glow with an intense blue aura. You'll regret stopping me, Barbarian. Famous last words. He gathers immense power, chanting an ancient spell as the world around him starts to warp with magic. But before he can even finish, Keital moves in a blur of purple energy, appearing right in his face. No monologues for you. Crunch! Keital's punch connects, and the mage is utterly obliterated in a massive explosion of blood and gore. Keital grins, clenching his blood-soaked fist. The first way to deal with a mage, kill them before they can cast a spell. He watches as the splattered blood begins to evaporate into a swirling red mist. As expected, mist rapidly reforms into the mage, who looks on in absolute terror. This is insane. What just happened? He can't believe it. Keital's speed was so insane that he couldn't even react. He got totally blitzed. Keital wonders if there's a limit to the regeneration, and casually stomps the ground. Instantly, massive rock pillars erupt and skewer the mage. Keital just looks on surprised. Oh, that works too? Adamant gets ripped to shreds again, but his eyes are glowing with fury as he prepares his counterattack. Thick, powerful tree roots burst from the ground, twisting around him to form a monstrous wooden golem. Screams turn into ashes, unleashing a massive torrent of fire that engulfs the own wooden form. Watching the spectacle, Patrick realizes Adamant is just spamming spells that use a huge amount of mana. He comes to a stunning conclusion. Adamant is a mage with infinite mana since it restores itself along with his body. Talk about a cheat code, but even with such a broken ability, Patrick knows how this will end. He picked the wrong opponent. The colossal fire spell erupts, but as the flames clear, Adamant is horrified to find Keital is just gone. Before he can react, Keital appears right behind him, his fist crackling. The mage finally gets it. He's not fighting a man, he's fighting a monster. Keital is just getting started, a manic grin spreading across his face. He's actually impressed, wondering if all mages are this strong. Adamant's eyes widen in terror as Keital lunges, moving way too fast for anyone to possibly track. In a flash of purple energy and a spray of blood, Keital's arm blurs into a vicious backhand, sending the mage's head flying. Off with his head, Keital stands over the headless corpse, looking at his own blood-splattered fist with a strange expression. He examines the blood, sensing something is a little off about it. This isn't normal. The decapitated body dissolves into a cloud of red particles, quickly reforming into a furious Adamant once again. He's completely restored, screaming at Keital, "What the hell are you?" This is getting repetitive, my man. Adamant is absolutely seething, thinking this whole situation is just a ridiculous joke. He is not having a good day. Keital just gives him this calm, almost condescending smile and says, "Just a normal barbarian. I love this guy." Finally getting serious, Adamant declares, "Fine, let's stop testing each other. About time." The ground itself begins to tremble as he gathers an absolutely immense amount of magical energy. He floats into the air, surrounded by a swirling vortex of power, and announces, "From now on, I'll fight at full power." Keital just grins, completely unfazed by the light show. Now this is something to look forward to. Yeah, he's enjoying this a little too much. And when Adamant says full power, he means it. He instantly traps Elaine and her crew inside a raging magical storm. Keital just calmly sizes him up. Okay, so he's an experienced mage, one who can casually whip up a natural disaster. No big deal. Even our boy Katal has to admit the light show is pretty impressive. He even gives the mage a little smile, thanking him for the show. Thanks to you, I got to see something interesting. Okay, show's over. Katal takes one single, deliberate step forward. Boom! He stomps his foot and the entire world just erupts in a massive wave of purple energy. The shockwave absolutely obliterates the forest, tearing through everything. Adamant gets launched backward, his face a perfect picture of pure shock. Meanwhile, the rest of the party is totally fine inside their little magic bubble, just staring. Patrick is losing his mind. He's a mage, right? He didn't feel any magic? Was that just a stomp? We pull back to see the real damage. Catel is standing in a giant, freshly made crater. And of course, he doesn't have a single scratch on him. Typical. Adamant is horrified. His ultimate magic was beaten by a normal barbarian. The old mage is seething, his ego completely shattered. This is impossible. Absolutely impossible, he screams, right as Catel starts glowing with this dark purple aura. Yeah, you can see the pure terror in Adamant's eyes. You can see his bravery clocking out. Bam! Catel punches the ground, unleashing another shockwave, this time glowing red. The mage's body dissolves into a red mist, but then he just reforms. He admits Catel is strong, but he's still confident. You can't defeat me. Catal actually agrees with him. True, normal methods won't be enough. He opens his hand, and this weird, jagged, dark shard just appears in his glove. Then, how about this? The mage is just staring, completely lost. Catel clenches his fist, and the air around him just explodes. A huge shockwave of pure power bursts out, literally vaporizing the ground. He stands there, smoking a little, with this look of faint surprise on his face. He opens his hand. That shard has been crushed into a fine, sparkling dust. And the mage's eyes go wide with horror. He knows exactly what Catel just destroyed. Catel gives him a menacing grin and holds up the dust. Is this your true nature? Oh, Adamant has lost it. His face is a mask of pure rage as he screams, "You bastard." Tal's eyes narrow. Care to continue? He lays down the new rules. From here on out, you'll be risking your life as well. The mage just stands there silent and seething in his red mist. Just like that, the ominous red energy fades away. He gives one final threat before vanishing. You'll pay the price for this. That threat is scheduled for later, and the battle is over. Catel is left standing alone in the middle of a wasteland. The boss fight over, the party regroups and gets back on the road. Finally, after a long journey, they arrive at their destination. Before them are the massive stone walls of the Kingdom of Denian. Patrick stops them here. He says this is as far as he goes, since he's a foreigner. Catel apologizes, but Patrick just waves it off. He says traveling with Catel was fun enough. Catel feels the same, saying he hopes they meet again. We likely will, Patrick says with a cryptic smile, and it won't be long. Catel just watches him go, wondering what that was all about. Foreshadowing, maybe? They approach the gate, and of course, a guard immediately yells, "Halt, Barbarian! Step back!" Catel is completely unfazed. Yeah, he's used to this kind of warm welcome. But before things escalate, Aline steps forward with some real confidence. Open the gates. He proudly pulls the princess card. I am the first princess of the Kingdom of Lutain, Elaine Mavrochi. She demands an audience with King Barbosa Denian, leaving the poor guards stunned. And what do you know? It works. Soon after, Catal is kicking back in a super lavish guest room. Bro went from struggle to sweet real quick. He's pretty happy with this upgrade. All thanks to Aline. This bed? Not bad. With the escort mission over, he figures the quest is finally cleared. And right on cue, the blue system window pops up. 758th quest complete. And another message appears. Rewards will now be distributed. Catal's confused. He's wondering what the reward is, since he never gets them directly like this. Suddenly, a sharp knock at the door completely shatters his train of thought. It's Elaine, the noble he guided through the wasteland. She asks for a moment of his time, and Catel invites her to sit down. A bit later, Catel asks for an update on the situation. She tells him her audience with the king is set for tomorrow. She thinks this will solve everything. Catel, our resident realist, isn't so sure. He thinks this might just be the start of their problems. Elaine seems to agree. After a moment, she just says his name to get his attention. She asks him directly if he has any idea what really took over her kingdom. Catel closes his eyes, admitting he has some suspicions. He turns the question back on her. He asks if she can tell him what her kingdom has truly become. In response to her question, Catel holds out a shimmering, iridescent shard. He tells a completely bewildered Elaine, "It is the true nature of whatever replaced you." Yeah, she has absolutely no idea what she's looking at. That's not confusion, that's pure buffering. Catel explains that he had to forcibly compress this stuff just to make it visible to the naked eye. He's not even sure if this medieval world can grasp the concept, but he asks if she gets it. And surprisingly, she totally does. Aline compares it to things like mana and aura, invisible forces you can only see when they're gathered together. A light bulb goes off for Ketil. He totally forgot that this place has mystic forces. Got it. But for Aline, the terrible implication of his words finally starts to sink in. Ketil tells her to just think of herself as a huge collection of these tiny things. Her entire being, from head to toe, heart to brain, bones to blood, has been completely replaced. That realization hits her like a truck, and she instinctively recoils, hugging herself in disgust. Ketil just asks if she's alright, admitting that yeah, it's not exactly a pleasant feeling. She nervously asks if these particles are dangerous. Ketil actually smiles, reassuring her they're inactive and seem to break under strong physical force. He decides to just call them nano for short. Sounds cool, I guess. He explains that each nano is its own little entity, and together they just form a human shape. That's why they don't die when they get hurt. It's like trying to kill a lake by cutting the water. Immortality? Elaine asks, and she sounds horrified by the idea. Ketil confirms it, which explains why they don't get the concept of death. But Elaine finds a flaw in his logic. She points out, unlike them, I'm afraid of death. Shouldn't I not understand it either? He has to admit she's got a point. Then he leans with a brand new theory. It's just a guess, but you're probably experiencing a mutation. And yep, she looks absolutely floored. A bit later, Ketil is kicking back on a ridiculously fancy bed in the Dinian palace. He's just chilling, wondering if Aline is having her chat with the king yet. He muses on the idea of meeting a real fantasy king, one who supposedly got his power from a god. I wonder what he's like, he thinks with a smile. I'd like to meet him. Speak of the devil. Just then, the door to his room swings open. A very stern-looking knight calls out to him, Barbarian, His Majesty wishes to meet you. This guy, Maximus, leads Ketil through some seriously opulent palace halls. He gives Ketil a little warning shot. Show some basic respect, for your own life's sake. Ketil just gives him a relaxed smile. Sure, I'll keep that in mind. They arrive at the throne room, and Maximus announces his arrival to the king. Ketil steps inside. He's a little taken aback. He sees Elaine, the king, and... wait, another familiar face? The king, Barbossa Denian, speaks first. So you're the barbarian who escorted Princess Aline? Ketil gives a surprisingly respectful bow. Nice to meet you, king. I am Ketil the Barbarian. His polite little act catches both Maximus and the king completely off guard. It's hilarious. The king has to cough to regain his composure. Princess Aline said you're quite different from ordinary barbarians. Ketil just grins. That's what they tell me. His eyes then drift over to the guy beside the throne. Is that Patrick? Elaine gets all flustered, explaining that he's the Tower Master, and Patrick immediately starts sweating. Quickly tries to play it cool. You must be mistaking me for someone else. Internally, he is absolutely losing his mind. Ketil just plays along with a smile. I see. I must have been mistaken. My apologies. Patrick forces another smile, relieved. He can't believe Ketil saw through his perfect disguise, which changes his appearance, mana, and even his personality. He's certain there's no way Ketil could have seen through it after just one quick meeting. Right? But Ketil's silent stare is making him extremely nervous. This whole perfect disguise thing might not be so perfect. Ketil decides not to blow the mage's cover. He figures he'll just let it slide for now. How nice of him. Changing the subject, Elaine anxiously asks about the human declaration. From his throne, the king gives his verdict. They are human. He explains his ancestors' decree was simple. If you believe yourself to be human, then you are. Therefore, Elaine, Aaron, and even the knight she captured were all undeniably human. Hearing this, Elaine's face just falls. The king notes that their real desire was to simply remain human. Ketil just grins, finding the whole situation pretty fortunate for their side. He then gets straight to the point, asking the king why he was really summoned here. King reveals he knows all about these nano things, and the problem is a lot closer than they think. Tragically, his own close friend and even their child have already been devoured by this plague. Patrick confirms that the tower is holding them back for now, but soon the entire continent will be replaced. The king looks Ketil dead in the eye, saying he's heard Ketil knows a way to eliminate them. Ketil lets that sink in. Then a slow, dangerous grin spreads across his face. I see. So the objective is extermination. And right on cue, a familiar blue window pops up. The system has a brand new quest. Respond to the beings of the demon realm. Yeah, he's definitely not relaxing anytime soon. The captured knight named Parman is brought in, bound and screaming on the throne room floor. Everyone's here for the show. The king, his captain Maximus, and the Tower Master Patrick are all watching to see what our boy Ketil can do. The Tower Master, a literal lich, admits defeat. He says his usual magical scans and truth spells have completely failed on this guy. So he turns to Ketil like, alright hotshot, you fought these things. Your turn to see if you can crack him open. The mage has even thrown up a magic barrier for safety, basically giving Ketil a green light to get a little aggressive. He's screaming at the top of his lungs, "Why are you doing this to me? I already told you I'm human." Keital just closes his eyes, completely calm. He stares down at the knight, wondering what would be the most effective method here. Okay, he's got it. He opens his eyes and unleashes 100% of his killing intent, a colossal, terrifying shadow looming over the knight, promising absolute oblivion. Parman's face says it all. His eyes are wide with a primal terror he has never felt before. You see? What Kettle just did was introduce a being that doesn't understand death to the raw, unfiltered, gut-wrenching fear of it. The sheer weight of his malice is so intense it stuns the entire royal court. Even the Tower Master, a leech mind you, is sweating. He realizes he's only feeling a tiny fraction of the pressure actually aimed at the knight. Under that crushing mental assault, Parman's body and mind just completely shatter. It is not pretty, folks. And finally, something gives. A dark, sparkling energy starts to leak out of the knight's body. Cadel just smiles. Yep, it worked. The creature hiding inside is finally being forced out into the open. Everyone can only stare in total shock as a shadowy, humanoid creature with glowing white eyes fully emerges. Elaine's in shock. So that's the true form of the nano? Katal just smiles and says, "Nice to meet you. I'd like to talk. Is that all right?" The entire court is just silent, watching this shadow monster actually consider his bizarre request to chat. After a moment, its glowing eyes narrow. It seems intrigued. "Fine," it says. The nano being wastes no time and gets right to the point, asking, "Why do you reject us?" Lane completely snaps. "Are you serious? We reject you because you devoured and killed everyone we knew." But the entity is genuinely confused. "I don't understand. We only made you perfect. Why would you be angry?" Kato figures it out on the spot. "Ah, I see. You want Elen back so you can understand why she's rejecting you." Entity just responds with, "There's no reason to answer you. Playing it cool, I see." "Don't be like that," Ketal says. "Look, depending on your answer, she might just join you," he adds. Suggests that if it just explains itself clearly, maybe Eleni will change her mind. And the entity totally falls for it. Replication, it begins. It explains that there are only a few of them, and to grow their numbers, they need to gather as many hosts as possible. Aline and Aaron are somehow rejecting their call, which is throwing a huge wrench in their galactic takeover plan. Ketal presses on, getting to the heart of it. "And what do you intend to do once you have all these numbers?" The nano reveals its grand and frankly insane ambition. "In this imperfect world, we will bring perfection." Ketal sums it up with a smile. "So basically, you intend to replace everything and everyone in this world." The nano sees absolutely no problem with this, saying Aline and Aaron should just join them to help out. Ketal turns to Elaine. "So what do you think? Sound like a good deal?" After a tense beat, her eyes harden with pure resolve. "Of course I refuse. I have no intention of joining you monsters." The nano entity's form distorts with pure rage. "You deceived me." Ketal just gives it the widest grin. "I never deceived you." Screaming in absolute fury, the nano lunges forward. "I will devour everyone here." But bam! It slams face first into an invisible barrier, stopping it dead in its tracks. Tower Master crosses his arms, grinning. "You didn't really think we'd let you go on a rampage, did you?" The nano can only rage inside its prison, realizing it's been completely played. "You bastards!" Patrick snaps his fingers. "All right, playtime's over. I've got all the information I need from you." Then he shrinks the entire magic cube down, trapping the entity inside a tiny glowing artifact in his hand. So cool. He announces he's taking his new pet back to the lab for some analysis. The king turns back to Kadal, warning him that if these nano things are left unchecked, the world is pretty much doomed. He gets straight to the point. "So, Barbarian, what do you say? Can you eliminate them for us?" Kadal's answer is immediate and confident. "No problem. You want me to leave right now?" He does point out that it's a pretty long trip on foot, though. The Power Master steps in. "Don't you worry about that. I can give you a lift." He offers to teleport them there instantly. Ketal is nothing but excited. Patrick grins, admitting he was planning to tag along anyway. But just as they're about to leave, Aline's voice cuts through the throne room. "Wait a moment." She steps forward, her face full of determination. "Please, take me with you." Aaron immediately protests, but Elaine isn't backing down. She is dead set on joining this mission. She declares, "I have to know whether I will also lose myself before death, just like them." She needs to see this for herself, to figure out if she's truly different and how she can hold on to who she is. She makes her case to the Barbarian and the Mage, and Ketal surprisingly just shrugs and says, "Sure, why not?" Well, not to be left out, her loyal knight Aaron shouts that if the princess is going, he's going too. Patrick just smiles, telling them not to be reckless as he starts weaving a massive teleportation spell. With a brilliant flash of light, the whole group is swallowed by a glowing blue magic circle. Next stop, enemy territory. Before they even know it, they'd arrived. "Now then," Patrick announces, as they stand before the Lutine Castle gates, "shall we begin?" That's a wrap on this recap. Hit that subscribe button to help us keep pumping out awesome content. Catch you in the next one.